Chapter 531, Yun Luofeng's Anger, 4. When Long Fei finished speaking, a chilly feeling came up from the bottom of the feet of Tianzhu, causing him to shiver from the cold and fearfully look up at the cold-eyed girl in front of him. King Yin, Yiling, Yun Luofeng slightly raised her brows and icily ordered, however he treated Junglinger, I want it returned to him doubled. I'll let you handle this matter. Die, that was too simple for a monster like him. She would never permit him to die that easily. Yes, miss. Yes, master. Understanding her meaning, King Yin and Yiling cupped their fists in salute and walked toward Tianzhu, who had fallen on the ground. Don't come here. Tianzhu looked at the approaching duo, and the fear in his eyes intensified. He was about to cry out for help when King Yin leaped up and landed a kick on his body. Tianzhu, whose face had turned ghastly white, nearly spat out blood from her kick. But this wasn't enough. While Tianzhu's heart trembled even more, King Yin pulled out a dagger from somewhere unknown and slashed it across his face while saying with a dark smile, Master, where do you think I should start? Should I chop off his nose first or his ears? Right, the salt water too. Yiling, help me prepare the salt water. Since this guy tortured Junglinger like that, she would make him hang between life and death. Yiling affectionately glanced at King Yin before turning to walk to stand in front of Tian Xuan with a cold expression on his stern features. If you don't want to end up like him, prepare a tub of salt water for me within half an hour. Tian Xuan was stunned briefly and glanced at Tianzhu, who was under King Yin's foot, before decisively walking towards the entrance of the mountain. Tianzhu's heart was completely chilled. He did not know what had happened that would cause young master to obediently listen to these people's orders like this. Half an hour sounds about right. King Yin slightly narrowed her eyes while happily looked at Tianzhu. I think that chopping off your arm first is better. Which hand did you use to hurt Junglinger? King Yin had followed Yun Luofeng for the longest, so she had learned some of the young girl's ruthlessness. Her pretty face was full of smiles, and her curved eyes were akin to the crescent moon, brilliant and striking. However, it was the mouth of this innocent and harmless-looking girl that spoke such cruel words. Tianzhu's face turned deathly pale from his fear. He did not dare to speak, but his trembling body already exposed the fear in his heart. Since you aren't telling me, I will chop off both of your arms. The dagger in her hand slowly moved to hover above Tianzhu's arm, and the smile on her face became crueler. No. Tianzhu widened his eyes in fright. He voiced a loud shout just as the dagger in King Yin's hand landed. This dagger might look small, but it was very sharp and was able to chop off the arm of a man in a split second. Blood spurted out, painting King Yin's lapel red. Tianzhu immediately fainted from this intense pain. The elderly man, who was trapped within the soul flame, could not bear it anymore and bellowed, enough. His voice shakily continued, Yun Luofeng, even if Tianzhu was at fault, don't you think your maidservant is too cruel? He only used a stick to hit Junglinger, but your maidservant chopped off his entire arm. A vicious and merciless person like that isn't worthy to be called a woman. Yun Luofeng faintly smiled. If I didn't come to find her, who knows how your Chan family would torture her. Hence, I won't have any pity for members of the Chan family. However you harmed her, I will make you pay it back 100-fold. Chapter 532, Tianya is here, 1. The elderly man immediately quieted down. He knew that Yun Luofeng had spoken the truth. If she did not come here to rescue Junglinger, with Tianzhu's violent personality, Junglinger's fate would not be that bright. He could only helplessly sigh as despair slowly emerged in his eyes. At this time, Tian Xuan walked to Yiling while carrying a tub of salt water. He placed the tub down with a livid face and snorted before walking back to the ranks of the Chan family. Splash! King Yin ladled some salt water and watered it onto Tianzhu's dismembered shoulder. The intense pain instantly woke Tianzhu up. He looked at King Yin, who was smiling like the devil, with a ghastly pale appearance. I beg you, let me go. His voice was hoarse, and his eyes contained prayers. Only now did he experience what fear was. Let you go, King Yin asked with a laugh. Back then, did you think about letting Junglinger go? Tianzhu opened his mouth, his throat completely dry. He knew that he had made a mistake this time. Since you didn't plan to let Junglinger go back then, why should I let you go now? King Yin asked with her chin raised as she looked down at him. Tianzhu hopelessly closed his eyes. He wished he could faint again this instant. It would be better than facing these devils. There's no need to keep the Chan family. Yun Luofeng's indifferent words determined the fate of the Chan family. Yun Luofeng. Tian Xuan's expression abruptly transformed as he indignantly roared, I admit that your talent is not bad, and you are also strong. But the person behind our Chan family is Tianya, who reached the realm beyond sky-level cultivator long ago. If you only wanted to slightly discipline our Chan family, fine. But you actually want to destroy our Chan family. Do you think Tianya will allow your actions? No matter what, Chan family was Chanya's clan, and his father was Chanya's brother. Regardless of Chanya's callous feelings for the Chan family, he would not stand aside and watch the Chan family be destroyed. This was the origin of Tian Xuan's confidence. Yun Luofeng's wicked eyes slid toward Tian Xuan. Several decades ago, Tianya became famous at a young age, and your Chan family bestowed an extremely large expectation upon him. However, Tianya fell in love with a woman that the Chan family did not approve of. Because of this, not only did you risk framing him to appear immoral, but you also caused two people who loved each other to be separated. I reckon that Chan Ya already hates the members of your Chan family to the bones, so why would he continue to help you? Chan Xuan's expression abruptly changed as he tightly clenched his fists. A heaven-reaching fury enveloped his livid expression. Just who are you? The elderly man surrounded by fire looked up at Yun Luofeng with a twisted expression on his geriatric face. He intently stared at her. There's no way that you could have known about this. Besides several high-level personnel in the Chan family, only the family head of a few formidable powers could find out the reason behind Chan Ya's departure from the Chan family all those years ago. The sons of the Chan family did not know about this. Hence, for all these years, the sons of the Chan family often used the famed reputation of Chan Ya to lord their power over everyone in the outside world. However, now, a mere granddaughter of a general from the Longyuan kingdom actually knew about these deep secrets of the Chan family. The elderly man could not help but suspect her identity. Ho ho, girl, you missed something. Suddenly, an aged voice appeared out nowhere. Closely following it, everyone watched as a white-clothed elderly man slowly approached them while stepping on thin air. Chapter 533, and Ya's here too. Everyone was taken aback as they watched a tiny old man appear out of thin air. They did not expect Chan Ya, who had not returned for a long time, to show up. Then, joy erupted from their hearts. Chan Ya is here. We will be saved. The old man's hand was towing a cute, little girl, but the girl had evidently fainted while in the air. She had foam frothing from her mouth and her eyes had rolled to the back of her head. Suddenly, as though sensing something, she slowly opened her eyes, and she rapidly charged toward Yun Luofeng. Master, Chan Ya is awful. He flew so fast. I still feel dizzy, and my limbs are like water even now, said Lin Ruobai in an aggrieved manner with a pout. However, her words stunned everyone present. The little girl that Chan Ya brought here is actually Yun Luofeng's disciple. Then what is the relationship between Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya? Unease immediately rushed into their heart, making their hearts tighten. You came. Yun Luofeng faintly smiled and turned to Chan Ya. You just said that I missed a part. What were you talking about? The old man's eyes darkly looked at the master of the Chan family and sneered. This was all done by that great brother of mine. Back then, I left the Chan family in anger. They were afraid that my talent would be utilized by other people, so they had no scruples about sending experts from the Chan family to assassinate me. It's fortunate that I'm hard to kill, so I didn't die at the hands of those people and also attained today's accomplishments. After hearing Chan Ya's words, the expression of the elderly man encircled by the soul flame instantly transformed. Chan Ya, what nonsense are you speaking? We are blood family, and the Chan family is also your clan, so why would we assassinate you? The person who wanted to kill you is that woman Fu Sheng. As soon as Long Fei heard the old man's words, he burst into anger. Bullshit. It was only after saying this that he regained his wits and realized his reaction was a bit drastic. He quickly calmed down and coldly stated, everyone has known about your Chan family's conduct since long ago. But you still dare to shift the blame and wrongly accuse an innocent woman. However, no one will believe your words. This bastard actually dared to say that his master tried to assassinate Chan Ya. How could this be possible? Ever since his master went to that particular place after leaving the Chan family all those years ago, she had never left it for the last several decades. As for him, he only learned about Master's past because he luckily entered there while injured, was saved by Master, and subsequently taken in by her as a disciple. Just because they saw how Master was missing for so many years, they unabashedly framed her. These shameless people deserve to die. Chan Ya did not hear the oddness from Long Fei's words, so he did not take another look at him and coldly stared at the old man with contempt in his eyes. Do you think I'm so stupid that I don't even know who was trying to assassinate me? Chan Yi, is it that you think too highly of yourself or do you think I'm stupid? Chan Yi was trembling from the pain of being burned inside the soul flame, and his trembling intensified after hearing Chan Ya's words. I remember that you also took part in the assassination attempts back then. Chan Ya turned to the elders of the Chan family. His killing intent flooded out as he coldly stated, what is laughable is that you all thought I didn't know anything and even dared to rely on my reputation to run amok. If it weren't for the fact that I was devoting all of my time to look for Fu Sheng, the Chan family already wouldn't exist. Chapter 534, Chan Ya is here, 3. Despair exuded from Chan Yi's eyes. Since you are saying that you didn't take actions against our Chan family for all these years because you used all of your time to find Fu Sheng, why did you come to the Chan residence now? Because. The corner of Chan Ya's lips raised. I heard that members of your Chan family kidnapped the maidservant of Yun Luofeng. I only came to help her get her back and to also settle the account with your Chan family. Chan Yi looked up at Chan Ya, dumbfounded, the despair in his eyes turning to shock. Chan Ya's original meaning was that he was too busy, so he did not have time to settle the score with the Chan family. However, because of Yun Luofeng, he had no scruples to drop everything and come here to stand up for her. Just how deep was their friendship that it would cause Chan Ya to make a choice like this? The other people all turned to Yun Luofeng, their expression all but saying the desire to ask about her relationship with Chan Ya. Uncle Chan Ya, Chan Xuan dazedly spoke, asking the question that everyone wanted to ask, who is this woman to you? Logically speaking, with Chan Ya's identity, he should not have any relations to someone with a background like Yun Luofeng's. Then, while everyone was nervously waiting, Lin Ruobai injected from the side, Junior Chan Ya, hurry and take care of these people. They're truly an irksome presence. Junior Chan Ya. Everyone immediately froze, especially Chan Xuan, who had just ridiculed Yun Luofeng. His face completely drained of color. He wished he could faint this very second. It would be better than facing this type of shocking news. Chan Ya. Surprisingly, Chan Yi was not as stunned as everyone else. Instead, he flew into a rage and angrily said, this woman might have decent talents, but she's only a sky-level cultivator. Your strength is way above hers, and there's also your excellent medical skills, so what right does she have to be your master? After saying this, Chan Yi inhaled a harsh breath, and his face became increasingly twisted. I know you hate the Chan family, but there's no need for you to use your life to anger our Chan family. There's still time for you to regret it. As long as you return to the Chan family and we join forces, we can definitely make the Chan family regain its former grandeur. Chan Yi's expression slowly softened as he patiently and well-meaningly persuaded. He wanted to use his words to pull Chan Ya back to the Chan family. Unfortunately, Chan Ya directly overlooked Chan Yi's words and cheerfully turned to Lin Ruobai. Miss Xiaobai, you calling me junior puts me at ease. Don't worry, this old man might not be good at other things, but my ability to be shameless is quite strong. If Miss Yun won't accept me as a disciple, then I will simply keep bothering her until she accepts. Long Fei's eyes widened in surprise, his face full of disbelief. This is the man that my master likes. He is actually this, shameless. However, when other people heard these words, their feelings were completely different from Long Fei's. It was well known that the Chan family expended a great amount of effort to look for Chan Ya. However, Chan Ya was cold and indifferent to them. Who knew that someone as arrogant as Chan Ya would shamelessly want to formally become the disciple of a young girl? And that girl even rejected him. If this matter was spread, it would definitely shock the entire continent. You aren't allowed to call me girl from now on, Lin Ruobai said with her hands on her hips and her bright eyes widened. You need to respectfully address me as senior. Otherwise, I will speak badly of you in front of master and make her reject you as a disciple for her entire life. All right, the little old man fawningly smiled, whatever you say. In order to become Yun Luofeng's disciple, he evidently discarded his old shame. Chapter 535, Chan Ya is here, 4. Everyone's expression turned more unsightly. Several decades ago, Chan Ya disobeyed the orders of the Chan family and insisted on marrying the woman of unknown origins. Several decades later, he similarly ignored the fate of the Chan family and acknowledged Yun Luofeng as master. Don't you want to know why this old man would rather give up my face and want to formally become little Yun's disciple? Chan Ya finally felt the gaze of the members of the Chan family and coldly looked at them. It is because this girl saved a patient who even I couldn't help. Her medical skills are a lot more brilliant than mine. I have nothing to lose in acknowledging her as my master. Boom. Like thunder on a clear day, this news hit everyone and made them quiver, and their hearts all started trembling. The deathly pale faces were full of astonishment. Yun Luofeng's medical skills were superior to Chan Ya's. My god, just what type of strong enemy did our Chan family offend this time? Chan Xuan's face filled with despair once more. He staggered back a few steps, his butt landing with a bang on some pointy rocks on the ground, but he did not feel any pain. His shuddering body revealed his shock. Chan Ya snorted and turned his gaze to the fallen Chan Zhu again, his eyes slightly looking up. On the way here, I already asked around. It was you who snatched the maidservant of my little master. And that maidservant is your daughter as well. You originally had a way to latch onto a great ride, something that many people could not attain even if they begged, but you actually gave it up. Chan Zhu's eyes rolled to the back of his head, and he fainted once more. Why would King Yin give him this chance though? She woke him up with a scoop of salt water. Just as he regained consciousness, he heard King Yin's sneering voice. You can continue to faint, I don't mind waking you up again. However, my method of waking people up is fairly rough, so I hope you can tolerate it. With a threat like this, how could Chan Zhu dare to continue to faint? Remorse suffocated his heart. If he knew earlier that Yun Luofeng had this type of strength, he would not have treated Zheng Lingge like that. Otherwise, he perhaps could have used Zheng Lingge to rise in status. The more that Chan Zhu thought about it, the more regret he felt, so much so that even his intestines turned green from regret. Unfortunately, no matter how much he regretted it, nothing could be done about it now. Ho ho, Chan Yi coldly chuckled all of a sudden. His chuckles were low and hoarse, similar to sharp claws endlessly chaffing a wooden board. Chan Ya, do you think that there was truly no reason why our Chan family was able to remain standing for this many years? Chan Yi's fear slowly disappeared from his aged face, and he stared at Chan Ya with ridicule. It's a pity that you weren't the head of the Chan family, so there are some things that you didn't have permission to know about. Chan Ya's eyes slightly narrowed, a cold glint flashing through the bottom of his eyes. What do you mean? What do I mean? Ha ha ha. Chan Yi madly chuckled. His geriatric face was scarily twisted, his eyes covered in blood vessels. Chan Ya, Yun Luofeng, if I die here today, you must all be buried along with me. Under the burning of this soul flame, Chan Yi could feel his spirit weaken more and more, as though it could disappear at any moment. However, his appearance did not have its prior fear. As soon as he thought about how these people would be buried along with him, excitement filled his heart. Chan Yi pulled a dagger out of somewhere unknown and slashed open his finger, allowing his blood to drip onto the ground. Then, his low voice slowly rang in the afternoon sky. Chapter 536, Chan Family's Trump Card 1. Head of the Chan family, Chan Yi, earnestly requests for every ancestral elder to come and help me fight. Ancestral elder. Everyone from the Chan family was startled and looked at Chan Yi in confusion, clearly not understanding what he was saying. After all, there were certain things that only the master of the household had the qualification to come into contact with, and even young Master Chan Xuan did not have that qualification. Some punk from who knows where actually dares to cause trouble at my Chan family. Boom. A loud shout suddenly came from the sky, directly entering the spirit of those who heard it. It was like a large hammer hitting the spirit, causing a wave of trembling. Those whose strength was on the weaker side spat out a mouthful of blood, their face deathly pale. Chan Ya's expression instantly became extremely serious, his severe eyes turning to the sky. At that moment, his chest was heaving, and even the aura around his body turned several degrees frostier. In the void, several elderly men stood with their arms behind their back, arrogantly looking down on the crowd below them. However, the bodies of these men were very transparent, shaking with the wind. It's you. Fury rushed forth from Chan Ya's body as he tightly clenched his fists. I didn't imagine that the Chan family would actually have secret techniques that could allow your spirit to be preserved and be able to fight as well. No. Chan Ya's words were just spoken when the originally silent Yu Nuofeng had already walked beside him. At this moment, the young lady's features were grave. If I have guessed correctly, the Chan family did use some secret technique to preserve their spirit, but they can only come out once. That is to say, the Chan family can only borrow the power of these deceased people once. This is why they don't use the ancestral elders and instead try everything else possible to force you to return to the Chan family. Yu Nuofeng continued with a smile. It's only when danger appears in the Chan family that the head of the Chan family will summon these people. Also, after they leave wherever their spirit is preserved, their spirit will immediately disperse after a certain period of time. In other words, these people forsook the chance to reincarnate and chose to remain in the Chan family just so they could appear and save the Chan family when the family was in danger of being destroyed. It had to be said that Yu Nuofeng greatly respected the sacrifice of these strong people from the Chan family. It is because there were a continuous number of strong people who used this method to stay after the death that the Chan family could remain standing and unshaken for this many years. Little master, how do you know this much? Asked Chan Ya as he glanced at Yu Nuofeng, flabbergasted. Hearing Chan Ya's appellation for her, Yu Nuofeng raised her brows. You should address me as before. I really am not worthy of the title, Little Master. This man was already old. Being called Little Master by an old man more than 60 years old, how wouldn't she be embarrassed? Chan Ya shamelessly said, all right, then I will keep calling you Little Yun, but I will definitely bother you until you agree to teach me medicine. Tell me first though, how do you know so much? Yu Nuofeng blinked and meaningfully smiled. I guessed. After all, she could not tell Chan Ya that she possessed a godly cheating tool like Xiaomo, so there were not many things in this world that she did not know. You guessed. The corner of Chan Ya's lips twitched. He glanced at Chan Yi's livid face and knew that Yu Nuofeng had guessed right. These strong people from the Chan family really could only come out once. And their spirit would disperse after a certain period of time. Chan Ya. In the air, the cyan-robed elderly at the lead position coldly looked down on Chan Ya. You traitor of the Chan family, you actually have the face to come back. Chapter 537, Chan Family's Trump Card 2. Why don't I have the face to come back? Chan Ya sneered. Don't forget, for all these years, it's always been your Chan family begging me to return. Now that I've returned, you are treating me with this type of attitude. Humph. The cyan-robed elderly man snorted and expressionlessly said, you were allowed to return to the Chan family because your younger brother, Chan Yi, pitied your incredible loneliness and hardship. It wasn't our decision. Since you left it decisively back then, you shouldn't have stepped onto Chan Mountain again. Back then. Hearing these words mentioned, Chan Ya's eyes turned more severe. You still have the nerve to mention the events back then. If it weren't for you old things, why would Fu Sheng abandon me and leave? I was originally still worried about being unable to find you and take revenge, but I didn't imagine that you would still be here. The cyan-robed man arrogantly smiled. A bead of rice like you won, how can your brightness compete with the sun and moon? Chan Ya, no matter how outstanding you are now, in our eyes, you are still that tiny weakling from several decades ago. Since this old man compared Chan Ya and his companions to beads of rice, then the Chan family would be that enormous sun and moon. As beads of rice, how could their brightness outshine that of the sun and moon? Chan Ya's heart grew angrier, and a cold light was exuded from his slightly narrowed eyes. However, he knew that these ancestral elders were different from other people of the Chan family, and he could not go against these many people with his strength alone. Several decades ago, the strength of these old men had already reached sky-level spirit cultivator. Now that these many years had passed, their strength was stronger. The fact that the Chan family previously declined was definitely connected with the death. However, he didn't expect that these people would use this type of method to protect the Chan family. Having their spirit disperse, was it really worth it? Miss Yoon, leave first with your subordinates and Miss Xiao Bai. Chan Ya's eyes grew colder. Let me handle these guys. Yu Nuofeng turned to look at Chan Ya. Can you handle these many people alone? I can't, but I can hold them off for a bit. I will chase him down after you leave Chan Mountain. Chanya took a deep breath, his face more solemn than ever before. If it was in the past, upon seeing these enemies, he definitely would charge up without regard for his life and fight them to the death. However, he now had people that he needed to keep in mind. He had to wait until Yun Luofeng was safe before he put his all into the fight. Otherwise, if Yun Luofeng was here, they would certainly accidentally injure her. Chanya, you should know about my origins. Yun Luofeng looked at Chanya with a smile on her lips. I was born in an aristocratic family of generals, and for generals, they definitely would not disregard and abandon their teammates on the battlefield. Chanya was taken aback briefly before releasing a helpless, wry chuckle. Girl, this isn't the battlefield. To me, anywhere that has fighting is the battlefield. If I abandon my teammates because of cowardice, then the grandfather of mine would definitely scold me. Yun Luofeng donned a smile. Her features carried her untamed nature, similar to a wild horse that was hard to tame and unwilling to obey anyone's orders. Just as Chanya was contemplating her words, Yun Luofeng suddenly asked, Chanya, do you trust me? Immediately, Chanya's eyes landed on the girl. After seeing the confidence in her features, his heart gradually calmed down. Perhaps this young girl had a magic that made others involuntarily trust her. Girl, tell me, what do you want me to do? Asked Chanya as he helplessly shook his head. Chapter 538, A Card Up One Sleeve 1. Yun Luofeng faintly smiled. If they had never died, perhaps I wouldn't have any solution. However, they're currently appearing in the form of a spirit, and there are quite a lot of methods to deal with spirits. Moreover, spirits were very valuable, especially those of strong people. They could become Milk Tea's nourishment. Squeak, squeak. As though sensing Yun Luofeng's thoughts, Milk Tea called twice. His eyes were unblinkingly staring at the spirits in the air, its drool nearly dripping down. As a gold-seeking hamster, besides consuming spiritual herbs, Milk Tea could also use the spirit of strong people to raise its strength. However, the spirits of strong people and spiritual herbs were both rare, so there were not many powerful gold-seeking hamsters in the world. Yun Luofeng soothed Milk Tea and said with a smile on her lips, no need to rush, those spirits will belong to you in a moment. Enough to satiate you for a while. In the air, after hearing Yun Luofeng's words, the expressions of the elderly men darkened, and they coldly stated, little girl, don't be too presumptuous as a person. Otherwise, you won't have a good ending. As though not hearing their warning, her fingers gently petted Milk Tea's little head with a wicked air in her smile. When that time comes, are you planning to directly eat it raw, or should I help you barbecue it a bit? I wonder how a barbecued spirit would taste. You. The cyan-robed old man flew into a rage. Little girl, you are truly incorrigible and have the same conduct as this traitor of my Chan family. I will send you two to hell to accompany each other in a moment. A grey-robed elderly man glanced at Yun Luofeng before turning his sight to Chan Fu, who was wearing a cyan-long robe, and said with a frown, Chan Fu, this little girl is obviously stalling for time on purpose. She already guessed some time ago that we can only appear for a short amount of time, so we should stop talking rubbish with her. Just start fighting. Chan Fu harshly took a deep breath. You're right. These two are purposefully stalling for time. I fell into the crafty scheme because I was too furious. Since it's like that, we will attack and kill these people now and resolve this as fast as possible. Swish. After he spoke those words, Chan Fu plunged down from the air, his body rapidly heading for Chanya. His aura was severe as he wanted to kill this traitor of the Chan family in one hit. Boom. Chanya met him without any fear and blocked his attack. Suddenly, a powerful force surged up around the two of them, destroying all the surrounding trees. It also swept up the dust, causing it to fly everywhere. Under Chan Fu's fierce strength, Chanya was forced back a few steps but halted to a stop a meter away. He looked up at Chan Fu, his features darkening. Chanya, it's already been so many years, so I thought you would be more powerful than this, but you're only so, haha. Chan Fu madly chuckled. If you had obediently listened to the Chan family back then and married the woman that we prepared for you, then many things wouldn't have happened. You did all this to yourself. Who allowed you to disobey the orders of our Chan family? While saying this, Chan Fu did not stop attacking Chanya. In the beginning, Chanya had to escape in a disheveled state, but he quickly adjusted to his opponent's moves and gradually responded with ease. Seeing that Chan Fu could not control Chanya on his own, other people rushed up as well, planning to use the quickest speed to deal with this old man. Everyone's eyes were on the two fighting people, so no one realized an adorable child had suddenly appeared beside Yun Luofeng out of thin air. Chapter 539, A Card Up One Sleeve 2. Master, for all these years, I've only learned this one matrix. I didn't expect it would be of use here. Xiao Mo kneeled down and placed stones on the ground. He wiped the sweat from his forehead before standing up. However, this matrix of mine can only imprison the spirits and can't destroy them. When you inject your soul flame into the matrix, it can quickly make the spirit of these spirit forms disperse. Just now, Yun Luofeng had said that if the strong people of the Chan family appeared in their physical body, she would not have any solutions. But they only had themselves to blame for being a group of spirit entities. To spirit entities, soul flame was their nemesis. Although these people were really strong, they already did not have the protection of a physical body, so they were vulnerable to soul flame. If their physical bodies still existed, with their strength, soul flame would not even have time to penetrate their body before being destroyed. Bang! Chan Fu's punch landed on Chan Ya, sending his body into the air, and Chan Ya coincidentally landed right inside the matrix. Although these ancestral elders of the Chan family saw Xiao Mo moving stones on the ground from the start, they disregarded it since Xiao Mo was only a kid. In their eyes, they possessed absolute strength, and Yun Luofeng could not stir up much trouble. Unfortunately, Chan Fu and company did not pay too much attention to the people beside Yun Luofeng, so they did not know that Xiao Mo appeared from thin air and thought he had been at Chan Mountain from the start. If he had noticed that Xiao Mo appeared from thin air, perhaps he would not be so overconfident. Chan Ya, with your strength alone, you can't handle this many people from our Chan family. Chan Fu guffawed as he stepped into the matrix. At the same time, the other ancestral elders entered as well and all looked at Chan Ya in ridicule. This is the price for disobeying the Chan family's order back then. At this moment, seeing the situation brightening, a dash of hope appeared in the eyes of everyone from the Chan family. Who cares how powerful Chan Ya was? There were so many ancestral elders of the Chan family here, so why would they fear one Chan Ya? Thinking of this, everyone could not resist saying, Ancestral elder, kill the traitor Chan Ya. As a member of the Chan family, not only did he not help the Chan family, but he also wanted to destroy our family with outsiders. That's right. He once fell in love with a woman of unknown origins, and now he recognizes someone with a low status as master. He simply can't be forgiven. So what if Chan Ya acknowledged Yun Luofeng's strength? To them, she was a mere eldest miss of the general's estate and had a low status, so how could she be compared with the Chan family? Chan Ya climbed up from the ground and clutched his injured chest while coldly stating, the Chan family has nothing to do with who I want to marry, nor is it your business who I want to recognize as master. Since I could escape from the Chan family's assassination back then, I can do the same now. Hearing him, Chan Fu jeered, several decades ago, you left with only yourself, but you now carry this much baggage, I would like to see what strength you will use to leave. After saying this, killing intent burst forth from his body and covered Chan Ya's body. Alright, it's about time. I don't plan to keep talking rubbish with you, so I will end your lives now. He haughtily tilted his head up and looked down at Chan Ya from high above. Then, he slightly raised his arm and a sharp long sword appeared in his hand. However, the moment that he grabbed the sword, a moss green flame erupted from the ground with a boom and enveloped their bodies in an instant. Chapter 540, Clan Annihilation 1. Hiss. The pain directly entered their spirit, making the ancestral elders howl in anguish. This howl was similar to that of a wild wolf, incomparably ferocious and bubbling with a heaven-bursting fury. What have you done? Chan Fu's whole body was trembling as he angrily looked at Yun Luofeng. Amid this fire, he felt like his spirit was being ripped apart by a countless number of hands, and he could not even utilize his spiritual energy. The satisfied expressions of the people from the Chan family also froze because of this sudden, unforeseen event. Everyone did not understand what had occurred, and their eyes were brimming with astonishment. Ancestral Elder, Chan Yi's voice was very weak. He looked at Chan Fu and the others, who were also engulfed in flames, and said between gritted teeth, hurry and leave that place. Hurry. Leave. Right. This soul flame was different from the one that Chan Yi suffered from. The soul flame that Chan Yi suffered from only burned around him, but the flame here burned in a limited area. They only needed to leave this area to distance themselves from the soul flame. Chan Fu quickly turned around, wanting to dart out of this place. However, his head slammed into an invisible wall with a thud, and his body bounced off of it. What is this? The other ancestral elders turned pale with fright as they all lifted their hand to touch the air in front of them. There was clearly nothing there, but their hands came into contact with an invisible wall. No, Chan Fu lost his mind and wildly shouted as he slammed into it once more, I want to leave. Let me leave. As expected, his body was shot back again, and he landed on the ground butt first. Despair was written all over Chan Fu's eyes as he felt the pain of his spirit being shredded into pieces. Even now, he still did not understand what had happened. Chan Ya, who was situated inside the matrix, was also just as shocked. He bewilderedly looked at the maniacal elders of the family and truly did not understand why these people suddenly went crazy. There was clearly only air in front of them, so why did these people circle this piece of air in a deranged manner and lose their mind over it? Also, the moss green flame that was twined around the ancestral elders appeared to have eyes of its own and did not injure him at all. Chan Fu gnashed his teeth, that woman can find us in here, but you also can't leave. Don't forget that we are stuck in the same place. Just as his last word was spoken, Chan Fu abruptly realized that Chan Ya had already reached the shapeless wall that blocked him just now. Then, he lifted his foot and carefully explored the space in front. A miracle occurred. Chan Ya's foot successfully penetrated that invisible wall, and then his entire body went through too. Chan Fu completely lost his mind and angrily roared, that is impossible. Why can you leave? I won't believe it. I absolutely won't believe it. After saying that, he stood up again and collided with the wall. Just as before, that invisible wall appeared again, flicking him back. At a time like this, Chan Ya, that beast, actually stepped into the matrix from the outside again. Then, without waiting for a reaction from Chan Fu, he proceeded to step out of the matrix. As he continued to step in and out of the matrix, he taunted Chan Fu and the others, I come in, then I leave again. I come in, then I leave again. Are you envious? Jealous? Right. If you have the guts, come out to kill me. What talent is it to hide in there? Chapter 541, Clan Annihilation 2. Upon seeing the old man's shamelessness, Chan Fu nearly spat blood out. He angrily pointed at Chan Ya and fiercely said, "If you dare, stand there without moving." Hearing this, Chan Ya actually stopped moving and chuckled. "I will stay standing here. Come and hit me if you have the guts." "You." Chan Fu was spitting fire from his eyes due to his anger. He clearly told Chan Ya to stop moving while he was inside the matrix, but that guy dared to purposefully misconstrue his meaning and stand an inch outside of the invisible wall. Chan Fu soothed the anger in his heart with effort before coldly stating, "Chan Ya, you still haven't corrected this shameless habit of yours even after all these years. You also clearly know I can't leave here, so how should I go hit you? Don't find an excuse. You are clearly a coward and don't dare to come out. What kind of person are you to just hide in there and escape from reality?" No one could compare with this old guy's ability to make false accusations. It was obvious that Chan Fu was confined inside the matrix and was also suffering from the burning of the soul flame, but now, he was falsely accused of hiding from reality because of cowardice. Chan Fu was so angry that his head emitted smoke. He tightly clenched his fist and heavily punched Chan Ya in the chest with a bang. However, his fist did not even touch Chan Ya before being stopped by the invisible wall, and his body suddenly flew back. Seeing this, Chan Ya grew more satisfied, and his old face lit up with a smile that was begging for a beating. "Chan Fu, how is this hitting bull through air one technique that this old man recently learned?" "Hitting bull through air. Hit your King bull." Chan Fu's entire body was shuddering as he pointed at Chan Ya. His lips were faintly trembling, but he could not speak. He reckoned Chan Ya was the only one who could act shameless to this degree. He was clearly bounced back by that invisible wall, but this old man actually took the credit. Did he still want to keep any face? "Chan Ya, you shameless scum." It was a long while before Chan Fu managed to rigidly choke out those words. Chan Ya mockingly smiled. "What right does a defeated opponent like you have to humiliate this old man?" "Utter rubbish. If there wasn't an invisible wall blocking this old man, I would have already ripped you into 1,000 pieces." Chan Fu could not resist cursing. He felt his stride burning in the soul flame, as though his stride would disperse soon. After throwing those words at Chan Ya, he turned to Yun Luofeng. "Just who are you?" If he didn't guess wrong, this matrix had something to do with Yun Luofeng. He did not forget that the little child beside Yun Luofeng was writing and drawing on the ground just now. Then, a matrix appeared in that place. Instantly, everyone's gaze gathered on Yun Luofeng. The members of the Chan family were also gritting their teeth from hatred. If they did not fear her ability, they would have gone up to kill this woman long ago. If it were not for her, the current Chan family would not degenerate to this extent. Yun Luofeng gently stroked the little hamster in her sleeve and did not look up as she said, "Who am I? You aren't worthy of knowing." Her words were not only brazen and arrogant but also carried a haughtiness that looked down on the world. The fact that she set up the ancestral elders and caused them to cut such sorry figures already proved that she had the right to be arrogant. Chan Fu grew completely distraught. It appeared that he had never imagined Chan family would fall at the hands of a girl. This girl was only 15 years old. Chapter 542, Clan Annihilation 3. Ho ho, he lowly chuckled as he closed his eyes. "I gave up everything for the Chan family, but I didn't expect to end up with a fate like this. From now on, I won't care about the Chan family anymore." Chan Fu's body became fainter and fainter, and his voice was also weak. The other ancestral elders already could not handle the power of the soul flame and gradually became more transparent. "No!" shouted Chan Yi quickly after seeing that Chan Fu was about to give up on the Chan family. "Ancestral elders, you can't give up on the Chan family. You are incredibly strong, so how can the matrix that Yun Luofeng set up to entrap you? I know you must have some other ability. If you give up, Chan family is truly finished." Chan Fu sighed. "If we still lived, whether it's this matrix or the fire, neither would be able to injure us. Unfortunately, we are currently nothing but strids. What else can we do?" His voice portrayed his helplessness. Even if he wanted to help the Chan family, he had the will, but he did not have the power. Chan Yi opened his mouth, wanting to continue to persuade him, but his stride was already mostly consumed by the soul flame, so he could only depend on heaven's will. "Chan Ya," Chan Fu turned to look at Chan Ya. "I hope you can take into consideration that the Chan family raised you to an adult and leave the Chan family with a way to survive." Even towards the end, he still wanted to make one last struggle. And now, the only thing he could use was Chan Ya's feelings towards the Chan family when he was young. However, when faced with that nearly begging voice of his, Chan Ya merely coldly chuckled. "My feelings for the Chan family were all expended back then. Of course, I have to thank your Chan family too. If it weren't for your assassination attempts against me, I wouldn't be able to use the quickest speed to grow up." Chan Fu's body shuddered as he weakly asked, "Chan Ya, are you truly this cold-hearted? If you really annihilate the Chan family, how will the world look at you?" The current Chan Fu had completely forgotten who was the one screaming for Chan Ya's death from the start. If it were not for Yun Luofeng, perhaps Chan Ya would have lost his life in the midst of these people's slaughter. However, he now righteously accused Chan Ya of being heartless. "Ha ha." Chan Ya guffawed. "So what if the world calls me heartless? I, Chan Ya, only ask for a clear conscience when I act. Why is it that your Chan family can kill me, but I can't destroy your Chan family? Now, besides having the Chan name, I have nothing to do with your Chan family. What did the opinion of the people have to do with him? In one's life, they should deal with favors and enmities as they please, kill who they should kill and annihilate the clan they should annihilate." Seeing that Chan Ya could not be reasoned with, Chan Fu turned to Yun Luofeng next. Little girl, even if my Chan family was the one at fault initially, isn't your method of revenge too cruel? The girl finally slowly looked up. Under the resplendent sun, her features radiated a striking light. Chan family will no longer exist from now on. A simple sentence determined the death sentence for the Chan family. From now on, the Chan family will no longer exist. While these people clashed with each other, Chan Yi's strut was already so frail that it would scatter as soon as the wind blew. At the final moment, he suddenly laughed in a deranged manner. His laughter was sinister and resonated in the skies. Yun Luofeng, Chan Ya, you can never annihilate my Chan family. Because my grandson, Chan Yu, has already gone somewhere that you can't discover. Ha ha ha, he will definitely avenge us. The current Chan Yi was very glad that Chan Yu was not home. Otherwise, there would not be anyone who could help him take revenge. Chapter 543, Clan Annihilation 4. Chan Yu. At the mention of this name, Yun Luofeng's eyes imperceptibly darkened, and she turned to look at Chan Ya. Can you mobilize your forces to find Chan Yu? Girl, leave this matter to me. If we don't pull out all the roots when we cut weeds, there will be trouble later for certain. Moreover, Chan Yu is not as impatient as his grandfather or father, and he is quite reserved instead. If we leave him behind, he will definitely be a danger later. Chan Ya responded seriously after a moment of silence. Chan Yi heard the duo's conversation just before his strut dispersed, and his lips involuntarily raised with a mocking smile. These two people definitely would not be able to find the place that Chan Yu was headed for. When he returned, he would certainly avenge the entire Chan family. He had no complaints about dying then. Bang! The soul flame dissipated in the air, and Chan Yi's body heavily fell down. At death, a mocking smile remained on his face, and his widened eyes were brimming with satisfaction. It was as though he absolutely believed that Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya would both fall very soon. At the same time, Chan Fu and the other elders all could not handle the might of the soul flame anymore. Their struts changed from transparent to nothing before being finally swept away by the breeze, dispersing in the air like a puff of green smoke. The remaining members of the Chan family all displayed a fearful expression, and they could help but take a few steps back. Chan Xuan in particular, he was so scared that he could not speak, and his body kept shuddering in the wind. Chan Ya did not take another look at these people, and his gaze turned to Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, leave these people for me to handle. Also, I will inform the forces in my hands to find the destination of Chan Yu in a moment, but I still need your help with something. Help with what? Asked Yun Luofeng with raised brows. Chan Ya was momentarily silent. This time, I originally took Xiao Bai with me to look for a medicinal herb. That herb grows by the shores of Wangquan and is extremely hard to find. That herb can only be found using Xiao Bai's bloodline as a guide. I hope that you can retrieve this herb for me. Alright, Yun Luofeng did not contemplate long before agreeing. What is the herb that you want me to find? That medicinal herb is called Spirit Guide. After consuming it, it can raise the strength of the spirit. I see that you possess the techniques for spiritual attacks, so this herb is a rare supplement for you. Only. The little old man rubbed his hands together and said with a chuckle, you need to share half of the Spirit Guide with me after you retrieve it. That's not a problem. But you need to tell me first, how do I get to Wangquan? Yun Luofeng attentively watched the elderly man with a smile. Could it be that I need to kill myself first? Hearing this, the old man was taken aback, and he could not resist laughing out loud. Girl, this Wangquan one is the name of a place. Because that place doesn't have any laws or governing power and only respects the rule of the fist, power struggles occur often. This results in a death count of tens of thousands every day, so it is named Wangquan. Because the previous owner of this body did not familiarize herself with the news of this continent, it was normal that Yun Luofeng did not know about this. However, if it was someone else, if they committed such a simple mistake, they would definitely find a hole to burrow into from embarrassment. Yun Luofeng was different though. Her expression was as peaceful as usual, as though nothing had happened. I understand. Wait for my news at the Yun estate at that time. Xiao Bai, let's go. Lin Ruobai gently blinked. Master, I have wanted to ask you earlier. Where did you kidnap this little boy beside you? He's too adorable. Chapter 544, I want to marry him. Without waiting for Yun Luofeng to explain, King Yin's voice, which was as melodious as a black-napped oriole, was heard from the side. He is my Mrs. Son. As though struck by lightning, both Chan Ya and Lin Ruobai were stupefied simultaneously. Yun Luofeng actually had a son. And the son was this old as well. Goodness, this was simply inconceivable. Chan Ya glanced at Yun Luofeng in jealousy. Even I, someone with half of my body buried in the earth, don't have a wife, but you're only 15 years old, and you already have a son this old. Lin Ruobai's eyes lit up. She lifted her hands to squeeze Xiaomo's cheeks, a brilliant smile on her baby face. Little brother, be good. Let me hear a sister from you. Xiaomo's face immediately darkened. He was already someone who had lived who knows how long, and he was actually called a little brother by some little girl who was still wet behind her ears. And she actually teased him. Thinking of this, Xiaomo slapped Lin Ruobai's hand away and hid behind Yun Luofeng, his hands tightly tugging her clothes. Only Mas. Only mother can touch my face. His intent was to make Lin Ruobai give up on harassing him, but who knew that the light in Lin Ruobai's eyes would become brighter after seeing his cold yet adorable appearance. Master, I want to marry him. Her words were like a sudden clap of thunder, stunning Xiaomo instantly. He looked in astonishment at Lin Ruobai, who had her chin slightly raised, and was so scared that he could not even speak. How could there be a woman this shameless in the world? She actually told a male stranger who she met for the first time that she wanted to marry him. And, as a woman, shouldn't she say, be married to, one? Why did it become, marry? However, Master definitely would not agree. Xiao Mo's heart settled upon thinking this, and he lifted his adorable little face with satisfaction, looking at Lin Ruobai with disdain. Approved, uttered Yun Luofeng slowly just when Xiao Mo was extremely pleased with himself. At that moment, Xiao Mo's heart broke into pieces. 2 trails of glistening tears trickled down his delicate face, his large and bright eyes brimming with disbelief. He did not want to believe Master would sell him like this at all. Miss, King Yin could not bear this. Little Master is only 5 years old. We should wait until he's older before deciding this, shouldn't we? Mother, she's right. Xiao Mo immediately regained his wits and pulled on Yun Luofeng's clothes as he aggrievedly said, I'm only 5 and still a child. The age difference between us is too big, we don't match. Yun Luofeng faintly raised her brows. It would be quite nice for you to be a child bride. Age isn't a problem for true love. No, you can't be this cruel. You can't shove me at this woman. Xiao Mo nearly started crying. His chastity was sold by Master this easily. Even though he was already several centuries old, he still retained the appearance of a 5-year-old. He simply could not grow up, so how should he marry? Xiao Mo, Yun Luofeng neared his ears with a wicked smile on her lips. You swindled me once, so I have to pay you back. Hence, you will be Xiao Bai's wife from now on. No. Xiao Mo hurriedly used his arms to hug Yun Luofeng's thighs and refused to let go no matter what. You can't ditch me like this. And I'm a man, she's the woman, so why am I her wife? Didn't you reverse it? Yun Luofeng lightly caressed her chin and blinked. Because Xiao Bai said she wanted to marry you, so you are naturally the wife and she the husband. Chapter 545, Hopeless Xiao Mo. Xiao Mo still wanted to protest, but a small hand pulled him off of Yun Luofeng from behind and dangled him in the air. You DMN woman, let me go. Sensing the presence behind him, Xiao Mo trembled from anger and kept struggling in the hands of Lin Ruobai. Master already gave you to me. Lin Ruobai slightly lifted her chin, and the smile on her cute face became more radiant. So you are my wife from now on. Xiao Mo completely shriveled and stared at Yun Luofeng with incredibly aggrieved eyes. His expression made him remarkably resemble an abandoned puppy, so pitiful that it made tender affections arise in the hearts of the people around them. After seeing this, Tianyao only wanted to end his life with a slam of his head. His eyes were full of resentment as he indignantly said, this world is too unfair. Even a 5-year-old child is betrothed, but I am still a virgin. Yun Luofeng's eyes swept across him. With your position on this continent, you would have a massive response if you called. Wouldn't it be easy if you wanted to lose your virginity? No. Tianyao lifted his chin and said pridefully, I want to remain chaste for my Fu Sheng until I find her. To him, being a virgin was a prideful matter. After all, he was protecting his heart and body for the woman he loved. Just how many men were able to remember their initial intent in this world? It's late already. Xiao Bai, we should set off. Long Fei, bring Junglinger and King into the Yun residence to wait for me. Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Ruobai and Xiao Mo with a wicked smile. As for Xiao Mo, I will leave him in your hands for you to train him during this journey. Yes, Master, Lin Ruobai respectfully responded as she straightened up. And Xiao Mo, who was hanging from her hand, had a face brimming with hopelessness, as though it was the end of the world. He could already imagine his future miserable life. As he watched the departing figures, the smile on Tianyao's face gradually disappeared. He lightly sighed and said as if he were talking to himself, I don't know whether it is right or wrong to let Miss Yun go to Wangquan. With her brains and talent though, she can definitely do well there. This was also training for her. Wangquan was situated in the northmost part of the continent. Because it was rich in extremely precious medicinal herbs, a countless number of factions took root here. Combined with the limited resources, this led to frequent occurrences of wide-scale fighting. In this place, it was survival of the fittest. The weak could only become the stepping stones of other people. On the mountain road of a shady forest, Yun Luofeng held the hands of Lin Ruobai and Xiao Mo as they walked towards the end of the road. After reaching the end of this road they would step into Wangquan City. However, just as she reached the end, the sun in front of her was suddenly blocked. An enormous shadow appeared in front of her, and the stench of sweat could be faintly smelled. Oh, you look very unfamiliar. You don't look like someone from Wangquan City. Do you understand the rules of our city? For anyone new entering Wangquan City, the women have to be played with by my brother and me, and the men must crawl under our groins. Would you like to start now? Ha ha ha. A rough voice was heard from above Yun Luofeng. She slightly looked up, her brazen eyes slowly landing on the two people blocking her. Are there any other paths? Chapter 546, Wangquan City's Factions. The girl's voice was very calm, but it easily stirred the hearts of these two brothers. Although they had seen quite a few women over the years, they had never seen a peerless woman like this before. If they could have her under their bodies, it would be delectable for certain. Of course there is a second path. The bearded man licked the corner of his mouth, and that is to feed the two of us. However, do you think that you three alone are enough to oppose us? The two girls were both fairly young, and this girl clothed in white definitely was not older than 15 years old. The little boy did not need to be counted. What could a 5-year-old do? Oh. Yun Luofeng faintly raised her brows and said with a meaningful smile, then I choose the second path. The two brothers were briefly stunned, and before they could recover their wits, the girl suddenly darted past them. As her dark hair fluttered up, a faint, sweet fragrance drifted toward them with the wind. Then, a gush of hot blood spurted out of their arms, as spectacular as a fountain. Ah! The bearded man sharply screamed and tightly clutched his bleeding arm, his face deathly pale. His brother was not any better than him. His fair appearance drained of color, and blood continued to drip down from his arm, quickly forming a river on the ground. Just who are you? He coldly asked between tightly gritted teeth. Yun Luofeng looked up with a faint smile. Someone who will turn Wangquan City upside down. Her words were very arrogant. They meant that due to her arrival, a head-turning transformation would occur in Wangquan City. You. The fair-looking man's expression changed, and it was a long while before he could check out. You are too conceited. In comparison to the vulgar, bearded man, this man still remained fairly calm, but his contempt was as clear as day on his pale appearance. Different factions tightly intertwine in Wangquan. There are also countless experts here. You alone don't have the ability to turn Wangquan on its head. Younger brother, why do we bother continuing to bullshit with this woman? She only injured us just now because of her sneak attack. The bearded man fumed between gritted teeth. Let's attack her together and capture this woman. Tut tut. Mocking laughter suddenly came from the side after the bearded man finished speaking. Lin Ruobai had her little face held up high, her dark and bright eyes brimming with a confident glint. You still want to capture my master? My master doesn't need to do anything to deal with people like you. I can resolve it in her place. Insolent. The bearded man snorted and rapidly charged toward Lin Ruobai. A machete suddenly appeared in his hand and slashed down toward her, stirring up a gust of wind around him. Bang! The machete planted in the ground, sending up a shower of dirt and dust. But before the bearded man could breathe a sigh of relief, his entire body froze. In the midst of the flying dirt, Lin Ruobai's hand had a tight hold on his machete, her sleeves fluttering in the breeze and revealing a fair forearm. A trickle of blood dripped down her arm, but she did not notice it at all. Her smile was like a brilliant flower, extremely magnificent. I already said that my master doesn't need to do anything to deal with people like you. I'm more than enough. To Lin Ruobai, letting Yun Luofeng deal with these people would dirty her hands. And as her disciple, she was responsible for dealing with these small inconveniences for master. Moreover, these people dared to insult master earlier. She would not forgive them based on this point alone. Chapter 547. I want to see your boss. The bearded man's gaze slowly trailed to the hand that Xiao Bai used to catch the blade. Fear surfaced in his eyes, and he harshly swallowed some spit before looking up at the young girl with the cute appearance in front of him. You. The bearded man could only speak one word before Lin Ruobai's leg flew up and harshly landed on his chest, sending him into the air. Master, I finally understand why you like to kick people. Lin Ruobai's smile was more brilliant than the sun. It turns out the feeling of kicking people is extremely satisfying. Oh dear, I'm already mesmerized by this feeling and need to kick him a few more times. As soon as she finished speaking, Lin Ruobai leaped up and shot in front of the man. What followed was a one-sided beating. Xiao Mo dumbfoundedly looked at the incomparably bold and powerful Lin Ruobai and swallowed with some fear. He subconsciously withdrew behind Yun Luofeng and weakly said, Master, I want to return to God's Code Space. During this period of time, he returned to God's Code Space at night and reappeared in the morning, so it did not provoke Lin Ruobai's suspicion. Now, in order to not be tormented by this violent woman, he swore that he would never take a single step outside of God's Code Space ever again. Yun Luofeng glanced at him. Weren't you the one who kept complaining and were previously unwilling to return to God's Code Space? I don't care. I will immediately return to God's Code Space. I won't reappear again until this woman leaves. Xiao Mo glared at Lin Ruobai, and then he took advantage of Yun Luofeng's inattention and speedily darted inside God's Code Space. He planned to completely disappear for a while. The best outcome would be for Lin Ruobai to forget his existence. Unfortunately, he underestimated Lin Ruobai's determination. Since she already planned to take him as a wife, how could she forget him? Lady Warrior, spare me. This little one was blind. I beg you to spare me. While Yun Luofeng was contemplating in silence, the bearded man's shaky begging was heard from the front. Yun Luofeng looked over and immediately saw that Lin Ruobai was stepping on the previously fiendish man. Her haughty face was slightly tilted up as she disdainfully looked at the man covered in bruises underneath her foot. How did you humiliate my master just now? Lin Ruobai snorted. Did you think this is it? However, I'm quite willing to give you a chance. If you cut off your tongue, I will spare your dog life. The bearded man's face abruptly changed. You damn girl, don't be greedy, you. Bang. He did not finish speaking before Lin Ruobai's foot ferociously landed on his face, blocking all of his words. He could only make faint whimpering noises. Xiao Bai. Yun Luofeng halted her actions and slowly walked toward the bearded man. Bring me to see your boss. Perhaps due to Yun Luofeng's words, Lin Ruobai did move her foot, giving the man a chance to speak. His face had a noticeable footprint, and his mouth was completely swollen. It was evident how much force Lin Ruobai used just now. Our boss isn't someone you can see willy-nilly. Since these people would not spare him even if he begged, his voice hardened once more, but the fear in his eyes did not decrease and increased instead. Is that so? The corner of Yun Luofeng's lips raised with a wicked smile. Her smile was similar to that of a devil from hell, making you plunge down to hell if you were careless. Chapter 548, Chan Yu, 1. Co. Bai, the girl briefly paused before continuing, this man is too lascivious. As a punishment, turn him into a eunuch. Hearing this, the bearded man's face turned ghastly white in the blink of an eye. He hurriedly climbed up from the ground and drew back. Don't come over here, otherwise. Otherwise what? The young girl narrowed her eyes and chuckled evilly. Do you want to scream for help? Don't worry, even if you screamed your lungs out, no one would come to save you. Seeing the nefarious smile on Yun Luofeng's face and Lin Ruobai walking over while rubbing her hands, the bearded man finally felt panic. As a man, if he really became a eunuch, how could he continue to live on with his pride intact? It was at this moment that the fair man from the side suddenly spoke. I will bring you to see boss. Younger brother. The bearded man's expression abruptly changed. Once boss finds out we brought a stranger back to him, he will be furious for sure. We have no choice but to agree, the fair man shook his head. Even if we don't agree, she would still find another way to meet boss. Since it's like this, why don't we bring them there? If boss wants to blame someone, I will take responsibility. The bearded man did not say anything else, but his tightly clenched fist revealed the anger in his heart. Finally, he forcefully took a deep breath, and his swollen cheeks were somewhat malevolent. Our boss isn't someone you can provoke. Since you want to die this much, I'll help you. After saying this, he glared at Yun Luofeng before turning around to walk through the gate of Wangquan City. All sorts of factions intricately intertwined in Wangquan City, and the faction that they were heading to was the 11th ranked Big Dipper Gang. Although they were only ranked in 11th place, the strength of the Big Dipper Gang could not be underestimated. They said that the leader of Big Dipper Gang had already broken through to sky-level Spread Cultivator, so it could be seen just how powerful the top 10 forces were. At this time, inside the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, which was not far from the Big Dipper Gang, an elderly man was sitting upright in the chief seat and gracefully sampling tea. Then, a servant hurriedly ran inside and said while respectfully cupping his fists, Master, a man who calls himself Chan Yu came to visit. Chan Yu. The elderly man was briefly taken aback and frowned. What did he come here for? I already said that I don't want to have any dealings with members of the Chan family. Nor will I see any of them. The servant carefully glanced at the elderly man brimming with impatience and replied, Master, young Master Chan Yu also had me bring a message to Master, he said. The entire Chan family was annihilated. Bang! The elderly man's hand trembled, and the teacup fell from his hand to the floor, shattering into pieces. Then, he abruptly stood up and tightly clenched his fists, veins bulging on his forehead. What did you say? The entire Chan family was annihilated. Quickly let Chan Yu enter. I must know what happened. Ever since several decades ago when his own daughter did not listen to his advice and insisted on marrying someone from the Chan family, he cut off all contact with her, and even Chan Yu, this grandson of his, was not liked by him. It was to the point that he never asked anything about them for all these years. However, he did not imagine that in the end, the entire Chan family would be annihilated. The elderly man's body weakened, and he dropped onto the chair. His heart was enveloped in a wrenching pain, and he could not help but tightly grasp onto the corner of his robe. Chapter 549, Chan Yu, 2. Not long later, a handsome young man slowly walked toward the main hall. The last remnants of the setting sun cast onto the man, stretching his shadow. Perhaps due to hearing the grievous news of the Chan family, his current features were darker than usual, and blood vessels covered his black eyes. It was not until Chan Yu saw the elderly man inside the main hall that his expression eased a bit. His thin lips slightly opened as he slowly said, Grandfather, you are the only family that I have left. Boom. As though lightning had struck on a sunny day, the elderly man was immediately stupefied. It was a long while before he recovered and asked, his expression ghastly pale, you were saying that your mother. She's dead. The entire Chan family was annihilated. Chan Yu could never have imagined that he only left the Chan household for a little over half a month, and these many events happened. When he heard about this nightmare while outside, he did not believe it. But he did not dare to return to the Chan residence, afraid that he would also meet an untimely end. Hence, as he investigated the truth behind the matter, he traveled to Wangquan City to rely on his grandfather. Who was it? The elderly man broke the table in half with a slap, and his geriatric appearance gradually twisted. Tell me. Who killed your mother? I will definitely make them pay 100-fold. The bottom of Chan Yu's eyes revealed his complicated feelings, but more of it was a bone-deep hatred. It was Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya. When Chan Yu recalled that peerlessly beautiful girl, his fists tightly clenched, and his nails dug into his palm, wisps of blood trickling out. After the anger passed, the elderly man recovered his calmness and asked with a cold expression, why? Yun Luofeng has a maidservant named Jung Lingge who is the daughter of a collateral branch member of our Chan family. Yun Luofeng wanted Jung Lingge to marry a guard of hers, but Jung Lingge declined. And that member of my Chan family wanted to protect his daughter, so he secretly took her away to protect her, which angered Yun Luofeng. She teamed up with the traitor of the Chan family, Chan Ya, and invaded the Chan residence, killing everyone in the family. Having lived in a giant dye tank like the Chan family, how could Chan Yu be completely clean? Hence, he could casually make up a completely bogus lie like this. Also, the only ones present that day besides Yun Luofeng and her people were members of the Chan family, so the world only knew that the Chan family was exterminated and did not know why. Even if people from Heavenly Marshal Pavilion went to investigate, they still would not find anything. More importantly, as a safeguard, he used a portion of the Chan family force that he brought with him that day to create rumors, causing Yun Luofeng to become a presence that the world pointed fingers at. Yun Luofeng, Chan Ya, the elderly man was so angry that he started laughing as the killing intent in his eyes intensified. These two people, not only did they force an honest girl into prostitution, but they also forced a collateral relative of your Chan family to marry her guard and did something this atrocious. Chan Yu, don't worry, grandfather will definitely avenge your mother and make these people die without a burial site. He only mentioned avenging his mother and did not mention the Chan family at all. It was clear that he still did not acknowledge the presence of the Chan family. However, as long as Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya were killed, it would already be more than enough. Someone, come and bring young master to rest. The elderly man's expression was bone-chillingly cold but abated a few degrees when he looked at Chan Yu. Chan Yu, since the Chan family doesn't exist anymore, you will be a member of the Tang family from now on. Your name will be Tang Tianyu. Yes, grandfather, Tang Tianyu respectfully responded as he lowered his head. Chapter 550, Taking Over Your Position 1. Good child, Tang ran lightly aside and lifted his hand to clap Tang Tianyu on the shoulders. You have suffered these past few days. You can live well in the Tang family from now on. I won't treat you unfairly. This child's potential was quite decent. If he was carefully nurtured, he would definitely be prosperous in Wangquan City in the future. It was unfortunate that he was previously angry with his daughter and, in turn, did not like this grandson as well, so he never trained him. Grandfather, I won't disappoint you. Tang Tianyu looked up with determined features. There would eventually be a day where he killed Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya with his own hands. And also take over the Heavenly Marshal Pavilion from grandfather's hands. When the servant escorted Tang Tianyu away, the elderly man's face darkened bit by bit, and he coldly said, Tang Ying, go and investigate the truth behind the annihilation of the Chan family. Suddenly, a black figure gently drifted down in front of Tang Ran and asked with a deep voice, does master not believe in young master Chan Yu's words? Tang Ran snorted, how can I not understand the conduct of the members of the Chan family? Immediately go investigate the truth. Unfortunately, the villain can always outsmart the law. Before telling the lie, Tang Tianyu already spread this rumor throughout the continent. And something like rumors can never disappear no matter how you stifle them. As a result, the truth that Tang Ying discovered at the end was identical to the words of Tang Tianyu. Nothing could be done about the lack of other people on the mountain that day. People only knew that it was Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya who killed the members of the Chan family because only these few people entered the uppermost level of Chan Mountain that day. People merely needed to remember their appearance and then draw it on paper before transmitting it. There would eventually be someone who recognized them, Yun Luofeng especially. Too many people had seen her. And Chan Ya also treated quite a few patients in the past, so anyone who was treated by him would remember his face. Master, Tang Ying briefly paused before continuing, how should we deal with Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya? Hearing his question, an icy killing intent flashed through Tang Ran's eyes. Regardless of whether Chan Yu spoke the truth or not, both of them deserve to die. Immediately relay the order to search for them. Kill them on sight. Yes, Tang Ying cupped his fists in salute. After his response, his figure disappeared without a trace like a breeze. Tang Ran probably never would have imagined that the enemy who exterminated Chan family was already inside Wangquan City. If he went out to look for Yun Luofeng, he would not find her no matter how hard he looked. Currently, outside of the estate of Big Dipper Gang, the lookout caught sight of a bearded man bringing two young girls over and could not help but whistle, Pang Fei, Pang Qinggran, you two brothers are quite lucky to have acquired such superior quality beauties this time. Hearing the teasing of his fellow gang member, the corner of Pang Fei's mouth twitched, and embarrassment leaked onto his face. Right, Pang Fei, what's up with your face? Who beat you up? This. Pang Fei chuckled in embarrassment, I accidentally tripped. There's nothing to do with you here, I'm going to find boss. There was some suspicion in the eyes of the lookout member. How could tripping cause an appearance like this? He must have been beaten up and found it too embarrassing to say. While he was hesitating, Pang Fei and his brother already brought the two girls inside the gang. Our boss should be cultivating in seclusion. I will bring you to see him now, said Pang Qinggran in a deep voice as his eyes swept across Yun Luofeng. Chapter 551, Taking Over Your Position 2. Inside the tranquil secret room, a middle-aged Chapter 551, Taking Over Your Position 2. Inside the tranquil secret room, a middle-aged man was sitting upright on a woven bulrush mat and had his eyes closed to rest. A faint spiritual energy hovered around him and was absorbed by him while his pores opened and closed. However, his complexion changed as soon as that spiritual energy entered his body, as though there were thousands of ants burrowing into his body. Still not working. Bean-sized sweat dripped from his face, and he slowly opened his eyes. His fist fiercely slammed onto the ground as he harshly said, damn it. Could it be that I can't absorb spiritual energy ever again for the rest of my life? Can I only remain as a low-rank sky-level spirit cultivator? Thud thud thud. 3 knocks were heard from outside the secret room. The sound made the middle-aged man recover his wits, and his expression slowly turned back to normal. He coldly called, enter. No matter what, his inability to cultivate could not be made known. Otherwise, not only would it evoke the panic of the gang members, but they also would not be able to keep their 11th rank. However, it had been nearly 6 years since he broke through to sky level, so if he did not make another breakthrough soon, it would certainly arouse suspicion. At that time, everyone would know about his inability to cultivate. Creak. The door to the secret room was opened, and Pang Fei and his brother entered, but the middle-aged man caught sight of the two young girls closely following him at first glance. The leader of the two girls must be that girl in white with a beauty that could ruin cities. A languid expression lingered on her face, and a confident aura was ostentatiously displayed. Pang Fei. Pang Qingran. The man's expression abruptly transformed, and he coldly rebuked, "Who allowed you to bring outsiders inside the gang? Moreover, you even brought them to me." Seeing their boss rage, Pang Fei was so scared that he did not dare to speak, and his body was ceaselessly shuddering. Pang Qingran, on the other hand, swept his eyes over his older brother before walking to stand in front of the middle-aged man and respectfully saying, "Boss, these two ladies said they came to see you, so this subordinate boldly brought them to you. Please pardon me, boss." Humph. The middle-aged man snorted, and his chilly eyes turned to Yun Luofeng. "I don't know who you are nor do I know why you came to find me, but this isn't somewhere you can come. Hurry and leave." Yun Luofeng crossed her arms across her chest, and her body lazily leaned against the frame of the door. She wickedly glanced at the livid man. "I naturally came here for a reason," she paused for a moment before saying. "I heard that only the top 10 forces of Wangquan City had the right to enter Bayan Mountain. Because the city was named Wangquan, the mountain range inside Wangquan City was named Bayan Mountain 1. Since there was a limited quantity of the most abundant medicinal herbs inside the mountain, there was an unnamed rule in Wangquan City. Only those in the top 10 had the right to enter Bayan Mountain. Being able to enter Bayan Mountain also became a symbol of power inside Wangquan City. This was why Yun Luofeng came to find the Big Dipper gang." "What do you mean?" the middle-aged man severely asked as his eyes darkened. "My intent is simple." Yun Luofeng slightly narrowed her eyes, and the wicked smile on her face grew, "and that is to take over your position." Abruptly, a powerful aura erupted from the man, and he sprang up from the floor. He said with fury in his eyes, "Little girl, do you know what you are saying? Replacing me? I would like to see whether you have the strength." After saying this, he did not hesitate and speedily acted. Like a sharp sword, he quickly charged to the front of Yun Luofeng. Chapter 552, I agree. The instant that he appeared in front of Yun Luofeng, a heavy force slammed on his throat, evoking a wave of trembling. Closely following after, the girl's figure appeared behind him somehow and a kick landed on his butt, sending him to the wall. The Pang brothers were originally waiting to see Yun Luofeng make a fool of herself because to them, their boss was already sky-level spirit cultivator, so how could she oppose him? They did not imagine that this girl only had to use one kick for their boss to be plastered against the wall like a gecko, without even an opportunity to resist. The two brothers were immediately stunned. Their pale faces were full of shock as they looked at Yun Luofeng, stupefied and scared speechless. With a smile, the girl's eyes slightly lifted to look at the middle-aged man glued to the wall. "Do you think I have the strength to take over your position now?" The man slowly slid down the wall. He tightly clutched his butt and turned around to glare at Yun Luofeng with an extremely unsightly complexion. "Since you want to go to Bayan Mountain, you should go find the top 10 forces instead. My Big Dipper gang is only ranked 11th, so I'm afraid it won't go as you wish." The corner of Yun Luofeng's mouth imperceptibly turned up. "I'm born lazy, so I'm unwilling to search for other forces. Your Big Dipper gang came knocking on the door at just the right time, so I can only come to you. As for the top 10. Yun Luofeng briefly paused, the smile on her face confident. "That isn't anything difficult." Her words meant that as long as she took over the Big Dipper gang, getting into the top 10 would not be a problem. "Ho ho." The middle-aged man snorted. "Even if you defeated me, it still won't be that easy to lead the Big Dipper gang into the top 10. Youngsters shouldn't be overconfident, or they will eventually take a loss." Yun Luofeng turned to the man with a wicked smile. "Whether I can get the Big Dipper gang into the top 10 isn't something you should be concerned with. I am giving you only one choice now. Let me eradicate the Big Dipper gang or serve me. Die. Or serve." The man's expression abruptly changed as he tightly clenched his fists. The Pang brothers did not expect the ambition of Yun Luofeng to be this great, and their expressions both became awful. They inwardly regretted bringing her to see boss. "Little girl, don't you think you are going too far?" The middle-aged man stifled the fury in his heart and harshly said, "As soon as you open your mouth, you want my Big Dipper gang to serve you. What is different between your actions and those of a bandit? Wangquan City respects power the most. In here, the fist is the law. The eradication of a faction is something that often happens." The smile in her eyes deepened. "So even if I destroy your Big Dipper gang, there's nothing wrong with that." The middle-aged man's body shook from anger, but he took a deep breath and chose to stay silent. 1. Seeing the lack of response from the middle-aged man, Yun Luofeng started to count absent-mindedly. 2. 3. Her voice was wicked and moving, but it exerted a colossal pressure on the middle-aged man. That pressure was like a giant mountain, snapping the last string in his mind. "I agree." As soon as these words were spoken, it was as though he lost all his power, and his entire body fell over. Since he came to Wangquan City, it meant he did not fear death, but he could not bear to see the gang that he established be destroyed. "Great." Yun Luofeng finally laughed. Her smile was as absolutely beautiful and captivating as usual, so gorgeous that it made people unable to look away. "Since you agreed, then your position will belong to me from now on." Chapter 553, Rumors springing up everywhere. The middle-aged man grew limp. He did not know whether his decision was good or bad. He only hoped that this girl would not destroy the entire Big Dipper gang. It was not until the man reminisced about the scene today many years later that he realized how lucky he was. If it were not for this girl's forceful behavior, his Big Dipper gang would continue to be a mediocre existence inside Wangquan City and would not become the formidable force that unified Wangquan City in the future. In Wangquan City, some idle conversation topics pop up almost every day, like the eradication of so-and-so faction or the abrupt emergence of this and that new faction. No one was a stranger to it. However, there was a piece of news that shook the entire Wangquan City today. It was said that the Big Dipper gang switched leaders, and the one who took over the Big Dipper gang was a young lady. Many people made guesses about the relationship between this girl and the leader of the Big Dipper gang, Murong 1. Why did Murong entrust her with the Big Dipper gang? Could it be that she was his illegitimate daughter? Or his lover? Otherwise, Murong would not easily hand his gang over to a strange woman. Of course, more people believed in the lover explanation. This was because those who had seen the girl said that she was devastatingly beautiful. Even the most beautiful woman in Wangquan City could not compare. No. It should be said that the difference between the two was day and night. Murong could not produce such a beautiful daughter, so they reckoned that the girl used her beauty to seduce Murong, causing him to hand his gang over to her while dazed. At this time, in the middle of the lobby in Heavenly Marshal Pavilion, Tang Ran listened to the reports from his subordinate, and contemplation flashed through his features. The Big Dipper gang was transferred to a young lady. Do you know the background of this girl? Reporting to Master, this subordinate already sent someone to inquire about that girl, but there isn't any accurate information yet. Tang Ran was silent for a moment before saying, let's ignore the matter about the Big Dipper gang first. No matter what, this Big Dipper gang can't cause any trouble. We should prepare for our upcoming grand auction. I must attain one of the items in it. Let Tianyu bring some people with him and head there at that time. It will let me assess his abilities too. Yes, Master. The guard cupped his fists and silently retreated. He stared in the direction that the guard disappeared to, his features dark. Big Dipper gang. A girl in her teens. It looks like this Big Dipper gang is truly growing weaker and weaker. Perhaps won't be long before they disappear in the course of history. While Tang Ran sent people to scout for news about Yun Luofeng, all of the factions inside Wangquan City secretly observed the Big Dipper gang. After all, this gang was once glorious several decades ago and only declined after the death of its previous leader. Now, their position in Wangquan City has also plunged, descending to the 11th rank. Inside a picturesque estate, a man sat under the peach blossoms and played the zither with his bare hands. His long, snow-white hair danced in the wind, setting off his fair as snow skin and matchless handsome appearance. The sleeves of his robes gently fluttered in the air, and the sound of his zither was exceptional, flowing like clear spring water and incredibly calming to people's mood. Master, an alluringly beautiful woman clothed in red walked to the front of the white-haired man and said with a sword in her hands, I made inquiries and found out that the new girl at the Big Dipper gang is named Yun Luofeng. Dong. The man's fingertips slid over the cords of the zither, producing a melodious ringing. Then, his movements came to a stop. Chapter 554, clothed in white like an immortal. Yun Luofeng. The man's voice was melodic and pleasant, similar to a breeze brushing over the listener's heart. When the man slightly lifted his head, all of the cherry blossoms in the courtyard lost their colors due to his appearance. He was so beautiful that it made people forget to breathe, as though he was the most striking color in the world. Tian Ya sent a letter not long ago that mentioned this name and also said that this girl is the only one who can cure me. He faintly smiled. That smile blossomed under the cherry blossom tree, so gorgeous that it made people unable to look away. The alluring woman foolishly looked at the man, her face slightly tinged red. Although she had dwelled beside Master for many years, she still could not overlook his beauty. Perhaps there was no one more beautiful than Master in this world. Master, should the subordinate invite her to come to the Chen estate? The beautiful woman asked while deferentially cupping her fists after she recovered her wits with difficulty. No need, the man shook his head, I need to observe for a while first. Junhua, I will attend the auction in a few days' time. Go prepare for it. Yes, Master, the alluring Yes, Master, the alluring woman respectfully responded, but there was a trace of pity in her eyes. After old Master and Mistress were killed those years ago, Master's hair turned white overnight, but he still needed to take charge of the entire Chen family. If it were not for Master, the Chen family would have already been devoured by those wolves long ago. Unfortunately, the good did not live long, and Master was afflicted with an incurable illness. All the famous doctors they visited could not treat it. Now that there was an opportunity like this, he would not easily give it up. The auction was the biggest business event in Wangquan City, and the day that it was held was unprecedentedly lively. Nearly every clan would send someone to attend. For fairness, the auction seated every clan according to their rank. So, as the new leader of the Big Dipper gang, Yun Luofeng coincidentally encountered the 10th ranked Heavenly Marshal Pavilion at the auction. Tian Yu immediately caught sight of Yun Luofeng, who was seated in the section for the Big Dipper gang, and his features darkened. I didn't expect to see you here. The corner of Yun Luofeng's lips raised as she sarcastically retorted, same to you. No wonder Tian Yi said she would not be able to find Tian Yu. It turned out he actually came to a place like Wangquan City. If she did not step inside Wangquan City, she would not have expected Tian Yu to be here. Cousin to Tian Yu, who is she? A lovely voice was heard from beside Tian Yu. Then, a young girl dressed in a light yellow long dress was seen slowly walking over, her disdainful gaze sweeping past the seated Yun Luofeng. Chan Yu's face darkened slightly. She is Yun Luofeng, the one who our Heavenly Martial Pavilion has been looking for. Yun Luofeng. The girl in a yellow dress was slightly shocked, but she quickly covered her mouth and started to giggle. So you are the Yun Luofeng who forced an honest girl into prostitution. I heard that you are extremely vicious. You also have a fiancé already, but you still go and seduce other men. Not only that, but after seducing other men, you continue to pester your fiancé non-stop and don't permit other women to approach him. The girl paused briefly and the mockery in her smile deepened. How does someone like you have the nerve to continue living? If I were you, I would have already killed myself with a slam to my head. Of course, these words were implanted into her by Chan Yu during this period of time. She did not clearly investigate whether it was the truth or not herself because she did not think Chan Yu had the guts to deceive her. Lin Ruobai abruptly stood up and her arms were placed on her hips as she angrily glared at the yellow-dressed girl. Are you talking about yourself? I can tell you're a slut just by your looks. Tell me the truth, is Chan Yu unable to satisfy your appetite? Chapter 555. Chopping off your arm. Her final sentence caused the duo's expression to abruptly change. Chan Yu's face was livid as he coldly said, Yun Luofeng, manage your people better. You can't say whatever you want without consequence. Cousin Tang Yue and I are innocent. How could we possibly have the relationship that she speaks of? In contrast to Chan Yu's verbal warning, Tang Yue was so angry that she wanted to go up and rip apart Lin Ruobai's mouth so that she did not dare to speak irresponsible remarks from now on. I'm merely speaking the truth. Lin Ruobai pursed her lips. She started running her mouth off as soon as she walked up. If that's not unsatisfied desire, then what is it? If you can't satisfy her, I don't mind finding 100 men for her. You BTCH. Tang Yue flew into a rage and charged up, raising her hand to slap Lin Ruobai. Speak another word, and I'll kill you today. Slap. The sound of a crisp slap was suddenly heard, quieting the main hall of the auction hall. Everyone's eyes turned to Yun Luofeng and the others all at once, their eyes filled with the desire to watch a good show. Lin Ruobai had one hand tightly gripping Tang Yue's wrist while the other hand had fiercely slapped her face. She imperceptibly looked up, her features brimming with arrogance as she haughtily looked down on Tang Yue. I said it. What about it? Or is it that you can humiliate my master, but I can't talk back? In Lin Ruobai's mind, master was the most important person besides daddy, so how could she allow someone to humiliate her? Tang Yue's whole body trembled with anger, and her face was slightly pale. I said the truth, but you are making false accusations against me. Cousin Tianyu is the most knowledgeable about the behavior of this woman, Yun Luofeng. If I didn't guess wrong, she is the new leader of the Big Dipper gang. I even heard that for this leadership position, she had no scruples against climbing onto Murongbei's bed. Lin Ruobai's eyes grew stern. Her palm was about to hit her again, but a forceful hand suddenly appeared from the side and tightly grabbed her arm. However, Chan Yu was looking at Yun Luofeng, incensed, as he coldly said, Yun Luofeng, don't go too far. First, you force prostitution upon someone, and then you exterminate my Chan family. Now, you treat my cousin like this. Will you ever stop? Yun Luofeng glanced at his hand, which was clutching Lin Ruobai's arm, and frostily uttered, let go. I won't let go of her, what can you do? This was Wangquan City, not Chan Mountain. In a place like this, although Heavenly Martial Pavilion was only one rank above Big Dipper gang, the difference between the two was actually day and night. More importantly, Chan Ya was not here, nor was Yun Xiao, so no one could protect her. Unfortunately, the current Chan Yu still believed the Chan family's extermination had to do with Chan Ya, and Yun Luofeng only played a supporting role. If he saw the scene of Yun Luofeng fighting with all the experts of Chan family by herself, perhaps he would not have a conceited notion like this. You sure you won't let go? Asked Yun Luofeng again with a wicked raise of her brows. Chan Yu snorted, I won't. Swish. Just as his words were spoken, Yun Luofeng quickly drew out a sword and did not even give him a chance to respond before slicing it through the air. With a plop and a gush of blood, a chopped arm rolled to the floor. Ahhhh. Chan Yu's scream was full of anguish, similar to the wails of ghosts and howls of wolves. He knew from the start that Yun Luofeng's current strength surpassed him, but he did not imagine that the other party would be this bold and directly chop his arm off in the auction hall. Chapter 556, Elder Yan's Protection. I already gave you 2 chances. Yun Luofeng withdrew her bloody longsword and expressionlessly sat down in the seat for the Big Dipper gang. From start to end, the expression in her eyes was very calm, so calm that it was like nothing had happened. Tang Yue was dumbfounded for a moment before suddenly snapping out of it and sharply screamed, Murder! Come quickly! In an instant, an elderly man entered the venue for the auction. While the elderly man walked, he muttered with an impatient expression, What happened? Shrieking like this here, if you keep going, I will. The words suddenly caught in the man's throat, and he dumbfoundedly looked at Chan Yu, who was lying in a pool of blood, and harshly swallowed. What is this? Elder Yan, Tang Yue fiercely glared at Yun Luofeng. This woman injured my cousin at your auction. Seize her now. This. Elder Yan was somewhat hesitant and turned to Yun Luofeng. Miss, what wrong did the young master of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion commit so as to cause Miss to harm him? The old man still spoke politely, so Yun Luofeng did not hold back in her response, he was too lecherous. Not only did he molest my disciple, but he also would not let go of her. To make him let go, I had no alternative but to chop his arm off. Hearing this, the mouths of all the onlookers twitched. It was clearly her disciple who overbearingly wanted to lecture Tang Yue, and Tang Tianyu only grabbed her to protect Tang Yue, who knew that in this girl's mouth, it would become Tang Tianyu was too lecherous and was molesting her disciple. Elder Yan could not resist rubbing his forehead. She chopped someone's arm off simply because the other person grabbed her disciple's arm. One cannot behave that domineering. Cough cough, Elder Yan dryly coughed before looking at Tang Yue. Since it was a member from the Heavenly Martial Pavilion who was at fault first and molested someone's disciple, it's a well-deserved punishment. Tang Yue, don't forget the rules of Wangquan City. Other people can't interfere with the fighting between two factions. His words meant that even if Yun Luofeng killed Tang Tianyu, their auction house would not interfere. Yun Luofeng looked at Elder Yan with some astonishment and sunk into contemplation while lightly caressing her chin. Logically, since she chopped off Tang Tianyu's arm at the auction hall, it was the same as disrespecting the auction house. Elder Yan's display, however, it was as though they did not care about her behavior at all. This was too abnormal. Yet, even if the auction house pursued the matter, she would still do the same. Seeing that Elder Yan misunderstood the situation, Tang Yue hurriedly explained, Elder Yan, don't listen to this woman's nonsense. Cousin Tianyu did not molest her disciple, it was her disciple who raised a hand toward me first. Enough. Elder Yan's expression abruptly shifted, and he sternly rebuked, if you say one more word, I will expel you from the auction house, and you won't be permitted to enter ever again. Within all of the factions in Wangquan City, Shangshan Auction House was ranked 5th, and it was not an existence that the Heavenly Martial Pavilion could contend against. Hence, Tang Yue could merely suppress her anger. Hold on. Seeing that Tang Yue was about to take Tang Tianyu with her and leave, Yun Luofeng suddenly spoke to halt her steps. What more do you want? Tang Yue turned around and unhappily asked. Someone defamed me about prostituting an honest woman just now, Yun Luofeng stated with a wicked smile, and I have disliked being defamed since I was born. So I must corroborate this accusation. Chapter 557, Chen Yuqing 1. Facing the girl's wicked smiling face, Tang Yue turned pale and couldn't help but retreat 2 steps. What are you trying to do, Yun Luofeng? She asked, biting her lips, her face blue with fright. Lazily leaning against the chair, Yun Luofeng rested her arms on the back of the chair. Hearing Tang Yue's voice, she lifted her eyes and showed her a creepy smile. You said I coerced women into prostitution. Good, as you wish. Xiao Bai, find out the location of the most famous brothel in the Wangquan City. The girl ordered, her lips showing a mocking curve. I think I can sell the heiress of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion for a good price. The whole bidding block quieted down with the voice of Yun Luofeng. With his mouth wide open, Elder Yan was also shocked by the words of Yun Luofeng. Obviously, he didn't expect that she would righteously say something like this. Since you claimed that I coerced women into prostitution, why don't I act as you accused me? Yun Luofeng, don't push me too hard. Tang Yue was trembling all over with anger and pointed angrily at Yun Luofeng. If her eyes could kill people, Yun Luofeng would have already been cut into pieces by her. Push you too hard. Yun Luofeng looked down at Tang Yue. It would be a waste of my time. It would be a waste of her time to push her, so why should she bother? Tang Yue's face turned from blue to pale, and then from pale to blue, as if being painted with dyes. She was so angry that she couldn't utter any word but glare at Yun Luofeng with her malicious eyes. This lady, Elder Yan glanced at Tang Yue, then turned his eyes to Yun Luofeng and asked with a smile, could you please do me a favor and ignore Tang Yue for now? If you want to deal with her, you can challenge the Heavenly Martial Pavilion to resolve your grievances. If Elder Yan was partial to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, Yun Luofeng would not listen to him anyway. But because Elder Yan had tried to shield her just now, Yun Luofeng nodded to agree. To save you from trouble, I will not create a disturbance in your auction house. But the Heavenly Martial Pavilion will soon disappear. Elder Yan smiled gratefully. He knew that even if Yun Luofeng didn't listen to him, he couldn't do anything. After all, that big shot had specifically asked him to protect the girl. But he really didn't want to delay the opening of the auction just because of the people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, so he shamelessly asked her to do him a favor. Elder Yan laughed, haha, Miss Yun, thank you for your understanding, but now the auction is about to start. Please have a seat, everybody. From the beginning to the end, he didn't look at Tang Yue and his men, as if he had ignored their existence. Tang Yue gave a sharp glance at Yun Luofeng, and hurriedly directed the disciples of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion to carry Tang Tianyu away. However, Tang Ran didn't want to give up the auction, so he sent a person to participate in the auction on his behalf. The man, as warned by Tang Ran, didn't say anything to provoke Yun Luofeng but sat neatly off to one side. At this point, in the back hall of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, Tang Tianyu was lying in bed, his face ghastly pale and sweat rolling down from his forehead. He constantly groaned in agony, his frowning brows showing how painful it was. Grandfather, said Tang Yue angrily, that Yun Luofeng was really a bully. She showed no respect for our Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Cousin had his arm cut off by Yun Luofeng in order to protect me. Chapter 558, Chen Yuqing 2. Tang Ran looked expressionlessly at Tang Tianyu who was groaning in bed and clenched his hands. Even if he didn't like this grandchild before, this child was his daughter's only offspring left after she was murdered. How could he not be angry seeing that he was seriously injured like this? Yun Luofeng. A killing intent flickered through his eyes. I'll cut you into pieces to revenge my grandson. Grandfather, cousin. Tang Yue moved her lips, a guilty look in her eyes. If it weren't for protecting her, Tang Tianyu would not have suffered such a serious injury. I can't make his arm regrow, but I can connect another person's arm onto Tianyu's body. Tang Ran slightly narrowed his eyes. Since it was Yun Luofeng who injured him, she should give Tianyu her arm. Tang Yue was quite glad to hear this. As long as grandfather was willing to help her, Yun Luofeng would no longer be a threat to her. By the way, Yue, as if something occurred to Tang Ran, he turned his head to Tang Yue. A physician from the Chen family appreciates your medical accomplishments and wants to accept you as a disciple. The Chen family. Tang Yue was stunned and then, a surge of joy swept through her. Are you talking about the Chen family, the #1 family in Wangquan City? In addition to being powerful, the Chen family also had a striking feature. Chen Yuqing, master of the Chen family, was the most handsome man in Wangquan City. Chen Yuqing was not only extremely handsome, but also gentle and kind to people, and he was the dream lover of most of the women in Wangquan City. However, over the years, Chen Yuqing had stayed single, which aroused people's curiosity about his sexual orientation. Or was it because no woman in this world could attract him? Yue, Tang Ran put his hand onto Tang Yue's shoulder and said to her seriously, there is one thing you must remember. If you can become a disciple of that physician of the Chen family, you must try to attract Chen Yuqing. In the face of Chen Yuqing, you should not be arrogant or capricious but be considerate. Tang Ran's eyes shone with a bright light. As long as you can become the mistress of the Chen family, the status of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion will be greatly improved, and even the Shengshan auction house will have to grovel at our feet. And this was the price that Elder Yan would have to pay for being partial to Yun Luofeng. Tang Yue's eyes were twinkling with pride, and her face was full of confidence. Grandfather, don't you believe in the charm of your granddaughter? Chen Yuqing is a man, and no man doesn't love beautiful women. Those women who tried to attract Chen Yuqing are simply not as good looking as me, so they all failed. But I will succeed. Tang Ran finally showed a long-lost smile. Of course, my granddaughter is very beautiful, but Yun Luofeng is also in Wangquan City right now, and I heard that she is the most beautiful woman in the world. I'm afraid she wants to marry Chen Yuqing too. After all, every woman loves glory, wealth, and rank. Grandfather, Tang Yue curled her lips with disdain. Chen Yuqing wouldn't be so silly. How could Chen Yuqing possibly accept a woman who easily threw herself at other men as his wife? This dirty woman can't be compared with me. That woman, even though stunningly beautiful, was not worthy to be her opponent. Chapter 559, Auction 1. Ha ha ha. Tang Ran laughed. He patted Tang Yue on the shoulder and said sincerely, yes, you're right. How can a filthy woman like her be compared to my chaste granddaughter? Yue, I'm very confident in you. Don't let me down. Tang Yue gave a faint smile and lowered her eyelids to conceal the grim gleam in her eyes. She had to make Chen Yuqing, the man whose charm exceeded all the women of Wangquan City, her own. Generally speaking, in an auction, the items auctioned earliest were usually ordinary ones, but the later the item was auctioned, the more precious it would be. At this point, as the auctioneer's hammer fell down, another item was sold. Everybody, now we're going to auction off a tree seed. With a gentle smile, the young auctioneer lifted the red cloth off the pallet, and his clear voice rang throughout the auction house. Honestly, I don't know what the tree is, but since it was taken from the deepest part of Bian Mountain, perhaps there will be a miracle if the tree seed can germinate. The auctioneer's voice was so tempting, as if having a magical power in it. However, when the crowd saw the tree seed in the pallet, their excited hearts calmed down. If it was only a tree seed, maybe they would take the risk to buy it, but this tree seed had obviously withered, as if being burned by fire. Even a god would not be able to make it germinate. Only a fool would buy such a withered tree seed. As if not noticing the people's eyes, the young auctioneer continued to say with a smile, the starting price is 10 million taels of silver. Start bidding now. At once, everyone was whispering to each other, and no one made a bid. Just when the crowd thought that no one was going to bid for it, a clear voice came from among the crowd. 10 million taels. Lin Ruobai raised her hand and in embarrassment called out the starting price of the item. However, after that, Lin Ruobai withdrew her hand, turned her eyes to Yun Luofeng and curled her lips. Master, I don't think this tree seed will have any use. Why do you want to buy it? Yun Luofeng crossed her legs, her arms lazily resting on the back of her chair, with an unfathomable smile in her eyes. The tree seed has a nice shape. It can make a perfect necklace for my milk tea. Lin Ruobai's mouth twitched. So Master wanted to buy it because she wanted to make a necklace for milk tea with it. But it would cost 10 million taels. At the moment Lin Ruobai just wanted to exclaim, Master, you are so rich and willful. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, the other people shook their heads and secretly sighed. Being inherited by such a person, the Big Dipper gang was going to disappear. Even the disciples of the Big Dipper gang were a little bit embarrassed and blamed Yun Luofeng in their minds. She was really a wastrel. How could she waste money like this? It was none of their business if she was wasting her own money, but the wealth of the Big Dipper gang was earned by the old master with hard work. After all, in their eyes, it was impossible that Yun Luofeng, an ordinary girl, could have 10 million taels. She must have stolen the money from the old master. Chapter 560, Auction 2. So what qualified her to waste the money like this? Apparently, even if Yun Luofeng had agreed to inherit the Big Dipper gang, the disciples didn't trust her. They yielded to Yun Luofeng just because they were afraid of Murongbei. 15 million taels. Just then, a rough voice came from the team of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. A middle-aged man coldly glanced at Yun Luofeng and sneered, "I don't think Murongbei has left you much money. 10 million taels are all you have, right? I'm sorry, but I want this tree seed." Though Master had warned him not to make trouble in the auction house, his current behavior was not making trouble. He was just bidding for an auction item. "Master." Xiao Bai asked hesitantly, "Shall we follow him?" Hearing her question, Yun Luofeng lowered her eyes and stroked milk tea in her sleeve, her lips showing a wicked curve. Milk tea is very fond of the tree seed. She meant that she would take this tree seed anyway. Lin Ruobai nodded and said, 20 million taels. The middle-aged man's face changed, and he said with a sneer, "It seems that Murongbei treats you quite well and has given you a lot of money, but no matter how much money he has given to you, he will not give you all his property. And his wealth is simply incomparable to ours." Though it seemed that there was only one place difference between the Heavenly Martial Pavilion and the Big Dipper gang, they had a great distance in strength and wealth, so the middle-aged men dared to speak like this. But he simply had no idea how wealthy Yun Luofeng was. 30 million taels. After saying that, the middle-aged man bided again and glanced at Yun Luofeng with a smug look. He'd like to see whether the woman would continue to bid against him. This time he had brought enough money with him. 30 million taels would be nothing. As long as he could frustrate the girl, he would be willing to spend any amount of money. 40 million taels. 50 million. 60 million taels. This time, before the middle-aged man could finish his next bid, Lin Ruobai immediately interrupted him. 60 million taels. It was a big number even for the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. If there weren't something in the auction that Master wanted to buy, he would have continued the bidding. However, to get that item, he could only give up on the tree seed. But that didn't mean he couldn't make some trouble for Yun Luofeng. All the assets of your Big Dipper gang added up would only be worth 60 million taels. I don't think Murongbei would be stupid enough to give all the money to you. The middle-aged man sneered, stood up and said arrogantly, "I asked the auction house to check the assets of this woman. If she hasn't brought enough money with her, her behavior shall be deemed as a malicious act. And according to the rules of the auction house, you should break a leg of hers and forbid her to enter Wangquan City forever." Lin Ruobai helplessly glanced at the man as if looking at an idiot. With her superb medical skills, Master could easily earn tens of millions of money from any single patient. It was ridiculous that he doubted whether Master had 60 million taels or not. Were the people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion also mindless? Watching this farce, the young auctioneer smiled, "We have our rules. We will check the money when delivering the auction items. Master Tang Lin, please don't worry." Chapter 561, Auction 3. Clenching his teeth, Tang Lin said harshly, "You just have no idea how tricky this woman is. As long as you give her enough time, she will come up with an excuse to not pay. I suggest you ask her to show you the 60 million taels now, or else you might be deceived by her. This woman would not be able to take out 60 million taels." Tang Lin raised a smug smile. This was the retaliation for her not putting the Heavenly Martial Pavilion in her eyes. The smile on the young auctioneer's face disappeared, and he asked coldly, "So Master Tang Lin doesn't believe our auction house?" "No, it's not that I don't believe in the Shangshan auction house. I just don't want you to be deceived." He knew that it would not be good for the Heavenly Martial Pavilion to offend the Shangshan auction house, but he didn't want to let such a good opportunity pass. This time, not giving the young auctioneer a chance to speak, Tang Lin turned his face to Yun Luofeng and smiled sarcastically. "Yun Luofeng, let me guess, how much money did Murongbei give to you? But no matter how much money he gave to you, it can't be as much as 60 million taels. Since you don't have that much money, why did you still bid that price? Are you courting death?" Then Tang Lin paused and continued, "Now, in the Shangshan auction house, I will show everyone how ugly your real face is." Hearing Tang Lin's pushy words, Yun Luofeng was still at ease. She took the teacup from Lin Ruobai and casually took a sip of it, her dark eyes unfathomable. Yun Luofeng, seeing her indifferent attitude, Tang Lin was almost overwhelmed with rage. "If you can't take out 60 million taels, just get out of here as soon as possible." Yun Luofeng put down the teacup, raised her eyebrows and looked at the middle-aged man with a faint smile. "What if I can take out 60 million taels?" "Ha ha," Tang Lin sneered, "you mean Murongbei gave you all his property? Do you think I would believe that?" Yun Luofeng shrugged, "How about this? If I can take out 60 million taels, you will pay for the tree seed for me, alright." Tang Lin's facial slightly changed. He had known that Yun Luofeng was quite cunning, or else the Chan family would not be destroyed by her. Now that she said this, did she really have 60 million taels in her hand? Thinking this, Tang Lin paused, a hesitant look in his eyes. "What? Are you afraid?" Lin Ruobai caught this opportunity and stood up at once, her hands on her hips and her chin raised, and looked down at Tang Lin. "Didn't you say you were sure that my master couldn't take out 60 million taels? Now that my master wanted to make a bet with you, are you afraid?" Tang Lin turned pale. Feeling the mocking stares at him, he hurriedly defended himself. "Who said I was afraid? I'm not afraid of anything. Would I be afraid of two little girls?" "Why don't you bet on it, since you're not afraid?" Lin Ruobai asked aggressively. Tang Lin moved his lips, but his throat was so dry that he couldn't utter a word. Until now he didn't realize that he had been unconsciously trapped. The people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion dare not bet. Are they really afraid? I think so. It seems that the people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion have been intimidated by the new master of the Big Dipper gang. Otherwise, they would not be so timid. Chapter 562, Auction 4. Haha, didn't you hear what Tang Lin said just now? He is already timid but is reluctant to admit it. If I were him, I would bet on it, because I wouldn't lose anyway. When Tang Lin heard the sounds of the gloating discussions, his face changed again. But he had no way to back down now. No one in the Wangquan city knew better than him what it would mean if he was too timid to accept the bet. It would mean that from now on, for a long time, the Heavenly Martial Pavilion would have to tolerate people's taunts. Therefore, to preserve the honor of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, Tang Lin clenched his teeth and said firmly, "It's just a bet. When did you see that I was afraid? Okay, I accept your bet, but if you can't take out 60 million taels now, you must break your leg and never enter Wangquan city again." Yun Luofeng smiled and looked away. She reached into her sleeve, took out a few checks, and handed them to Lin Ruobai. "There are 6 checks, each with the face value of 10 million taels. Ask the auctioneer to check their authenticity now." Tang Lin's face turned stiff, his eyes filled with shock. "This is impossible. Did Murongbei really give the woman all his properties? Was he really that stupid? If I had known this, I would have pushed the bidding price higher. Once the bidding price exceeded 70 million taels, she would not be able to afford it since Murongbei didn't have that much money." Tang Lin was somewhat chagrined. He didn't expect that Murongbei, who had always been shrewd, would be so stupid. The young auctioneer took the checks from Lin Ruobai, examined and returned them to her, and then his clear voice rang through the auction house. "Yes, it's 60 million taels. Tang Lin, you should keep your promise and pay for the lady." Bang! Hearing the young auctioneer's voice, Tang Lin stumbled and fell heavily into a chair. His face was filled with despair. "God! This time I am finished. Not only did I waste 60 million taels, but I also gave it as a gift to the enemy of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. If Master learns of this, he will not go easy on me." Thinking of what he would face after coming back to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, Tang Lin turned pale, his face filled with sorrow. "Ladies and gentlemen, now that the little farce is over, let's continue with the auction. Now we are going to auction off a spiritual beast called the Kangshan Mountain Snow Wolf, with the starting price of 10 million taels. The highest bidder will keep it." Rat-tat. As the young auctioneer's hammer fell down, the auction continued. At this moment, in a luxurious box upstairs, a man was sitting on a soft couch. Holding a cup of tea, he was sipping the tea gracefully. His amiable face was as pure and sweet as a heavenly spring, radiating a warm glow. His hair was as white as snow, breathtakingly beautiful. He was so charming that it seemed that nothing in the world could overshadow him. Even though he just sat there, he looked as beautiful as a painting. "The girl is to my taste." The man raised the corners of his lips and gave a stunningly beautiful smile. "No wonder Chan Ya recommended her to me." Hearing his words, Elder Yan, who was waiting off to the side, immediately said respectfully, "Master Chen, since you appreciate her so much, may I invite her to come here?" "Not now." The man smiled mildly, his slender fingers sliding along the edge of the teacup, but then he frowned as he saw there was a tiny bug in the teacup. Chapter 563, Auction 5. Seeing that bug, Elder Yan was stunned and hurriedly said, "Master Chen, I'll change the tea for you. This teacup has already been stained." He meant that even if Elder Yan changed the tea, it would not change the fact that the teacup had been stained. Servant, realizing what the man meant, Elder Yan immediately ordered, "Get a new teacup for Master Chen." Hearing this, a maid in the box took the teacup outside, and soon she came in again, putting a brand new teacup in front of him. Elder Yan secretly wiped down the cold sweat from his forehead and smiled bitterly. Though Chen Yuqing looked quite easygoing and treated people very nicely, he had a quirk, he was a neat freak. In particular, he was a morbid neat freak. Like just now, though a little bug dropped into his teacup, changing the tea would be enough. But he insisted on changing the teacup together with the tea. Wasn't it morbid? Complaining about his special quirk in his mind, Elder Yan did not dare to show any discontent but asked respectfully, "Master Chen, what do you need me to do?" "You can leave now." Chen Yuqing glanced at Elder Yan indifferently, his voice as fetching as a clear rippling stream. "Yes." Elder Yan respectfully made an obeisance and waved to the maids in the box, "Leave." The maids all saluted and withdrew from the box. From the beginning to the end, these maids didn't dare to take a look at Chen Yuqing, as if the gazers would blaspheme the man who was as beautiful as a banished immortal. Chen Yuqing gently stroked the teacup, a faint smile on his lips. Looking through the door, he could see the gorgeous figure sitting downstairs. Yun Luofeng is really interesting. It seems that she has no mercy on her enemy. I guess the Heavenly Martial Pavilion will experience tragedy since they dared to offend her. In the auction house, as the young auctioneer's hammer fell down again, another item was auctioned off, and then he took out another tray, cleared his throat and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is our last and most important item of the day. It's a medical book written by a physician who died 1,000 years ago. The physician's name was Juichan. Juichan." Hearing the name, everyone present felt as if their heart skipped a beat. They looked at the auctioneer like he was a gorgeous girl, as if they would jump on him at any moment. Everyone knew what the name of Juichan stood for. It was said that this physician could bring someone at the point of death back to life. Even a man near death could be saved by him. In other words, there wasn't any sickness in the world that he couldn't treat. Juichan's medical book contained his lifelong experience and had been pursued by numerous physicians on the continent. However, no one could find it. Nobody would expect that it would appear in the auction. Soon everyone gasped with excitement. "The medical book has no starting price, and you can bid as you wish," said the young auctioneer, smiling. Tang Lin's eyes also lit up. Apparently, the medical book was his target in the auction. As long as they could get the medical book and study it, they might be able to find a way to treat Master Chen. If the Heavenly Martial Pavilion cured Master Chen, the Chen family would owe them a big favor. Chapter 564, Auction 6. Even if they couldn't work out a way to treat Chen Yuqing, they could still gift it to the physician of the Chen family who wanted to take Tang Yue as his disciple. Anyway, as long as they could establish a relationship with the Chen family, the Heavenly Martial Pavilion's position in the Wangquan city would be secured. Master, Lin Ruobai's eyes shone with delight. Tianya would be very fond of this medical book. I owe Tianya a favor. May I buy it and give it to him as a gift? Although Tianya didn't cure her, he came all the way to the Strict God Mountains to save her, so she still bore this kindness in mind. Now there was a way for her to repay him, she would not give it up. As for Yun Luofeng. In Lin Ruobai's mind, Yun Luofeng's medical skill was no worse than Juechan's, so this medical book was not that useful for Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng paused and said, for your sake, I can instruct Tianya in medical skill. This medical book is not necessary. She had the medical god's code, with which no medical book in the world could be compared. After she mastered all the contents of the medical god's code, she would be able to revive the dead, let alone the dying. Lin Ruobai's eyes grew brighter, with a big smile on her face. Master, you are the best master in the world. Indeed, Yun Luofeng's instructions would be more useful than any medical book. If Tianya learned about this, he would be on cloud 9. Humph. Tang Lin snorted and glanced at Yun Luofeng with disdain. Ridiculous. How can you compare yourself with Juechan? Are you stupid, or is it just because you don't even know who Juechan is? After saying this, he turned to the young auctioneer, and shouted out loud, 80 million taels. Seeing that someone was bidding, the others all joined the competition. 100 million taels. 140 million taels. As the medical book was so important, the number of bidders kept increasing, and the bidding price quickly rose from the initial 80 million taels to 500 million taels. In the box, Chen Yuqing was elegantly sipping his tea, not affected by the clamor downstairs at all. However, a beautiful maid standing behind him couldn't help but ask, Master, shall we take this medical book? Once the Chen family joined the bidding, the other families would not have any chance. Chen Yuqing's fingers gently tapped the table, and a thoughtful look flickered across his face. Do you think Yun Luofeng would be interested in medical books as a physician? The beautiful maid paused and asked hesitantly, Master, you mean? Will she owe me a favor if I buy this book and gift it to her? Then maybe she won't refuse me if I ask her to treat me. With an amiable smile on his handsome face, he was lazily leaning against the soft couch, his long snow-white hair casually scattered over the soft couch and his eyes shining with an unfathomable gleam. The beautiful maid wondered why Master wanted to please a woman. She had long been trusted by Chen Yuqing, so she directly asked him about it. Master, the Chen family already has a lot of physicians. Why do you want to buy the medical book and gift it to her? Besides, why would she refuse if you ask her for treatment? There are too many people who are trying to please the Chen family. Who would give up such a chance? Chapter 565, Auction 7. Chen Yuqing smiled mildly. According to Tianya, this girl is quite grumpy. It won't be so easy to ask her to treat me unless we can please her, and the easiest way to please a physician is to give them a precious medical book. He paused, and then added, as for your question, I can tell you that our physicians are no match for this girl. The medical book will be like a pile of waste paper in their hands. Feeling quite sour, the beautiful maid bit her lip tightly. Over the years, she had never seen Master treat any woman as special. Though he was always gentle and nice to people like a banished immortal, his tenderness contained palpable alienation and indifference. But Master treated this woman so differently. At this moment, the bidding price kept soaring and soon reached 1 billion taels. When Chen Yuqing thought this was the best time to join the bidding, a wicked voice rang in the auction hall. 1 billion and 10 million taels. Hearing the voice, Chen Yuqing swallowed back the words on the tip of his tongue and smiled mildly. It seems that we don't need to join in the bidding. Why? The beautiful maid turned her eyes to Chen Yuqing and asked in confusion. Since the girl has joined in the bidding herself, we shall not compete with her. Otherwise, she might take me as an enemy. So, I should give up the idea of pleasing her with the medical book. In the auction hall, Tang Lin was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He glared at Yun Luofeng. Didn't you just despise the medical book of Juechan? Why are you competing with me for it? 1 billion taels was almost his limit. He was going to succeed, but the woman suddenly meddled in it. Yun Luofeng leaned lazily against the back of the chair, and cracked a wicked smile. I want to burn it for fun. You. Tang Lin angrily pointed at Yun Luofeng. How can you have 1 billion taels? If you commit malicious bidding in the auction house, you'll face a severe punishment. Yun Luofeng threw a glance at him and gave a faint smile. Do you want me to show you the money again? All right, but you'll have to buy this medical book for me and watch me burning it for fun if I can take out 1 billion taels. Tang Lin immediately shut up. He would not be so stupid to fall down in the same place twice. So instead of demanding that Yun Luofeng show the money, he turned his eyes to the young auctioneer. 1.2 billion taels. He gnashed his teeth and tried to suppress the rage in his heart. Why, Yun Luofeng, since you like to compete with me, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. At the thought of this, a gloomy gleam flickered through his eyes, and he sneered in his mind, she is too green to be my opponent. 1.2 billion and 10 million taels. 1.3 billion taels. Tang Lin glared at Yun Luofeng and sneered. He would have to stop after bidding this price because he only brought 1.2 billion taels with him. He would not have continued bidding if it weren't for defeating Yun Luofeng. Besides, from what he knew of Yun Luofeng, she would definitely continue. Still, if she couldn't take out 1.3 billion taels, the Shungshan auction house would not let her go. Sure enough, the girl's voice rang again, but her words made Tang Lin's face instantly blue. You won. Chapter 566, Auction 8. You won. What did she mean by saying that? Did she give up bidding? In that case, you would have too. Thinking of the serious consequences, Tang Lin tightly clenched his fist, his face contorted. Yun Luofeng, were you f***ing teasing me? It wasn't until now that Tang Lin realized that Yun Luofeng didn't want to compete for the medical book with him at all. She was just teasing him. God. He thought he could trap this woman this time, but it turned out that he was trapped by her once again. I told you I'm not interested in the medical book, but you just didn't believe me, said Yun Luofeng with a chuckle. Besides, if I really want to burn something for fun, 1 billion one-tail notes can be burned for a much longer time. They're much more useful than this medical book, but you're too stupid to learn such a simple truth. Tang Lin's body was shaking. He was so angry that he couldn't utter any word. No wonder. No wonder that before he came here, Master had warned him not to confront Yun Luofeng. It was not because the Master was afraid of the Shungshan auction house, but that the woman was as sly as a fox. Whoever messed around with her would suffer. Not looking at Tang Lin, Yun Luofeng turned around and educated Lin Ruobai. Xiao Bai, remember, always pay attention to your enemy's breathing. For example, when he started bidding for the medical book, I found that his breathing was quite violent, so I was sure that he would keep bidding. After that, his breathing suddenly calmed down, and then I realized he wanted to give up on the medical book, so I stopped bidding. It was never a matter of luck. If you relied on luck, you would suffer a miserable failure. Lin Ruobai nodded. Master, I see, and I'll learn from you how to trap all my enemies to death. Looking at Tang Lin's ghastly pale face, Lin Ruobai never felt happier. And Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and showed a wicked smile. I'd like to ask the auction house to check the money of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. As the Heavenly Martial Pavilion had been determined to obtain the medical book, they would not give up bidding unless they didn't have enough money. So Yun Luofeng raised this request. Lady, since the Heavenly Martial Pavilion previously asked you to show your money on the spot, you're entitled to ask them to do the same. Our auction house is always fair. If he can't take out 1.3 billion taels, I'll break one of his legs and drive him out of Wangquan City forever. The young auctioneer smiled and turned to Tang Lin. Master Tang Lin, have you brought the 1.3 billion taels of silver with you? Tang Lin's face slightly changed, and unconsciously, he jumped to his feet and said with a ghastly pale face, I will go back and ask our master to sell some properties. Please give us some time. The young auctioneer frowned. According to our auction house's rule, you have to bring enough money with you when you step into the auction house. There isn't any grace time. Since you didn't bring enough money with you, why did you bid a price you couldn't afford? Tang Lin clenched his fist tightly. He didn't consider price so much because he tried to trap Yun Luofeng just now. He softened his tone and begged, I will submit 1.3 billion taels, and I can submit 1.2 billion taels now as the deposit. Give me 10 days, and I will bring the remaining 100 million taels to you. Chapter 567, Auction 9. Sorry, the young auctioneer said coldly, I can't accept your request. Now I'll give you two choices. One is to take out 1.3 billion taels of silver now, and the other is to break a leg of yours and leave here as soon as possible. With a frightened look in his eyes, Tang Lin could not help retreating. The chair behind him was knocked over by him and made a noise. Could you please bend the rules? He begged, biting his lip tightly. The young auctioneer frowned and grew impatient. Without any expression, he ordered coldly, guards, drag this malicious bidder out, break one of his legs, and throw him out of Wangquan City. Soon two grey-robed old men walked out of the darkness, and without saying a word they came up to catch Tang Lin and dragged him out of the door. Dragged by the two masters, Tang Lin cursed shrilly, Yun Luofeng, you vicious woman. How dare you trick me like this? You'll not have a good end. Ah. A shrill cry rang throughout the auction house and made all the people's hair stand on end. They all looked at Yun Luofeng with a scared look. Now that the malicious bidder has been cleared away, the bidding for the medical book will continue, said the young auctioneer, clearing his throat. The eyes of all the people present, who thought they wouldn't have the luck to obtain the medical book, lit up and they started bidding. In the luxurious box, instead of joining in the bidding, Chen Yuqing still looked on the auction downstairs. The beautiful maid pondered and asked, Master, didn't you say you wanted to buy the medical book and gift it to her? Why are you not taking any action now? Chen Yuqing raised a faint smile, because I found out that she seems to have no interest in this medical book. If I want to please her, I'll have to find another way. Seeing that Chen Yuqing cared so much for Yun Luofeng, the beautiful maid felt quite jealous of Yun Luofeng, but she managed to conceal her inner feelings, her beautiful face still calm and aloof. Let's go. This auction is boring. It would be better to go back and play the zither. Chen Yuqing stood up from the soft couch, flicked his white robe and walked gracefully toward the door. At the auction hall, as if noticing something, Yun Luofeng looked up to the second floor, and she vaguely caught a glimpse of some snow-white long hair. Lin Ruobai noticed something strange, turned her head to Yun Luofeng and asked curiously, Master, what's the matter? Nothing. Yun Luofeng shook her head and asked in a low voice, who can stay on the second floor? Hearing her question, a disciple of the Big Dipper gang answered, there are 3 boxes on the second floor, which are respectively occupied by the top 3 powers in the Wangquan City. Which one is in the rightmost one? The Chen family. The Chen family. Yun Luofeng slightly frowned. The white figure that had just left was very powerful. She couldn't tell how powerful he was. There are so many unknown powers in the Wangquan City. After quite a while, Yun Luofeng uttered a sigh. If she wanted to gain a foothold on this continent, she still had a long way to go. 1 billion taels. 1 billion taels once. 1 billion taels twice. 1 billion taels 3 times. Okay, deal closed. The young auctioneer knocked his hammer heavily and smiled. Today's auction is over. Everyone can leave now. Bid winners, please wait a moment, and we will have your items delivered to you soon. Chapter 568, Auction 10. The auction house was very efficient. Not long after that, a maid had delivered the items to the winning bidders. The money for the tree seed was deducted from Tang Lin's money. Let's go. Yu Nuofeng stood up and walked towards the door. Let's go back and prepare for the war with the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. This battle was inevitable. Even without Tianyu, she would still have a fight with the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. She had to make the Big Dipper gang rank among the top 10 powers, and then she would have the opportunity to go to Bian Mountain. However, Yu Nuofeng didn't know that because of her behavior at the auction house, the Heavenly Martial Pavilion went through a storm. Bang! Tang Ran punched hard on the table, his face purple with rage. Very good, Yu Nuofeng. You took Tianyu's arm first and then had Tang Lin's leg disabled. I will make you pay for these. At this point, a laughing sound came from the outside. Tang Ran, what makes you so angry? Hearing the aloof voice, Tang Ran soon calmed down. Looking at the old man who slowly stepped in, Tang Lin forced a smile and hurriedly came forward to greet him. Master Chen Chan, nothing is wrong. It's just a woman who was so stupid as to mess with the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Oh. Chen Chan didn't ask much. He raised the corners of his lips and asked with a smile, where is Tang Yue? I came here to see her. Can you call her out to meet me? Well. Tang Ran hesitated. Looking at his expression, Chen Chan changed his face. What? You don't want me to take Tang Yue as a disciple? Tang Yue was talented in medicine. He would take any person who was talented in medicine as his disciple. So he already had hundreds of disciples. No, Tang Ran hastened to explain, it's my grandson. He came to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion for shelter, but I failed to protect him, and he had his arm ripped off by someone. Now Yue is taking care of him. As Chen Chan didn't go to the auction, and the auction was just over, he didn't know exactly what happened at the auction. Your Heavenly Martial Pavilion ranks 10th in Wangquan City. Who dared to injure your grandson? Chen Chan asked indifferently. Tang Ran gave a bitter smile. It's the new master of the Big Dipper gang. She forced a woman into prostitution, coercing a woman of my grandson's family to marry her guard, so my grandson's family stood against her. And she just killed the whole family. The law of the jungle was the truth of the world, so Chen Chan's face didn't change. Those people were weaker than Yu Nuofeng. They deserved it. Tang Ran knew Chen Chan well, so he paused and went on. This Yu Nuofeng came to Wangquan City recently and seduced the master of the Big Dipper gang, Murong Bei, to give the Big Dipper gang to her. Yue disdained her behavior and said something against her, but she just ordered her disciple to attack Yue. Lin Ruobai did attack Tang Yue, but it wasn't Yu Nuofeng's order. However, it was true that she attacked her, so Tang Ran dared to call white black. Chapter 569. Blow his own trumpet. My grandson's arm was severed when he was trying to protect Yue. Tang Ran said angrily. In the beginning, Chen Chan felt nothing about the destruction of the Chan family. After all, the law of the jungle was the truth. More importantly, it didn't happen to him. But now, hearing that Yu Nuofeng had attacked Tang Yue, he frowned. How dare she bully Tang Yue, who was going to be his disciple? Wasn't it like a smack in his face? Looking at Chen Chan's sullen face, Tang Ran rolled his eyes and said, Master Chen Chan, I also heard that Yu Nuofeng wanted to seduce Master Chen. She even claimed that in this world, only she was good enough for Master Chen. Chen Chan snorted with contempt and coldly glanced at Tang Ran. Really? I swear every word I said is true. Tang Ran said, holding up his fingers to swear, if I tell lies, may I be struck by lightning. Besides, I dare not lie to you, Master Chen Chan. When he was speaking this last sentence, he put on an extremely obsequious smile, as if he couldn't wait to kiss Chen Chan's ass. If what you said is true, the woman really thinks too highly of herself. How noble our master is. She doesn't deserve him. Besides, he paused and sneered, master has a morbid fear of dirtiness. This woman, who would sell her body for money and power, is just as disgusting as a fly, and master will not take a second look at her. Over the years, master had rejected all the women who courted him, because he disliked the smell of their cosmetics. That smell was totally unacceptable for someone who morbidly feared dirtiness. Exactly. Yu Nuofeng is as disgusting as a fly, and I've also heard that she has slept with a lot of men. How can a shameless woman like her be compared with my innocent Yue? Master Chen Chan, don't you think so? Understanding what Tang Ran implied, Chen Chan frowned. Master doesn't like women to get close to him, so don't thrust this idea into Yu's mind. If she annoys master, I can't save her, but I can give you a hint that master doesn't like women with heavy makeup. Thank you for reminding me, Master Chen Chan. I'll remind Yue of that. An impalpable gleam flickered through Tang Ran's eyes and he continued, Yue is not Yu Nuofeng who would throw herself on any man. Yue will be very faithful to her lover. She will never betray him once she has chosen him, no matter whether the man is poor or rich. I can assure you that there are very few women as faithful as Yue in this world. To establish an intimate relationship with the Chen family, Tang Ran tried his best to commend Tang Yue, blowing his own trumpet and at the same time, insult Yu Nuofeng with the most malicious words. As long as Chen Chan came to dislike Yu Nuofeng, she would never be able to step into the door of the Chen family. Chen Chan nodded slightly. Yue is a good girl. Except for her bad temper, she is almost perfect. It would be great if master could accept her, but I can't help her in this and she'll have to win master's love by herself. We are so flattered. Tang Ran broke into a radiant smile, totally forgetting the loss the Heavenly Martial Pavilion had suffered today. Chapter 570. Proud Tang Yue 1. Chen Chan thought for a while and said, take me to see Yue. If you don't mind, I'll accept her as my disciple today. Master Chen Chan, of course I won't mind. This way, please. The obsequious smile on Tang Ran's face spread, and he respectfully made a gesture to Chen Chan, leading the way for him. In the quiet inner hall, Tang Yue was sitting beside the bed and looked at the pale face of Tang Tianyu with a worried look, her eyes filled with guilt. I'm sorry, Tianyu, you wouldn't have been injured if it hadn't been for me. Tang Yue pursed her red lips, don't worry, I will avenge you and bring you the arm of Yun Luofeng. As if hearing Tang Yue's words, the man lying in bed frowned, but soon his face turned calm again, his eyes closed with a painful look on his face. Yue. Suddenly, an old voice came from the outer hall, Master Chen Chan came to take you as his disciple. Come on, come out to welcome him. Tang Yue was very excited and quickly stood up. At this time, Tang Ran led Chen Chan in. Looking at Chen Chan, Tang Yue moved her lips and called, Master Chen Chan. Silly girl, what are you waiting for? Make an obeisance to your master. Tang Ran winked at Tang Yue and smiled joyfully. Tang Yue suppressed the excitement and joy in her heart, walked to Chen Chan and respectfully made an obeisance, Master. Ha, Chen Chan laughed out loud, good, you are really a good girl. Yue, are you willing to learn medical skills from me from now on? Tang Yue smiled, it's my honor to serve as your disciple. How would I ungratefully refuse your kindness? Although Tang Yue was arrogant and capricious, her attitude towards people would vary with the person's social status. Before the people of the Chen family, she would only show her best side. Sure enough, her sweet words had pleased Chen Chan, and the smile on his face grew bigger. Yue, I heard that you want to become the mistress of our family. Not knowing how to answer his question, Tang Yue paused and turned her eyes to Tang Ran for help. Not expecting that Chen Chan would directly ask Tang Yue this question, Tang Ran also frowned. A look of anxiety appeared in his eyes as he was worried that Tang Yue would give Chen Chan a wrong answer. Master, Tang Yue tried to calm down and turned her eyes to Chen Chan again. It's not that I want to become the mistress of the Chen family. She paused and continued, I just happen to love Chen Yuqing. That's all. She meant that she loved Chen Yuqing the person, not his social status. After all, Tang Yue grew up in the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, how could she really be stupid? She certainly knew which answer was best for her. In fact, she would never want to marry Chen Yuqing if he were not the master of the Chen family. How could a man be worthy of her if he didn't have enough power? She wouldn't give her **T about how handsome he was. Ha. Believing Tang Yue's words, Chen Chan laughed heartily. Obviously, her words had pleased him. Yue is really different from those shameless speeches. Only you will love Master the person, not his social status. If you can stay true to your original self, I believe one day Master will be moved by you. He smiled heartily. If his disciple could become the mistress of his family, it would also bring great benefits to him. So he would not stop Tang Yue from courting Chen Yuqing. Instead, he would encourage her to do so. Chapter 571, Proud Tang Yue 2. Yue, your grandfather just told me you were bullied by someone. Chen Chan smiled, if you need help, just tell me and I'll help you. Thank you, Master. A smug smile appeared on Tang Yue's face, we can solve this by ourselves. But I need you to help me with something. If Yun Luofeng tries to seduce Master Chen, please stop her. I can't stop it, Chen Chan said, glancing at her, from what I know of Master, no one can tell him what to do. Tang Yue raised a sweet smile, Master, don't get me wrong. I just don't want Master Chen to be deceived by Yun Luofeng. That woman is very cunning and always plays innocent. Besides, she is really good at playing hard to get. I hope you can tell Master Chen about her evil deeds when she intends to seduce him, and I believe Master Chen will not choose such a disgusting woman. Yue, don't worry, I will not allow such a dirty woman to become the mistress of the Chen family. A ferocious gleam flashed through Chen Chan's eyes, if she dares to seduce Master, I will expose her real personality. If Master still insists on choosing her, we will get rid of her secretly. Gaining the promise of Chen Chan, Tang Yue was quite satisfied, the smile on her face grew bigger and her face filled with pride. Yun Luofeng, how could you, such a filthy woman, compare with me? Though our Heavenly Martial Pavilion suffered some loss because of you, I'll make you pay for this soon. It's getting late, and I should go back. Yue, if you have any questions, come to the Chen family and ask me, Chen Chan said with a smile. Yes, Master. She was quite happy as she knew that Master had opened a convenient channel for her, through which she could approach Chen Yuqing. As long as she could enter the Chen family, she would be able to meet that man who was like a banished immortal. Chen Chan nodded with satisfaction and patted Tang Yue on the shoulder, Yue, I'm waiting for your good news. Come to the Chen family tomorrow and I will tell you about our master's likes and dislikes, lest you make any mistake that he would not forgive. Tang Yue nodded with a serious look. With the help of Master, she would definitely win Chen Yuqing's love. Big Dipper Gang. In a secret chamber, Murongbei was meditating with his eyes closed, when all of a sudden a group of people rushed in and began to hurl questions at him. Master, was it easy for us to collect 60 million taels of silver all these years? Why did you give all our money to her? Yes, it would be fine if you just gave her the position, but why did you give her all the money? Our properties have almost been carved up by other powers, and most of our money has also been snatched by them. Now there are only 60 million taels left. Why should you give all this money to her? Heckled by these people, Murongbei was dumbfounded. Obviously, he had no idea what they were talking about. What do you mean? Who said I gave all the money to Yun Luofeng? Master, we already know about it. Today, she spent 60 million taels of silver in the auction house. If it weren't for you, how could she have so much money? Chapter 572, Questioning. And Master, do you know what she bought? She bought a withered tree seed. What's the use of it? She bought the damn tree seed with all our money. If it hadn't been for the fools of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, we would have lost all our money. Saying this, these people were getting angrier. They didn't want Murongbei to make her the new master in the first place. They just didn't dare to object to it, but they didn't expect that this woman was such a wastrel. She really didn't care about the money they had saved through hard work. Still at a loss, Murongbe was confused and asked, "Wait a minute. What does it have to do with me that Yunluo, the new master, bought a withered tree seed? Master, do you still want to shield her even now?" They really didn't understand how the charming Yunluofeng was able to mesmerize Master like this. Murongbe frowned. "I am not your master now. You should call me Deputy Master. Besides, the money Master spent is her own, and wasn't given by me." "Master." The crowd still wanted to say something, and Murongbe stood up from the ground, quickly walked to a wall, and gently moved a dragon head built in the wall. In just a moment, a deep slot appeared in the wall, and he took a box out of the slot and carefully opened it. "The money is all here. Take a look at it if you don't believe me." "What?" The crowd, stunned, came forward to check it and all froze when they saw the money in the box. "Have we really wronged Yunluofeng? The money she spent was not given to her by Master." "Alas," said Murongbe with a sigh, "to save my face, I didn't tell you the real reason I delivered the Big Dipper gang to her. Now that you came to question me, I'll tell you why. I did it because she defeated me." Like being struck by a bolt from the blue, everyone was stunned at Murongbe's words. Yunluofeng defeated Master. How could this be possible? Master was a sky-level spirit cultivator. How could Yunluofeng defeat him? But Master never lied. Was this true? "Brother Pang Fei knows it well. He was also there that day," said Murongbe, a helpless look on his face. "I tell you this because I don't want you to offend her. You have to obey her orders unconditionally. Besides, she said she would bring the Big Dipper gang back to our old position." Hearing Murongbe's words, the crowd, who was still filled with shock, suddenly quieted down, their eyes shining with hope. God knew how many humiliations they had suffered since the Big Dipper gang declined a few years ago. If Yunluofeng really could lead them back to where they once were, then they would not hesitate to pledge allegiance to her. The Wangquan city was such a realistic place. Only those who were strong would gain the respect of the world. Just as the crowd was whispering, a girl's voice suddenly came from outside the secret chamber. "Why are you all here?" The sound was familiar to all. Hearing the girl's words, they were all embarrassed, for they were caught squealing. We came to receive Deputy Master's edification." Chapter 573, I Can Cure You. "Yes, we came here for his edification." The people laughed embarrassedly, and unconsciously they addressed Murongbe as Deputy Master instead of Master. To be honest, noticing the way they addressed him, Murongbe did feel lost. But above all, they didn't irritate Yunluofeng. Besides, he had straightened it out now. As long as the Big Dipper gang could go back to where it had been, he wouldn't mind giving up the position. Nothing was more important than giving his brothers a better life. "Really?" With a faint smile, Yunluofeng looked at the people in the secret chamber. "You are not squealing on me." On hearing this, these people were more embarrassed. "How is that possible? We worship you. You are just like a goddess in our hearts." "Master, you must have us wrong. We would never do such a nasty thing." Yunluofeng raised the corners of her lips. Not taking these people's words seriously, she just smiled. "I have something to talk about with Murongbe. You can leave now." "Yes, Master." The crowd made an obeisance to her in succession and soon withdrew from the secret chamber. After a while, only Yunluofeng and Murongbe were left in the secret chamber. Murongbe was a little embarrassed and asked with a guilty look, "What do you want to talk about with me?" "If I'm not wrong, you've been secretly plotted against since you became a sky-level spirit cultivator, and you'll feel a sharp pain every time you try to absorb spiritual chi, right?" Yunluofeng raised her eyebrows, a wicked smile on her gorgeous face. Murongbe's face greatly changed and asked her in fright, How do you know this?" Over the years, he didn't even tell it to the people he trusted most in case his brothers would panic. Where did she learn this? For a physician, no illness can escape her eyes. Yunluofeng raised the corners of her lips and glanced at Murongbe. Murongbe tried to calm down and said with a wry smile, "Master, can you keep it secret for me? I don't want others to know about it. You've been hiding it from them for years, and now it won't be long until they find out about it." Yunluofeng paused and continued, "But I can cure you." "What?" Murongbe froze for a moment, a hopeful gleam flashing through his eyes. During these years, he had secretly visited a lot of physicians, and to seek medical treatment he even left Wangquan City several times. But in the end, no one could cure him. Now Yunluofeng told him that she could cure him, so he would not be stuck in the sky-level realm forever. Murongbe was excited, but he knew that Yunluofeng would not easily help him. After a brief period of excitement, he calmed down again. "Tell me, what do you want in return?" He was ready to accept whatever conditions Yunluofeng would raise. Yunluofeng gently stroked her chin and glanced at him wickedly. "You seem to have nothing that I need." Murongbe turned pale. "Master, since you told me you could save me, I guess you may agree to save me. Just tell me what you want, and I will give whatever I have to you." "You really don't have anything I want, but..." Yunluofeng slightly narrowed her eyes. "Your loyalty has some value. If you agree to pledge your loyalty to me, I will cure you." Chapter 574, Maid of the Chen Family, 1. Murongbe paused, his eyes shining with a hopeful gleam. As long as Yunluofeng cured him, he would be willing to serve as her slave, not to mention giving her his loyalty. "I do," he said sincerely, a determined look in his eyes. "In 3 days, I'll cure you," Yunluofeng said, slightly raising her eyebrows. "Besides, you'll have to pay 50 million taels for my treatment." 50 million taels, Murongbe gasped, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "So expensive. My charge is never less than 50 million taels." She meant that 50 million taels was her lowest price. With a stiff face, Murongbei sighed heavily. The money she earned from treating a single patient had already exceeded all his savings. It turned out that the job of physician was so profitable. Master, this is 50 million taels. Murongbei carefully opened the box, took out 5 checks, put them in front of Yun Luofeng and said with pain, "Here you are. When can we start treatment?" "Anytime, but I still need to make some preparations in advance." Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and gave a faint smile. "During this time, I will raise a challenge to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. The day you recover will be the day we start the battle with them." Murongbei was stunned and turned his eyes to Yun Luofeng only to see her face that was filled with confidence, and instinctively, he believed what she said. "Master, I won't let you down." He understood that Yun Luofeng took over the Big Dipper gang because she wanted to go to the Iron Mountain. In this case, how could he disappoint her? "Master." Just then, the door of the secret chamber was suddenly opened, and Pang Fei, panting, came in, made an obeisance and said, "Master, the Chen family invited Master to go to the Chen's mansion." When Yun Luofeng heard Pang Fei's words, a snow-white figure popped up in her mind, and her dark eyes gradually darkened. "Murongbei, I'll treat you later." Then she stepped out of the secret chamber. In the hall, holding the longsword in her hand, the beautiful maid of the Chen family was a little nervous, a look of anxiety on her face. Suddenly, her pupil constricted, and her eyes were fixed on the gorgeous girl who had stepped out of the hall. Her robe was as white as snow and her long dark hair was fluttering in the breeze. Her beauty was simply beyond description. Even though she was a woman, she was a little dazed at her beauty. She had such a perfect face. No wonder Master treated her so special. Her beauty really could mesmerize all the men in the world. The beautiful maid tried to suppress the soreness in her heart and expressionlessly gazed at Yun Luofeng who was slowly coming to her. "Our master asks you to go to the Chen family to treat him." With this attitude, Yun Luofeng sneered and glanced at the maid wickedly. "Anyone who wants my treatment must come to invite me in person. And he sent just a maid to invite me. Sorry, I don't have the time." Not expecting that Yun Luofeng would refuse her, the maid bit her lips, and her face slightly changed. "We'll pay you a good price if you save our master. Don't you want to enter the Iron Mountain? If you save our master's life, we can send you to that place." Chapter 575, Maid of the Chen Family, 2. Iron Mountain. Yun Luofeng slightly raised her eyebrows, an icy gleam flashing across her black eyes. Few people knew why she came here, but why were the people of Chen family so clear about it? Where did they learn about it? Yun Luofeng, the beautiful maid, noticing the change in her face, softened her tone and said mildly, "I know you're smart, and you surely know what choice is best for you." Yun Luofeng calmed down, and the smile on her lips spread. "Sorry, I think. With my own ability, I can go to the Iron Mountain without the help of the Chen family." The beautiful maid's face turned blue with anger, and she lowered her eyes to conceal the ferocious gleam in her eyes. In fact, she came to the Big Dipper gang without telling Chen Yuqing. After all, Chen Yuqing had learned about Yun Luofeng's character from Chanya and knew that he had to offer her something she needed if he wanted her to treat him. However, she thought that Master didn't have enough time, so she came to the Big Dipper gang without telling him. She thought it would be easy to make Yun Luofeng agree to treat Master. Everyone in the Wangquan city wanted to curry favor with the Chen family. But she didn't expect that Yun Luofeng would refuse her, leaving no room for it. "Why not give us a chance?" The beautiful maid bit her lip and tried to make a final effort. Yun Luofeng coldly glanced at her. "If someone needs my treatment." Yun Luofeng coldly glanced at her. "If someone needs my treatment, he must come to invite me in person. Otherwise, I will not treat him." With an unrelenting voice, she coldly ordered, "Pang Fei, see the guest off." Yun Luofeng, the beautiful maid was so anxious that she began to speak without thinking. "You're a physician. Don't you have any medical ethics? Do you deserve to be a physician?" She didn't expect that such a good-looking woman was as vicious as a snake. How could she just fold her hands and watch Master die? "Medical ethics," Yun Luofeng sneered. "Since you know my name, you must have heard of my deeds. Do you think I have any ethics?" She paused and then continued, "I'll only save those I want to save, not someone who needs my treatment but still puts on airs like your master. Now leave, or I'll have you thrown out." With a purple face, the beautiful maid coldly glanced at Yun Luofeng, snorted and went out, holding her sword. Looking at her receding figure, Pang Fei asked with worry, "Master, the Chen family is the greatest power in the Wangquan city. Will they revenge against us because of our attitude?" "The Chen family doesn't dare. They dare not, they would not. In the world, perhaps only she would speak such a domineering word." Pang Fei's eyes were full of confusion. "Master, I don't quite understand. Why doesn't the Chen family dare to retaliate?" "Because." Yun Luofeng smiled confidently, "Only I can cure their master. If he kills me, he'll die." Just now, Yun Luofeng had figured out who had told the Chen family about her story. It must be Chanya. The maid must have heard about her from Chanya too. Since Chanya couldn't cure the master of Chen family, only she could cure him. "Master, do you intend to treat the master of Chen family?" Pang Fei rubbed his head and asked. Chapter 576, Chen Yuqing's Anger, 1. A dangerous light flickered across Yun Luofeng's slightly narrowed eyes. If he wants me to treat him, he must show me his sincerity. Otherwise, I will never treat him. Pang Fei gave a bitter smile. The attitude of that maid of the Chen family has shown that the Chen family is not sincere. He didn't understand why the Chen family would come to ask Yun Luofeng to treat their master. But today they had offended the Chen family anyway. Her attitude doesn't represent the Chen family's attitude. If she was really sent here by the master of the Chen family, I'm afraid she wouldn't leave in dejection after I rejected her. Instead, she would turn the Big Dipper gang upside down. This was why Yun Luofeng was sure that the maid hadn't gained her master's approval and the master of the Chen family probably wasn't aware of her actions. Not fully understanding her words, Pang Fei still nodded his head and looked at Yun Luofeng adoringly, though he despised her in the beginning. She was so domineering when she confronted the maid of the Chen family, which was worthy of his respect. In the Chen family, the cherry petals flew all over the yard, and a man was casually playing the zither under a cherry tree, his snow-white long hair fluttering in the breeze. The scene was as beautiful as a painting. Standing still in the distance, with an infatuated look, the beautiful maid gazed at the man sitting under the cherry tree and couldn't help feeling aggrieved for him. God was so unfair. Why did Master still have to suffer from a terminal illness after going through so much suffering? And the one who could save him would just fold her hands and watch him die. Clang. The man stopped playing the zither and asked coldly, "Where did you go?" The beautiful maid felt her heart skip a beat, and with a guilty look in her eyes said, "Master, Did you go to the Big Dipper gang?" Finally, the man raised his head and looked at her. His eyes were not as gentle as usual, and the coldness in his eyes made the maid's heart tremble. She knelt down in front of the man. "Master, forgive me, I did everything for you. Machen, I thought you were a clever woman, so I allowed you to stay close to me for so long. But eventually you still disappointed me." The man slightly shook his head, his tone clearly disappointed. "Master." The beautiful maid was in a panic and hurriedly defended herself. "Master, I did it for you. You don't have enough time, so I went to the Big Dipper gang to ask her to treat you without telling you." The man's eyes grew icier and his voice was so cold. "I know what I should do. What makes you believe that you, a maid, can make decisions for me? You've exceeded your duties and meddled in my affairs. This is unforgivable. Master, please forgive me. I dare not do it again." The maid hit her head hard against the ground, her beautiful face ghastly pale. However, looking at her almost self-destructive behavior, the man was totally unmoved and unsympathetic. Of course, she didn't dream that Chen Yuqing would pity her. Though he always looked nice, his heart was colder than anyone else. Otherwise, he would not have gained his current status. "Take her away." The man moved his thin lips. Hearing his heartless words, the maid felt like fallen into the bottom of the hell, her body frozen with terror. She couldn't believe that she had been serving Master for so many years, and he just treated her like this for another woman. "Master, do you really have a heart?" She wept with grief, her eyes filled with sadness. "Everyone says the master of Chen family is a nice person, but only those who have stayed with you know that you are really a devil. You deceive everyone with your disguise." Chapter 577, Chen Yuqing's Anger, 2. Chen Yuqing pursed his thin lips and indifferently looked at the maid whose face was bathed in tears. Hearing her sad accusation, he was expressionless, as if no one in this world could touch his heart. "If you have any complaint about me, spit it now, for you won't have the chance any longer. Since you have served me for many years, I will spare your life. But I don't want to see you again." Ever since she went to the Big Dipper gang without his approval, she would not be able to serve him any longer. He didn't need a subordinate who didn't obey his orders and made trouble for him. Trembling, the maid knew what Chen Yuqing's words meant. They meant that she would never be able to see him again. "Master, what wrong have I done? I did everything for you." The beautiful maid bit her whitened lips tightly. "Am I wrong for being loyal to you?" The man coldly glanced at her. "Being loyal is not wrong. What you did wrong was that you were so rude to Yun Luofeng." The beautiful maid's face slightly changed. She withdrew a few steps, and asked with trembling voice, "Master, did you send someone to follow me?" "You left the Chen family without my approval, and I just wanted to know what your purpose was." The man's tone was quite indifferent. "I didn't expect you would go to the Big Dipper gang and speak to her like that. As a physician with real strength, she has her pride. How dare you coerce her? Who do you think you are?" The maid was nearly paralyzed with fear, the cold sweat running down her pale face and soaking her back. The man slowly turned around, turned his back to the maid, and coldly ordered, "Guards, take her away, and I don't want to see her again." Immediately, 2 hidden guards fell down from the sky. When they were going to drag her out, she suddenly jumped to her feet and hit her head with her palm. Blood ran down her forehead and soon covered her face, making her look so ferocious. She would rather die than leave him. She killed herself before his eyes and maybe he would remember her forever. Unfortunately, from the beginning to the end, the man didn't look back at her. He just ordered indifferently, "Bury her." "Yes, master." The 2 hidden guards, accustomed to the man's heartlessness, quickly dragged the maid's body out of the Chen family and buried her in a random place. Under the cherry tree, the pink petals slowly fell onto the man's shoulder. He flicked off the petals on his shoulder as gracefully as an immortal. "It seems that I need to go to the Big Dipper gang myself." Like a banished immortal, he stood with his hands on his back and gazed up into the distant sky. Catching a glimpse of this picturesque scene, anyone would forget to breathe. In the Big Dipper gang, Yu Luofeng was just about to treat Murongbei, and the hurried voice rang again, Master, the master of the Chen family, Chen Yuqing, has come and asked to see you. The maid of the Chen family just left, and now even their master had come. No wonder the disciple who reported the news was so anxious, for he thought that Chen Yuqing came to seek revenge because Yu Luofeng had annoyed him. Chapter 578, Is this your son? 1. Master, Murongbei was stunned and said with a frown, if you have something to deal with, you can treat me later. Pang Fei had told him the reason that the maid of the Chen family came. Hearing that even the master of the Chen family had come to invite her to treat him, Murongbei was getting excited. Maybe, master could really cure him. Okay. Yu Luofeng slowly turned around and said, I'm going to meet the master of Chen family. Then she left without looking back and quickly disappeared from the sight of Murongbei. Just entering the hall, Yu Luofeng saw a man with his back facing the setting sun. The man's dazzling snow-white hair could not conceal his banished immortal-like air. Hearing the sounds at the gate, the man slowly turned around and gazed at the girl stepping into the hall, his eyes as warm as sunshine. I've heard of you from Chan Ya. He smiled mildly, his smile picturesque and his eyes as clear as a spring, but I knew more about you from your behavior in the auction house. Yu Luofeng smiled lazily, do you want to revenge the Heavenly Martial Pavilion? No, Chen Yuqing shook his head, the law of the jungle is the rule of the Wangquan city. The Heavenly Martial Pavilion was trapped by you because they were too stupid. It's none of my business. You came here to tell me this. Yu Luofeng slightly narrowed her eyes, with a light flickering through her eyes. Chen Yuqing was stunned and suddenly, he chuckled. His smile was so mesmerizing that nobody could resist his charm. However, Yu Luofeng thought that Yun Xiao, that cool man, was more her cup of tea, for that man would only smile for her. I think you know my purpose. Chen Yuqing smiled, my body has almost reached its limit, so I have to brazenly turn to you for help. As long as you agree to treat me, I can give you anything you want from me. Anything. Yu Luofeng raised a wicked smile and asked mischievously. Seeing her wicked expression, Chen Yuqing somehow smelled a rat but had to bite the bullet, yes, anything. I've been short of money lately, said Yu Luofeng, an evil gleam in her narrowed eyes, if I sell you to the bamboo house, maybe I can get a good price. Chen Yuqing's face suddenly froze, though he didn't know what the bamboo house was, he could guess from Yu Luofeng's expression that it couldn't be a good place. Well. Chen Yuqing coughed and said in embarrassment, if you want money, I can give you any amount of money. But could you please, forget about the bamboo house thing? Yu Luofeng gently stroked her chin and pondered, as if she was thinking about what she should ask for in return. Or. Chen Yuqing gazed at the pondering Yu Luofeng, a gentle smile on his handsome face, I don't mind giving myself to you. Hearing this, Yu Luofeng finally came to her senses. She looked at Chen Yuqing up and down and curled her lips. You are more beautiful than a woman. You are too feminine and too skinny. Your shoulders are not strong enough, your chest is too flat and you've got no abs. So, why should I accept you? Chapter 579, Is this your son? 2. Chen Yuqing's face turned stiff. This was the first time he was degraded by a woman, but he could not be angry at her. Because he still needed her treatment. Then what kind of man do you like? Chen Yuqing pressed on towards Yu Luofeng and asked with a faint smile. At this moment, a cool face popped up in Yu Luofeng's mind, and she couldn't help but crack a sweet smile. I like a cool, simple, and obedient man with abs. Hardly had her voice faded away when a childish voice came from behind her, Mother, are you talking about Father Yun Xiao? Xiao Mo grabbed the bottom of Yu Luofeng's robe and blinked keenly with an innocent light in his eyes. Then he cast a casual glance at Chen Yuqing, and a hostile gleam flickered through his eyes. There were always some men coveting her when Yun Xiao was not around. It was time for him to take action. For the dual cultivation of Master and Yun Xiao, you must nip it in the bud and drive away these men. Chen Yuqing looked at Xiao Mo with surprise. Is this your son? Of course, it was not Xiao Mo's relationship with Yun Luofeng that surprised Chen Yuqing, but the child appeared so quietly that he even didn't perceive his existence. Yes, not denying Chen Yuqing's words, Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and lovingly stroked Xiao Mo's head. If you want me to treat you, then give me something I need in return. If you can't offer me something attractive enough, I will not treat you. Chen Yuqing pondered for a while, except for the Chen family, I'll satisfy any requirement you have. Yun Luofeng gently stroked her chin and looked into the eyes of Chen Yuqing with a smile. Since you know Chan Ya, I guess you must know the purpose of my coming to Wangquan City. She raised her eyebrows, I'm going to leave here after I finish my affairs, but after I leave, I want you to support the Big Dipper gang and make it the #1 power in Wangquan City. As she said this, her eyes were unfathomable and her domineering face was full of pride. The #1 power in the Wangquan City. Perhaps she was the only one in the whole Wangquan City that would say such a domineering word. But Chen Yuqing chuckled, okay, I promise. It didn't matter to him whether the Chen family occupied the first place in the Wangquan City or not. As long as the whole family didn't fall down, it would be enough. Deal. Yun Luofeng smiled satisfactorily. Since she took over the Big Dipper gang, her aim was to make it the top power in Wangquan City. Perhaps, this place would become another base of hers in the future. When will we start the treatment? Chen Yuqing smiled and asked softly. Your illness is a little serious, so I need to make some preparations. Yun Luofeng paused. I'll give you a prescription. You should find all the medicinal herbs listed in it, and 2 days later I'll go treat you. Besides, I will challenge the Heavenly Martial Pavilion soon. Don't meddle in this matter. With the support of the Chen family, the Big Dipper gang would occupy the first place of the Wangquan City sooner or later. Before that, she would go to the Bayan Mountain with her own strength. Chen Yuqing was stunned and said with a frown, if you want to resolve your personal feuds with the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, I won't interfere. But if you are doing it to go to Bayan Mountain, I can just send you there. No, Yun Luofeng raised a faint smile. I prefer to get what I want with my own strength. Chapter 580, The Past of Chen Yuqing 1. Looking at the girl's confident eyes, Chen Yuqing felt like he had been struck hard in the heart. And he, for almost a decade, had not felt this way. During his life, he had seen too many women, and most of them liked to attach themselves to men. Only this woman told him that she would get what she wanted with her own strength. I see. Chen Yuqing smiled mildly. If you need my help, just go to the Chen family to find me. In the Wangquan City, no one dares to disobey me. Yun Luofeng looked at Chen Yuqing and nodded. Only I can save your life. If I really need your help, I'll let you know. As for the Bayan Mountain, I can go there with my own strength. Chen Yuqing didn't say any more, a look of appreciation on his face. I'll be waiting for you at the Chen family in 2 days. He took a final look at Yun Luofeng, turned around and walked outside the hall. Soon his banished immortal-like figure disappeared under the bright sunlight. In the moonlit night. In the Chen family's estate, a man stood in the moonlight, his hands clasped behind his back and his white robe gently fluttering in the evening breeze. Go and find out all the information about Yun Luofeng and present it to me within 2 days. Yes, master. In the darkness, a hidden guard respectfully made an obeisance and soon disappeared into the shadows of the night. Even Chen Yuqing didn't understand why he was eager to know her past after seeing Yun Luofeng today. Maybe he wanted to know what had happened to the girl to make her so self-dependent. The people of the Chen family were very efficient. Just 2 days later, the hidden guard had handed over a report to Chen Yuqing. Reading the report, Chen Yuqing frowned, and the gentle smile always on his face was gone. Her parents were murdered when she was only 4, and her uncle was disabled by a strong enemy and had to hide in the darkness for 10 years. Her grandfather went to the battlefield the same year. She stayed at home alone and suffered all kinds of hardships. Even her marriage engagement was annulled. It's said that she changed after her grandfather returned home. She showed a strong medical talent and even founded a powerful army under the threat of the imperial family. Then she showed unimaginable talent. It's rumored that she had been hiding her talent all those years. Only after General Yun returned home did she begin to expose her real talent. It was hard to imagine how a 4-year-old kid managed to get through the 10 years. If she didn't hide her talent, she would have been killed on the continent where everybody was so ruthless and greedy. Of course, nobody knew that the former Yun Luofeng had died and the present person was a soul from the different world. Master, this is all the information about her. The hidden guard respectfully stood behind Chen Yuqing and said expressionlessly. Chen Yuqing continued to read it and burst into laughter when he read that Yun Luofeng was said to force a woman into prostitution, coercing her maid to marry a guard. Forced a woman into prostitution. It seems that she really did. She told him that she wanted to sell him to the bamboo house. Was this forcing a man into prostitution? But I don't think a person like her would coerce her maid to marry a man. Find the source of the rumor. Chapter 581, The Past of Chen Yuqing 2. Yes, master. Seeing Chen Yuqing's solemn face, the hidden guard hurriedly made an obeisance and responded respectfully. Okay, you can leave now. Today she'll come to treat me. Wait for her at the door for me. Yes, master. The hidden guard made an obeisance again and left silently. Gazing at the receding figure of the hidden guard, Chen Yuqing smiled, and his dark eyes were unfathomable. After quite a while, he rose to his feet, picked up the zither and walked out of the study. The sound of the zither rang throughout the cherry grove. Hiding at a short distance, Tang Yue obsessively gazed at Chen Yuqing's immortal-like perfect face, her eyes full of adoration. In addition to a perfect face, the man also had a noble position. If she could marry him, she would die without regret. Crack. Tang Yue accidentally stepped on a branch on the ground and made a noise, which disturbed the man who was playing the zither. Though he had felt the existence of Tang Yue in the first place, he didn't pay much attention as servants often passed by there. Hearing the noise, he frowned and stopped his hands. Who is it? His voice was melodious and as clear as a rippling stream. Hearing his voice, Tang Yue felt her heart skip a beat. Tang Yue bit her lips and walked out from behind the artificial hill. Concealing the obsessiveness in her eyes, she raised a sweet and innocent smile. I'm the new disciple of Elder Chen Chan. Just now I was attracted by your music and unconsciously walked here. If I disturbed you, I'll leave now. She first introduced herself, telling him that she was not an outsider, and then she emphasized that what fascinated her was his music, not him. Finally, she politely said that she would leave if she had bothered him. No man would want such a gentle woman to leave. Maybe he will invite me to sit down and play the zither together with him. While Tang Yue was daydreaming, the man's gentle voice slowly rang, "Okay, then you can leave now." Tang Yue's face turned stiff. What did he mean by that? Is he driving me away? Shouldn't he invite me to stay since I behaved so sensibly? Besides, there are very few women like me who still look so beautiful without makeup in the whole Wangquan city. Does he really have the heart to drive me away? Suddenly, Tang Yue recalled the words that Chen Qian told her 2 days ago. Yue, remember that master likes innocent and honest women. You have to give him such an impression. He is allergic to cosmetics, so he doesn't like women to wear makeup. Besides, if you manage to attract him, you will need to play hard to get. Only in this way, you can win his heart. Master, why do you know it so well? Because a woman used to do this to him. Tang Yue took a deep breath and said, Master Chen, if you want me to leave, I will leave. I was just attracted by your music. That's all. I'm not the kind of woman who likes to fawn upon the influential people. Besides, I didn't know you were the one who played the zither here. Chapter 582, The Past of Chen Yuqing, 3. In Tang Yue's view, Chen Yuqing must think she was trying to seduce him. Even though she really was, she could never show it. So, after saying these words, Tang Yue turned around and was about to leave. Wait a minute. Just as she was going to leave, an apathetic voice came behind her. Hearing the voice, Tang Yue was so happy that her heart almost jumped out of her chest. She couldn't wait to turn around and run to Chen Yuqing, her eyes filled with excitement. But she thought of her master's words, so she suppressed the strong impulse in her heart and forced herself not to look back. To win his heart, she had to play hard to get. Thinking this, Tang Yue calmed down and asked with a cold voice, Master Chen, anything else? Chen Yuqing chuckled. His laughter was like a hand, teasing Tang Yue's heart and almost melting her. Did Chen Qian teach you this? He smiled, but his tone was quite apathetic, so Tang Yue could not figure out his thoughts. What? What do you mean? Did he ask you to play innocent, honest and hard to get before me? Hearing his words, Tang Yue felt like she had fallen into hell. She hurriedly turned her head and looked at his handsome face. I don't understand what you're talking about. She bit her lip tightly, her face pale. Chen Yuqing smiled and said meaningfully, if I'm not wrong, Chen Qian has told you a lot. And he also asked you to imitate a woman. Didn't he tell you that the woman betrayed me? Do you still think I will be bewitched by you? With her eyes wide open, Tang Yue couldn't help but back up a few steps. She said with a trembling voice, her face covered with horror, I was just attracted here by your music. I never meant to seduce you. Why do you take me the wrong way? You can lie, but your eyes will tell me the truth. When I first saw you, I already knew what you wanted from your eyes. So, I won't be attracted by you, no matter what you do. Tang Yue closed her eyes in despair. She thought that she had hidden it well, but the wise man had seen through her at first sight. How embarrassing she was playing hard to get before him. She didn't know that she was a joke in his eyes. Greatly embarrassed, Tang Yue dared not to stay here any longer but rushed out of the grove. Tears poured out and wet her face. She ran so fast that she stumbled when she passed through the threshold. At that moment, she saw a figure in front of her, so she hastily reached out her hand to grab the person's sleeves to stabilize her falling body. Unexpectedly, when the person saw that, they quickly moved aside and dodged her hand. Flop. Tang Yue awkwardly fell to the ground on her face. She angrily got up and glared at the cute little boy in front of her. Hey kid, didn't your parents teach you how to behave? You should have helped me when I tripped. Didn't your mother tell you this? Xiao Mo coldly glanced at Tang Yue, with contempt in his eyes. He wouldn't forget how this woman humiliated his master at the auction. If it hadn't been for escaping from Lin Ruobai, he would have torn her body up. Chapter 583, The Past of Chen Yuqing, 4. Now that you tripped yourself, why did you want to make me your mat? And you're so fat, I'm afraid I would die or become disabled if you fell down on me, Xiao Mo said with a smile, his voice icy. Tang Yue's face turned purple, and she was trembling with anger. How dare this brat say I was fat? If your mother didn't teach you how to behave, I don't mind doing it for her. Raising her hand, Tang Yue was going to slap Xiao Mo, but at that moment a hand suddenly came out from the side and held her wrist tightly. Then, a wicked voice rang and made Tang Yue's body freeze. It seems that you don't want your arm either. With a smile, the girl narrowed her eyes and looked up and down at Tang Yue. Tang Yue turned her head, astounded. After seeing Yun Luofeng's beautiful face, she felt like she had been hit hard on the heart, and a wave of anger welled up in her mind. What are you doing here, Yun Luofeng? Just now, she only noticed Xiao Mo but didn't see Yun Luofeng beside him. She was surprised that she would appear in this place. I know, you must have come here to seduce Master Chen. Tang Yue glanced at Yun Luofeng with a disgusted look. You are really disgusting. You already have so many men. Why do you still want to seduce Master Chen? Why does a woman as shameless as you have the nerve to live in the world? Xiao Mo couldn't help laughing. He was a cute boy and his smile was touching. This is the first time I ever saw a person who was shameless but called others shameless. Shameful, shameful. Xiaomo scraped his cheek and made a face at Tang Yue. Tang Yue was so angry that she wanted to come forward to beat Xiaomo, but her wrist was tightly held by Yun Luofeng with cracking sound. Go away. The girl suddenly shouted out loud, and in the next minute, Tang Yue's body was hit by a spiritual energy, flew out, and fell to the ground heavily. Looking at Tang Yue's pale face, Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and said haughtily, I've raised a challenge to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, so it will be wiped out in a few days. To my surprise, you are still in the mood to visit the Chen family. Tang Yue snorted with contempt, Yun Luofeng, Master Chen won't be seduced by you. Master had said that he would never let Yun Luofeng successfully seduce Chen Yuqing. And even if she can become the mistress of the Chen family, she was still a disciple of an elder of the Chen family, with a much nobler status than hers. So what made her believe she could compete with her? And, I'm guessing that you can't even enter the door of the Chen family. You won't be able to see Master Chen even in your next life. Tang Yue got up from the ground and looked at Yun Luofeng with a sneer. As soon as she finished, an indifferent voice came from the side, making Tang Yue's face turn ferocious. I'm sorry, Miss Tang, Miss Yun is a guest of us. If you are still rude to her, I'll have to drive you out of the Chen family forever. The hidden guard, who had been watching the situation in the darkness, slowly walked out. Ignoring Tang Yue, he went directly to Yun Luofeng and respectfully made an obeisance. Miss Yun, Master ordered me to wait here for you. Miss Yun, please follow me. Our master has been waiting for you for a long time. Okay. Yun Luofeng nodded slightly and took Xiaomo's hand, crossing over the Chen family's high threshold. Chapter 584, The Past of Chen Yuqing, 5. Stop. Looking anxious, Tang Yue got in the way of Yun Luofeng. What did you do? Why does Master Chen want to meet you? Yun Luofeng frowned slightly. Get out of the way. Tell me first. Bang. Before she finished, Yun Luofeng lifted her leg, kicked her hard, and made her roll several feet away. Then, she flicked her sleeves and said, finally she's quiet. Let's go. Okay. Not expecting she would directly kick Tang Yue, the hidden guard was stunned but soon he came to his senses. Miss Yun, this way please. Thinking of Master's respectful attitude towards her, the hidden guard didn't dare show any disrespect. He made a gesture and led the way for Yun Luofeng. From a distance, Yun Luofeng saw the man playing the zither under the cherry tree. With a few petals in his snow-white hair, he looked stunningly beautiful. You've come. Chen Yuqing, after seeing Yun Luofeng, stopped to play the zither and looked up at her with a smile on his handsome face. Gazing at his immortal-like figure, Yun Luofeng gently raised his eyebrows. Have you prepared the medicinal herbs I asked you to prepare? Yes, but I have never told you what is wrong with my body, so how did you learn it so well? Chen Yuqing wanted to ask her about this before. It seemed that she didn't know much about Wangquan City, so Qianyao probably didn't tell her about it. You were poisoned by a slow-acting poison. The poison is very special and can't be detoxified with common antidotes. Yun Luofeng stroked her chin gently. So may I ask who poisoned you? The smile on Chen Yuqing's face faded away and was replaced by indifference. When Yun Luofeng thought he would not answer, the man said softly, it was someone I saved. Recalling the past, he looked sad. In those days, she accidentally entered Wangquan City and was seriously injured. I passed by and saved her. At that time, she was sweet, innocent and honest. In particular, unlike other women, she always kept me at arm's length, which made me fall in love with her and she also accepted me. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. She offended a powerful enemy. To protect her, I almost sacrificed the entire Chen family. Even my parents lost their lives in that battle. But I didn't blame her. After all, she was innocent, and I was willing to do anything for her. Later, however, I found out that she had been poisoning my food with the purpose of taking over the Chen family. But I couldn't bear to hurt her after all. I just drove her out of Wangquan City. Since then, I've never heard of her. For this woman, his parents lost their lives, and the Chen family also nearly collapsed, but it turned out that he had saved the backbiting wolf. I didn't know until she left that she had been pretending to be innocent and honest before me, and she had been playing hard to get just to attract me. Of course, she didn't just want my trust. Even her enemy, who intruded into the Chen family, was directed by her. My parents lost their lives because she poisoned my parents' food and made them lose their spiritual energy so that they were as vulnerable as lambs before the intruders. Chapter 585, The Past of Chen Yuqing, 6. She wanted me to die with my parents. But at that time, I happened to leave the Chen family to execute a task. The task was very important, so I didn't tell her about it. That was why I could escape from her trap. He was betrayed and suffered a great loss. In particular, the one who betrayed him was the one he trusted wholeheartedly. Recalling his tragic past, Chen Yuqing lowered his eyes slightly and said coldly, she could no longer poison me since she was driven out of the Chen family. But there were already many toxins accumulated in my body. So, even though she is gone, the poison is still devouring my life. Of course, if Chen Yuqing hadn't found out about her plot, maybe he would have died a few years ago. Feeling sorry for him, Yun Luofeng gave him a sympathetic look. Obviously seeing this, Chen Yuqing couldn't help laughing. Why did you look at me like that? It's been so many years, and I have forgotten about her. A person who betrayed me is not worth remembering. Now he appreciated Yun Luofeng more than that woman. Because whatever Yun Luofeng wanted, she would take it with her own strength instead of snatching it from someone else. No one could ignore this. I think I have figured out your poison. But I can tell you clearly that the poison the woman used is very rare. To be exact, it disappeared thousands of years ago. So, her background can't be simple. No wonder Chan Ya can detoxify Chen Yuqing. She would not be able to help him if she didn't have the medical god's code, because there was no record of this poisonous weed on the continent now. Where could she find the antidote? The poison is... Chen Yuqing paused, frowning. This poison is made of soul-devouring grass and dragon heart, colorless, tasteless and very hard to detect. But I do have a way to detoxify it. I just want to remind you that the woman's background couldn't be simple. She tried every means to get the Chen family. Was it because she was attracted by something in the Chen family? Anyway, what she wanted couldn't just be ownership of the Chen family. Chen Yuqing smiled helplessly. Since she was expelled by me 10 years ago, I haven't heard of her, so I don't know what her purpose was. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips. Whatever purpose the woman had, it had nothing to do with her. I can start treating you now. No one should disturb us during the treatment. I see. Chen Yuqing nodded slightly and spoke to the hidden guard standing off to the side. Guard outside and stop anyone from entering the grove. Yes, master. The hidden guard made an obeisance, quickly walked out and stood outside the grove like a mountain, blocking anyone of the Chen family who wanted to enter here. One advantage that the Chen family had over other families was that it had a physician group. All powers would compete for every single member of the physician group. However, the Chen family managed to solicit all of them. At this time, in the courtyard of the physician group, Chen Chan was sitting in the room, holding a book in his hand with a frown. Chapter 586, Treatment 1. Master. Suddenly an aggrieved voice came from outside. Hearing it, Chen Chan put down the book in his hand and looked up at the girl rushing into the room. Yue, what happened? Tang Yue was so aggrieved that she almost cried, but she bit her lip tightly and choked back sobs. Master, just now I wanted to go back, but when I went out of the door, I ran into Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng? Chen Chan looked at her with surprise. What is she doing here? Tang Yue shook her head and said pitifully, I don't know. I only know that Master Chen invited her here and she took a kid with her. If I'm not wrong, the kid is her son. Master, did Master Chen fall in love with Yun Luofeng? What? Flying into a rage, Chen Chan jumped to his feet and an icy gleam flickered through his eyes. Is Master out of his mind? How could he invite such a notorious woman to the Chen family? No, I can't wait here. Yue, come on, let's go see Master. Yes, Master. A dark light flashed through Tang Yue's eyes and she smiled secretly. Yun Luofeng, as a powerless person, what made you believe you could compete with me? You could never beat me in your whole life. Chen Chan, followed by Tang Yue, went to the outside of the cherry grove but was stopped by the hidden guard. Without any facial expression, the hidden guard looked at the two and coldly said, as ordered by Master, no one shall enter the grove to disturb the business of him and Miss Yun. The business, the hidden guard said was treatment, but in Chen Chan's ear, it sounded like something dirty. His face immediately turned red with anger. Don't you know what your duty is? How can you just sit and watch Master being bewitched by a coquette? Get out of the way. I need to see Master now. No one is allowed to enter here without Master's permission. Not feeling like explaining anything to him, the hidden guard said this coldly, his face callous and determined. He was like a mountain, standing in front of Chen Chan and blocking his way. How dare you? Chen Chan's face turned purple with anger. You're just a small hidden guard. How dare you get in my way? I'm ordering you to step aside now. The hidden guard raised a mocking smile. Only Master can order me. In a word, he only obeyed Master's orders, and no one else could order him. Boom. Chen Chan released an aggressive momentum, blowing all the pink petals on the ground to the sky. That woman is a witch. If you don't step aside, don't blame me for being rude. The hidden guard's eyes were full of sarcasm. I can only tell you that without Master's permission, you can only enter the grove over my dead body. This was the rule for all hidden guards of the Chen family. No one could order them except Chen Yuqing, and they would execute every single order of Chen Yuqing even at the expense of their lives. Humph. Did that coquette bribe you to help her seduce Master? Chen Chan snorted, but I will never turn a blind eye to it. You think you can stop me? No way. Coldly glancing at Chen Chan, the hidden guard put his fingers into his mouth and whistled. Suddenly, numerous men in black appeared in the air and fell to the ground one after another. Chapter 587, Treatment 2. Chen Chan's old face suddenly turned pale, and he gnashed his teeth and shouted, Hidden Guard Group. You summoned the Hidden Guard Group. I wonder what that woman promised you to make you do so much for her. The Hidden Guard frowned. I've told you I only obey Master's orders. If Master allows you in, I will let you pass immediately. But if he doesn't, I'll never let you enter here. Chen Chan's eyes darkened and he tightly clenched his fist. In this world, no one can escape from illness. I hope you are never ill in the future, because if any member of the Hidden Guard group gets ill, our physician group will not treat you. Yue, let's go. He snorted and turned around to leave. Tang Yue clenched her fist tightly, her face filled with discontent. Master, do we just let it pass? Let it pass? How was that possible? Chen Tian sneered. The Hidden Guard group is very strong, and we can't win if fighting with them physically. Besides, didn't Yun Luofeng issue a challenge to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion? Then she will die soon. He would never allow such a woman to enter the Chen family. In particular, the woman had already had a child. Tang Yue bit her lips and glanced at the cherry grove. Thinking that perhaps Yun Luofeng was making love to Chen Yuqing in the grove, she felt like she was being pricked by a needle in the heart. How painful it was. Knowing what Tang Yue was thinking of, Chen Tian patted her on the shoulder and tried to comfort her. Yue, take it easy. How many men in this world only have one woman? It is normal if he sleeps with other women. Don't take it too seriously. Just remember that only you can be the future mistress of the Chen family. Maybe what he said was right, but how could she not feel sad when her beloved man was making love to another woman? She wished she could rush into the grove and rip the biatch's face off. But she didn't do it. She just plaintively lowered her eyes and said, Master, I understand, I won't mind it, because Yun Luofeng can never become his wife. She was right, though. Yun Luofeng would never become Chen Yuqing's wife because she already had Yun Xiao. However, in Tang Yue's mind, Yun Luofeng was too dirty to deserve Chen Yuqing. The two in the grove were totally unaware of what was happening outside. After quite a while, Yun Luofeng pulled out all the silver needles from the man's body, carefully folded them in a handkerchief and raised her head. Today's treatment is finished, and I will come here every 2 days until you recover. Chen Yuqing put on his clothes, a gentle smile on his face. Okay, then I will wait for you in the Chen family. By the way, when will you start to fight with the Heavenly Martial Pavilion? Yun Luofeng paused with the needles in her hand. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Chen Yuqing smiled. Is there anything I can do to help? No. Putting away the silver needles, Yun Luofeng raised her head again. It's getting late. I'll go back to take a rest. Besides, during the treatment, don't use spiritual energy, or else the consequences will be very serious. No longer saying anything, she held Xiao Mo's hand and smiled. Xiao Mo, now let's go home. Go home. Xiao Mo curled his lips. Thinking of Lin Ruobai, he shuddered. After leaving the Shen family, he would go back to the God Code world to avoid meeting the little devil. Chapter 588, Battle 1. Recently, the whole Wangquan city had been shocked by a piece of news. The new master of the Big Dipper gang provoked the Heavenly Martial Pavilion in an auction and cut off an arm of the latter's disciple. Now, she had even raised a challenge to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. The day of the fight would be tomorrow. Tang Ran read the letter of challenge over and over again and tore it to pieces, his eyes grim. Yun Luofeng, I'd like to see how you fight with me. Master. Suddenly, a servant hurried in and half knelt, reporting, Master, Miss just returned crying. Yue returned crying. Tang Ran flew into a rage, pounded the table, jumped to his feet and asked angrily, who bullied her? I don't know, but Miss went to Master Chan Yu's room after she came back, the servant replied respectfully, and it's been a while now. Tang Ran frowned, flicked his sleeves and walked toward the backyard. In the room, thin curls of smoke rose from incense burner and made the whole room fragrant. Tang Yue looked down at the man lying in bed and asked with concern, Cousin, how are you? Have you felt better in recent days? Tang Yue sincerely cared about Chan Yu. After all, Chan Yu's arm was cut off by Yun Luofeng because he tried to protect her. Maybe because of the incense, Chan Yu's breath came with fluttering swiftness and his face flushed, not as pale as it was. Yue. Suddenly, Chan Yu reached out his hand and grabbed Tang Yue's arm tightly. Tang Yue was in a panic, trying to pull back her own hand, but he caught her more tightly. Cousin, what are you doing? Yue, I want you. As if suddenly acquiring great strength, Chan Yu dragged Tang Yue onto the bed by force and pressed down Tang Yue's body with his weak body. If it was before, Tang Yue would have been furious and beat him. But for some reason, her heart was beating fast, and she felt so hot that she just wanted to strip all her clothes. A thrusting pain suddenly spread all over her body and made her tremble. She gripped the sheet with her fingers, and cold sweat poured down her brow. No. No way. Her body belonged to Chen Yuqing. No man could touch it. However, even though she kept telling herself this, her body involuntarily followed his movements, and over time, she even felt a great pleasure. Yue. An old voice came in through the door, then the closed door was pushed open, and Tang Ran strode from outside the door. However, when he saw what was going on inside the room, anger welled up within him and he shouted out loud, What are you doing? No one heard them, and the two were still moving on the bed. At this moment, they were not like human beings, but like two rutting animals. Finally feeling something wrong, Tang Ran strode forward, knocked the two unconscious and separated their closely intertwined bodies. Then he turned his eyes to the incense burner in the room. Bang! Tang Ran swept the incense burner to the ground, and at this time, the two knocked unconscious by him gradually came to their senses. Chapter 589, Battle 2. Recalling what had happened just now, Tang Yue shrieked, "Ah! Did she just have intercourse with Tianyu, and she enjoyed it? What? What is going on here?" Tianyu rubbed his temple and asked, but in the next second, what had happened came to his mind. He turned pale, hurriedly got down from the bed and knelt down to Tang Ran. "Grandfather, I don't know why I did such a beastly thing. It was like I couldn't control myself. I really didn't mean to bully Yue." "You be-starred." Tang Yue picked up the pillow, hit Tianyu hard, and burst into tears. "I was so good to you. How could you do such a beastly thing to me? Tang Tianyu, go to hell." Chen Yuqing was morbidly feared of dirtiness. If he knew that she had slept with another man, he would never accept her, which would be unbearable for her. Silently enduring Tang Yue's scolding and beating, Tang Tianyu just bit his lips without a word. "That's enough." Tang Ran's face darkened, and he shouted coldly, "Now that it has happened, what can you do? Do you want to make it known to all? Besides, it's not Tianyu's fault. You have been entrapped." Tang Tianyu fell to the ground awkwardly. He couldn't recall when he fell into the trap. "Boo-hoo." Tang Yue wailed in distress, "Grandfather, what am I going to do? Master Chen doesn't like me, and now he is bewitched by that BTCH, Yun Luofeng. I will never be able to marry him if he knows I have lost my virginity." For whatever reason, on this continent, a woman who had lost her virginity before marriage would be seen as a whore and spurned by people, even if she didn't do it voluntarily. Tang Ran frowned. "It seems that we underestimated Yun Luofeng, who can even bewitch Master Chen. Yue, don't tell anyone that you've lost your virginity. Besides, be careful not to let anyone find out that your vermilion virginity mole has disappeared." Tang Yue bit her lips hard, her eyes filled with hatred. "If I find out who did this to me, I will never let them go. I won't stop until I cut them into pieces." While Tang Yue was viciously cursing, the culprit for her tragedy was casually strolling into the gate of the Big Dipper gang. "Xiao Bai, what did you do just now?" As Lin Ruobai was going to cross the threshold, a wicked voice rang in front of her. She was astounded, raised her head and blinked her big bright eyes. I took milk tea for a walk." "Really?" Yun Luofeng asked with a faint smile, raising her eyebrows. Afraid of being found out, Lin Ruobai answered with a wry smile, "Yes, it's true. You can ask milk tea if you don't believe me." Saying that, she put milk tea in front of Yun Luofeng. Squeak. Milk tea squeaked helplessly. He really wanted to tell Master that he didn't do it willingly but was forced by her disciple. How could a hamster as kind as him drug people? "You went out for a walk. Then why do I detect the smell of an aphrodisiac on your body?" Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes slightly and said with a grim smile, "Tell me what you did just now." Chapter 590, Battle 3. "Master, it's none of my business." Without any hesitation, Lin Ruobai put the blame on milk tea. It's all milk tea's fault. He hated Tang Yue and Tianyu and wanted to give them a lesson, so he decided to make the two have intercourse. "I'm just an accomplice." "Oh, no, I'm not even an accomplice. I'm a passerby." Squeak. Not expecting that Lin Ruobai would be so unrighteous and put all the blame on him, milk tea squeaked in protest, his little face aggrieved. "Well, no matter whose idea it was, you shall not do it again without my permission." Yun Luofeng glanced at the girl and the hamster. "If you really want to mess around with those people, you must be led by me. Otherwise, if you fall into the hands of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, I will have to save you." Lin Ruobai made a face. "Master, I know I was wrong." She knew that Yun Luofeng said that out of concern, for fear that they would be caught by the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. And that was why she took milk tea with her. "Take a rest and prepare for tomorrow's battle." Battle. Lin Ruobai's eyes immediately lit up. "Master, may I join in it?" "Yes, but you'll have to stay by my side." Looking at Lin Ruobai's happy face, Yun Luofeng couldn't help but smile. "Okay. By the way, Master, when will Xiao Mo be back?" Lin Ruobai seemed to be thinking of her future husband, curling her lips and asking. Since Xiao Mo returned to the God Code world that day, Yun Luofeng had made an excuse for him, claiming that she had given Xiao Mo a task and he needed to leave the team temporarily. Lin Ruobai believed her. Since then, every day she would ask her when Xiao Mo would come back. Looking at Lin Ruobai's bright big eyes, Yun Luofeng sighed silently. "I don't know." As soon as Lin Ruobai left, Xiao Mo would immediately appear, but if she told her the truth, she would hurt the little girl's heart. Alright, Lin Ruobai was a little bit disappointed but soon she picked herself up again. "That's fine. I'll meet little brother Xiao Mo anyway as long as I stay with Master." Obviously, she was very fond of the cute Xiao Mo, but this affection was not the love between men and women. After all, she was still a little girl and didn't know what love was. Milk tea. Yun Luofeng took the milk tea from Lin Ruobai's hand and gently squeezed his small body, narrowing her eyes. Squeak. Milk tea squeaked and cupped his paws before his chest as if he was begging for forgiveness. "It's useless." Ignoring his playing cute act, Yun Luofeng smiled dangerously. "If you dare to mess around with Xiao Bai again, I don't mind roasting you." Squeak. Milk tea hurriedly shook his head, telling her that he would never comprise to Lin Ruobai's threat, nor disobey Master's orders. Yun Luofeng put milk tea into her sleeve, turned around and walked towards the cultivation chamber of Murong Bei. At this moment, in the cultivation chamber, Murong Bei opened his eyes and raised a smile when he saw the girl appearing in front of him. "Master, you've come." Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. "Today is the last day of your treatment. After today, you will be able to cultivate like a normal person. But are you prepared for the battle with the Heavenly Martial Pavilion?" Murong Bei's eyes lit up, and he looked quite excited. "I have been waiting for this day for too long. Master, I am not only prepared for the battle with the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, but also willing to follow Master to conquer the world. Chapter 591, Battle 4. Good. I hope you can have this resolve forever. Raising her eyebrows, Yu Nuofeng looked down at Murongbei, who was sitting cross-legged. Besides, you must keep in mind that I will never accept betrayal. Since I have the ability to cure you, I can also easily kill you. If I find out that you want to betray me, I will make you suffer in endless agony. Murongbei's heart suddenly shivered. He never dared to look down on her, not to mention betray her. Master, you can rest assured. I'll never betray you. Good, Yu Nuofeng nodded, and you'll have to obey my orders unconditionally. If you ever disobey me, I will never use you again. And you'll lose your chance to climb to the peak. At this moment, the girl looked so domineering and arrogant, her dark eyes filled with confidence. In the world, only she dared to say such domineering words. After all, a person who even the Chen family would have to fawn on would definitely have the ability to climb to the peak. Murongbei believed that he would never regret following her for the rest of his life. I will never disobey Master's order. Remember every word you said to me. Yu Nuofeng raised a faint smile. Now let's start the treatment. Murongbei paused, thinking that he could recover from now on. He couldn't suppress his excitement, a joyful flame burning in his eyes. Over the years, the Big Dipper gang had endured too much, and not long after, he would present himself to the world once again. And the one who gave him a second life was the girl in front of him. The next day. The square of Wangquan City was crowded with people. All of them were whispering to each other, with a curious look in their eyes. The people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion have come. Why hasn't the Big Dipper gang come? Are they afraid? If so, I'm afraid they'll lose their face. Yes, the Big Dipper gang was the one who started the challenge. If they flinch, they will be driven out of Wangquan City. As soon as he stopped, the whole square suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked around only to see that Yu Nuofeng was slowly walking to the square, followed by the disciples of the Big Dipper gang. On her left was the former master of the Big Dipper gang, Murongbei, and on her right was the adorable Lin Ruobai. Looking at him, the square, which had been quieted down, became noisy once again. Just like the rumor said, it seems that Murongbei really passed on the Big Dipper gang to a girl. The girl looks only 15 years old. Led by such a little girl, the Big Dipper gang will have no future. Not necessarily. I was in the Shangshan auction house that day when this new master of the Big Dipper gang successfully entrapped the people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Tut, you didn't see that scene. Thanks to her, Tang Lin, the disciple of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, was really having a hard time. Hearing the man's words, the other people all sneered. It's just dirty tricks. In the Wangquan City, strength is everything. If she is not strong enough, the Big Dipper gang will have no choice but to perish. Hearing the discussion of the crowd, Murongbei frowned and stared at them harshly. Seeing his eyes, the people quickly stopping talking and began to whisper to each other. Chapter 592, Battle 5. Haha, looking at Murongbei who was walking towards him, Tang Ran sneered, I thought the Big Dipper gang had chickened out. Murongbei responded with a sneer, I didn't feel very well and Master was treating me. That's why we are late. What he said was true. Because the last step of the treatment was extremely difficult, they spent the whole night on the treatment. Just now they had finished all the treatment, and he was able to absorb spiritual chi again from now on. So they were late. But the others would not believe his words, and would think he was making an excuse. Murongbei, no matter what, the Big Dipper gang will be wiped out today, and this is the result of you handing over the Big Dipper gang to this woman. Swish. After saying this, the people behind Tang Ran all pulled out their weapons and were ready to fight with the Big Dipper gang. Murongbei, Yu Nuofeng, with her hands around her chest, lazily raised the corners of her lips, solve them as quickly as possible. Yes, Master. Solve them as quickly as possible. Completely irritated by her words, Tang Ran coldly glanced at Yu Nuofeng, let's see where you'll end up. I'll solve you after killing Murongbei. He said these words lightly as if killing Murongbei was a very easy thing for him. Ha ha ha, Murongbei guffaw, Tang Ran, the Heavenly Martial Pavilion doesn't deserve to rank among the top 10 powers of the Wangquan City. Now, give the position back to me. Swoosh. He quickly took out his weapon, a chain, and swung it at Tang Ran. With a thud, the chain heavily slammed to the ground and left a big pit. Tang Ran drew back a few steps, his face solemn. Have you made a breakthrough? This guy broke through to an intermediate rank sky-level spirit cultivator. Yes, I happened to have a breakthrough before I came here. Murongbei smiled and waved the chain again. The chain was like a snake in his hands. Tang Ran's face suddenly changed. After a few years, Murongbei had made a breakthrough again. No wonder the Big Dipper gang dared to challenge the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. It was because he had made a breakthrough. He definitely didn't believe what Murongbei had just said. If he had made a breakthrough this morning, how would he dare to raise a challenge to them in advance? With his previous strength, he simply wasn't able to beat him. Murongbei. I have been an intermediate rank sky-level spirit cultivator for 2 years, and I know this realm well. But you have just broken through to this realm. How can you defeat me? Tang Ran sneered, I'll let you know how big a gap exists between us even if we are in the same realm. Then he quickly pulled out his weapon and moved his body. In a flash, he had reached the front of Murong Bay. A battle was on the verge of breaking out. Seeing that the battle had begun, the people of the two sides all pulled out their weapons and joined the battle one after another. Not long after, killing sounds had spread throughout the square, and people fell to the ground from time to time. Battles were always cruel, but if you didn't fight, you would never be able to grow strong. That is why Wangquan City had become so chaotic. Battles between different powers were quite normal, and everyone was used to it. Xiao Bai, Yu Nuofeng took out some spiritual grasses from her sleeve and handed them to Lin Ruobai. If you see any of our brothers is injured, give him some spiritual grasses and tell him to take them. Chapter 593, Battle 6. Battles were cruel indeed. However, it didn't mean that Yu Nuofeng would just watch her men die in the battle. Even though there would be a small number of casualties, she would try her best to minimize them. Master, what's the function of this grass? Lin Ruobai blinked and asked doubtfully. You don't need to know it. Just give it to the wounded. This is your task for today. I'm going to take a nap now, so wake me up when the battle is over. After saying this, Yu Nuofeng found a quiet place to sit down, lazily leaned against a tree behind her, closed her eyes and entered into meditation. Everyone was stunned, and even the people fighting couldn't help but look over at Yu Nuofeng. She just fell asleep. In this situation, how could she fall asleep? Was she lazy, or just heartless? Soon, the people of the Big Dipper gang and the Heavenly Martial Pavilion withdrew their eyes and resumed the fight. Worried about Yu Nuofeng, Murong Bei sent some disciples to protect her. However, before they had reached the front of Yu Nuofeng, they were stopped by Lin Ruobai. Don't disturb my master. No one can hurt her even if she is sleeping. Milk Tea was protecting Master. She had seen how Milk Tea fought with other spiritual beasts. Although the little thing looked small and weak, he was actually more ferocious than anyone. Under his protection, who dared to touch Yu Nuofeng? It was like courting death. Because Lin Ruobai was the disciple of Yu Nuofeng, the disciples all believed her words, so they didn't go to protect Yu Nuofeng and went back to the battle. In fact, Yu Nuofeng didn't fall asleep but let her soul enter the God Code world, which in the eyes of others, looked like she was sleeping. Under the blue sky, as soon as Xiao Mo saw Yu Nuofeng, he jumped at her happily. Master, why did you come here? I came here to check on the condition of the tree seed. Yu Nuofeng raised a faint smile and directed her dark eyes at the medicinal field in front of her. Xiao Mo, what is the origin of this tree seed? Why did you insist that I should get it? Well. Xiao Mo frowned. I was away from the continent for a long time. Even though I have come back, the information in my mind is not complete. To be honest, I'm not sure what it is. I'll figure out its uses only after it sprouts. How long will it take for it to sprout? I don't know. Xiao Mo shook his head. Maybe 1 year, or 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure, but master, I believe that as long as we wait patiently, it will sprout sooner or later. Xiao Mo's eyes were lit up with a confident light. On that day, when Xiao Mo saw this tree seed at the auction house, he had a feeling that he had to get it. Otherwise, he would regret it in the future. This was why he asked Yu Nuofeng to get this tree seed at any cost that day. Xiao Mo, let me know if the tree seed has any change. I have something to deal with and I have to go. Reluctant to see her leave him, Xiao Mo said sadly, Master, you don't come here very often. Can you stay a little longer? Catching a glimpse of Xiao Mo's sad face, Yu Nuofeng smiled and said, if you want to stay with me, why don't you come with me to the outside world and stay there for a few hours? Well. No, thanks, Xiao Mo said with a shudder and gave her a wry smile, that little devil is too violent. I'd better keep away from her in case she wants to beat me up someday. Chapter 594, Battle 7. Raising the corners of her lips, Yu Nuofeng took a final look at Xiao Mo and left the God Code world. At this moment, Tang Ran was standing on the square, his face all black. It never occurred to him that Murong Bei, who had just become an intermediate rank sky-level spirit cultivator, would be able to resist his attack. No wonder Murong Bei enjoyed a widespread reputation before. Bang! Forcefully pushing Murong Bei back a few steps, Tang Ran winked at a person next to him. The man understood his meaning, stopped fighting with his opponent, and dashed toward Yu Nuofeng. A venomous light flickered through his eyes, and the dagger in his hand was shining with an icy light. As long as he slightly sliced across her neck with the dagger, the sleeping girl would be killed instantly. Master. Catching sight of the man's movement, Murong Bei turned pale with fright and shouted out loud, trying to wake Yu Nuofeng up. However, the girl still closed her eyes, as if she didn't feel anything. Not anxious at all, Lin Ruobai looked at the man with pity and whispered, idiot. The man had just arrived before Yu Nuofeng, and before he could do anything, a little hamster came out of her sleeve and squeaked angrily at the man, with his hands on his hips. Squeak. But the man didn't stop. He wielded the dagger and chopped at Yu Nuofeng's neck. His movement had completely infuriated Milk Tea. Squeak. The Milk Tea cried angrily, jumped up to the back of the man's hand, and bit into it. His teeth were so sharp that he directly bit into the bone. It was so painful that the man forcefully waved his hand and the dagger fell down from his hand. This damn gold-seeking hamster. He got angry and slapped at the gold-seeking hamster. However, the gold-seeking hamster was so fast that he easily dodged his attack and bit into his thigh again. On the way to the Wangquan city, they had encountered a lot of street beasts, all of which were solved by Milk Tea. Every time, instead of killing them quickly, Milk Tea would play with them like a cat teasing a mouse. He would not kill the spiritual beasts until they were exhausted. Now, watching the battle between the people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion and Milk Tea, Lin Ruobai recalled the poor spiritual beasts and felt more sympathetic toward the man. He really shouldn't provoke Milk Tea. The little hamster was more irritable than anyone. Provoking him was tantamount to provoking a devil. Rubbish. When Tang Ran saw that his subordinate couldn't even solve a gold-seeking hamster, his face turned black, and then he winked at another subordinate close to him. You go solve her. Yes, master. The disciple quickly stepped forward, held up his longsword, and went forward to attack Yun Luofeng. Turning around and seeing this scene, Milk Tea was completely exasperated. He squeaked and directly passed through the man's body. Yes, he didn't even bother to make a turn and went straight through his body. Before the man had a chance to resist, a bloody hole appeared in his chest and he fell straight down. The other disciple, who was standing in front of Yun Luofeng, was unaware of the danger. With a sarcastic smile on his lips, he was going to chop at Yun Luofeng with his sword. As long as the sword swept down, the girl's beautiful head would be severed, and Yun Luofeng would just disappear from the world. Chapter 595, Battle 8. Anyone who offends the Heavenly Martial Pavilion must die. Swish. When the longsword quickly swept forward and was going to behead Yun Luofeng, his owner felt a sharp pain in his chest, and his hand froze in the air. He slowly looked down at the bloody hole in his chest, his eyes wide open and full of disbelief. At the same time, the girl finally opened her eyes. Boom. The man's body fell heavily in front of her, blood trickling down and dyeing the earth red. Squeak. Milk Tea squeaked angrily. He had lost interest in playing with these people and just killed them. Suddenly seeing Yun Luofeng wake up, he rushed into her arms, cupped his paws before his chest and squeaked fawningly. He was asking for her praise. Well done. Not reserving the words of praise for Milk Tea, Yun Luofeng patted his head. Milk Tea jumped up in excitement, licked Yun Luofeng's face with his little tongue, and slipped into her sleeve. Master, let me go out. I'm going to kill this darn hamster. Xiao Mo was almost mad with anger. How dare he molest you? I'm going to kill and eat him. Yun Luofeng soothed the angry Xiao Mo and turned her eyes to the two sides fighting on the square. Not to mention the disciples of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, even those of the Big Dipper gang were scared silly by Milk Tea's actions. After all, in their minds, this gold-seeking hamster was just Yun Luofeng's little pet. Some of them even played with him when they were bored, but Milk Tea didn't show any fighting power at that time. No one would have thought that the seemingly harmless little hamster would have such a terrifying strength. Some of the people who had teased him couldn't help but shiver, their eyes filled with fear. If they had known that he was so strong, they wouldn't have dared to treat him like that. Tang Ran slightly narrowed his eyes, an unfathomable light flickered across his eye, and a greedy smile appeared on his lips. If only this gold-seeking hamster was his. Tang Ran, it's not and will never be your stuff. Discovering the greediness in Tang Ran's eyes, Murong Bei sneered and said sarcastically. Tang Ran sneered too, not necessarily. All the treasures in the world should belong to the strong ones. Even though she owns the gold-seeking hamster now, it doesn't mean she can keep him forever. Only a strong person can put a spiritual beast like this to the best use. It's simply a waste for her to own this hamster. He meant that only he deserved to own this gold-seeking hamster. You Heavenly Martial Pavilion people are really shameless and no one can beat you in that aspect. Murong Bei raised a sarcastic smile. Unfortunately, you are doomed to fail. Boom. Saying that, Murong Bei waved the iron chain in his hands again and rushed towards Tang Ran. His chain flew across the sky and produced a dazzling blaze, forcing Tang Ran to retreat because he didn't dare to take his attack. Murong Bei, at this moment, the girl's lazy voice rang behind Murong Bei. I told you to solve them as quickly as possible. Why haven't you finished them? Murong Bei stopped his attack and turned his head to Yun Luofeng, his face filled with embarrassment. Master, I'm sorry. Forget it, back off. Yun Luofeng slowly turned her eyes to Tang Ran. It's getting late. I don't want to stay here too long. Just stay behind me and count from 1 to 10. Chapter 596, Battle 9. Completely at a loss, Murong Bei paused for a moment and asked carefully, why should I count? Because when you count to 10, the battle should be over. How arrogant she was. How domineering she was. Everyone in the square was shocked. As if not noticing the sarcastic stares at her, Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her eyes, her face full of confidence. We can start now. Don't waste time. Humph. Tang Ran's old face was twisted, and he dashed at Yun Luofeng as quickly as a bolt of lightning. Soul attack. Boom. Just when Tang Ran was going to reach Yun Luofeng and launch an attack on her, he suddenly felt a heavy blow to his soul, and then his mind turned completely blank. Right at that moment, a longsword stabbed into his body. With a splash, he vomited a mouthful of blood and awkwardly fell headlong. Turning her eyes to Murong Bei, Yun Luofeng coolly asked, what number have you counted to? Apparently, Murong Bei was still in shock and hadn't come back to his senses. Only after hearing Yun Luofeng's words, he realized what had happened and answered embarrassedly, I haven't started counting yet. The battle was over before he even started to count. He didn't even have the chance to react. It was not until now that Murongbei realized why he was defeated by Yun Luofeng that day. Grandfather. Suddenly, a shrill cry came over and rang throughout the square. Tang Yue, tightly holding Tang Ran's bloody body, glared at Yun Luofeng, you killed my grandfather. I will make you pay with your life. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. He's not dead yet. I just destroyed his danshan. I want him to watch how the Heavenly Martial Pavilion is wiped out before I kill him. Yun Luofeng. Tang Yue clenched her fist, trembling all over. Don't you know what a danshan means to a spirit cultivator? You cut off my cousin's arm, and now you destroyed my grandfather's danshan. A woman as vicious as you doesn't deserve to become the mistress of the Chen family. The crowd was in an uproar. Everyone was looking at Yun Luofeng, no longer shocked, their eyes filled with disdain. No matter how strong the girl was, she didn't deserve to become the mistress of the Chen family. How dare she covet that position? Then an old voice came out of the crowd. Yue. Let me examine your grandfather's body. The crowd turned their heads only to see that Chen Tian was walking slowly towards them. He walked up to Tang Ran and lightly put his fingers on Tang Ran's pulse. Examining Tang Ran's physical condition, Chen Tian frowned. His danshan has really been destroyed. Your grandfather will not be able to cultivate for the rest of his life. Boom. Like a bolt from the blue, Tang Yue was dumbfounded at his words, and she looked at Tang Ran incredulously. Grandfather will never be able to conduct cultivation. The protector of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion has become a trash. How could she bear such a blow? No. Tang Yue, holding her head tightly, knelt down on the ground and screamed shrilly. She turned her eyes to Yun Luofeng, her eyes bloodshot. Yun Luofeng, give me your life, she said ferociously, a voice full of hatred. Chapter 597, Heavenly Martial Pavilion was destroyed. 1. If you have the ability to take my life, take it. But what a pity, you don't have the ability. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and glanced at Tang Yue wickedly. By the way, do yourself a favor. Don't let someone take advantage of you and throw you away like garbage. Ha ha. Tang Yue sneered. What do you mean? Is someone taking advantage of us? Do you mean my cousin? Just like what my cousin told me, you really like putting the blame on your victims. Though Tang Yue still hated Tang Tianyu for what he did to her yesterday, Tang Tianyu was her cousin. How could she allow anyone to speak ill of her cousin in front of her? Yun Luofeng. Chen Tian stood up slowly, stared at Yun Luofeng with his cold eyes and said coldly, Yue was right. You must pay with your life for what you've done to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Though the Heavenly Martial Pavilion can't cope with you, I can do it for them. Yun Luofeng slightly narrowed her eyes. I heard that in Wangquan City, when two powers are in a fight, no third power shall interfere in it. What's your status when you said these words to me? Yes, no third party shall interfere in the fight between two powers. But Tang Yue is my disciple, so I will not ignore the matters of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Besides, even without the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, I'll still have to kill you. I know that you seduced our master and did dirty things with him in the Cherry Grove. How can I just sit and watch him being dishonored by a woman as dirty as you? You are from the Chen family. Yun Luofeng's voice turned sullen, and her face darkened. Does Chen Yuqing know about your behavior? Shut up. Who allowed you to call master's name? Do not assume that you can despise the Chen family just because you managed to climb into master's bed. As long as I am still alive, you will never be able to enter the Chen family. Chen Tian shouted angrily, an icy look in his eyes. Everyone on the square was shocked by his words, and the contempt in their eyes was replaced with anger. If she just wanted to seduce Master Chen, it would be fine. After all, in their minds, Master Chen was as perfect as a deity and would never be tempted. But now, hearing that this woman dared to climb into Master Chen's bed, all of them flew into a great rage. What a shameless BTCH. How can she defile a person as perfect as Master Chen? Yes, I feel sick with her hands touching Master Chen. How could he be seduced by her? Master Chen is mine. Any woman who has touched Master Chen must die. Listening to the crowd's ridicule, Murongbei was enraged. He wanted to defend Yun Luofeng, but he knew that even if he did it, no one would believe him. So he swallowed all the words and glared at the crowd with sharp eyes. If anyone ever dares to humiliate our master again, the Big Dipper gang will kill them at any cost. Hearing Murongbei's powerful words, the sounds of discussion gradually faded away. After all, the people who were watching the battle on the square were not from the top powers of the Wangquan City. Instead of standing in the square with the common people, the people of the top 10 powers would hide somewhere and watch the battle. Chapter 598, Heavenly Martial Pavilion was destroyed, 2. Making sure that everyone had shut up, Murongbei turned her head to Yun Luofeng, his eyes nervous. I seduced Chen Yuqing. She burst into laughter. Even if I didn't sleep with my cousin like Tang Yue. Immediately turning pale, Tang Yue looked at Yun Luofeng in panic. How did she know this? Bilge T. Chen Tian coldly snorted. Yun Luofeng, unlike you, Yue is quite conservative. She would never do anything indecent before marriage. It's you who gave birth to a child before marriage. Don't assume that everyone is as shameless as you. Glancing at Chen Tian, Yun Luofeng walked toward Tang Ran who was still lying on the ground. She held the handle of the sword and yanked it out. Tang Ran groaned in agony, his face paler. What are you going to do? Seeing Yun Luofeng approaching her holding a sword, Tang Yue stepped back in panic. Master, help me. Yun Luofeng, stop. It. Before he uttered the last word, Yun Luofeng had wielded the long sword and slid it across Tang Yue's arm, and soon her sleeve was cut off, revealing her white arm. Her arm was fair-skinned, as flawless as lotus fruit. Chen Qian wanted to scold Yun Luofeng only to freeze after he saw Tang Yue's snow-white arm, his eyes wide open with astonishment. Yue, your vermilion virginity mole. Tang Yue turned ghastly pale, cold sweat flowing down from her forehead. Biting her lip tightly, she was so ashamed that she wished she could find a hole in the ground to hide. At this moment, she felt like she was being exposed naked to the public, and the lewd scene of last night popped up in her mind. It was you. All of a sudden, Tang Yue thought of something and jumped at Yun Luofeng madly. How did you know what happened between my cousin and me? Was it you who drugged us? Her words indirectly admitted her relationship with Tang Tianyu. Before Tang Yue could reach Yun Luofeng, she was kicked away by her. Awkwardly lying on the ground, she covered her stomach with her hands, sweat running down her face. Yun Luofeng, you vicious woman, you'll be haunted by my ghost even if I die. Her voice was harsh and hoarse, as terrifying as the wail of a ghost. If it was before, Chen Qian would have hurriedly held her up and comforted her, but now he didn't do anything, his eyes filled with disappointment. Yue, now that you have lost your virginity to your cousin, why did you still tell me you wanted to be the mistress of the Chen family? Once again, the crowd was in an uproar. It turned out that Tang Yue also took Chen Yuqing as her target, but as a woman who had lost her virginity, she was no longer qualified to be the mistress of the Chen family. Master, it's not like what she said. It's Yun Luofeng. She drugged me. It's not like what you think. Tang Yue scrambled to the front of Chen Qian and tugged at the bottom of his robe. I am innocent. You have to believe me. Chen Qian shook his head. Whatever the reason, losing your virginity is unforgivable. You should appreciate that I don't kill you, but you are no longer worthy of master. Even though he really hoped that his disciple could become the mistress of the Chen family, he never wanted to choose a slut for master. If this news was spread out, the Chen family would become a laughingstock of the world. Chapter 599, Heavenly Martial Pavilion was destroyed. 3. Tang Yue collapsed to the ground, knowing that she would never be able to marry Chen Yuqing. But even if she can get him, she wouldn't allow Yun Luofeng to get him either. Master, unlike Yun Luofeng whose body and heart are both dirty, though my body has been stained, my heart is clean. Master Chen must be blind to be seduced by her. Every time Tang Yue thought of what they did in the cherry grove that day, she felt like her heart was being gnawed by ants, and she couldn't bear the pain. Yue. Chen Qian's face changed. It didn't matter how Tang Yue humiliated Yun Luofeng, but she really shouldn't say that Master was blind. If Master heard about it. Before he could figure out a solution, a voice suddenly rang, which made him feel like falling into an endless abyss. I'm sorry, my eyes are fine. That's why I drove you away when you wanted to seduce me that day. The man's voice was as soft as ever, but his eyes were cold and indifferent. In the sunlight, he slowly walked towards them. He was as handsome as a banished immortal and every movement of his was so attractive. Tang Yue fixed her eyes on the man, with a look of obsession in her eyes. Even though the man was heartless, she still couldn't forget him. From the beginning to the end, he never looked at Tang Yue, but walked to Yun Luofeng and asked with concern, are you okay? Yun Luofeng sneered, I told you not to interfere in this matter, but someone of your Chen family still took a hand in it and stood on the side of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. The man frowned, it's my fault. I should have taught them what discipline is. Trust me, I'll give you an explanation. The whole square quieted down with the arrival of the man. To everyone's surprise, Yun Luofeng would be so rude to Chen Yuqing, and Chen Yuqing didn't seem to mind it at all. What was so special about this woman that Master Chen treated her so differently? Master. Chen Qian tried to suppress the rage in his heart. I wonder how Yun Luofeng bewitched you and made you indulge her like this. But I'd like to ask you, for the sake of the Chen family, to wake up from your dream and not be trapped by this woman. Chen Yuqing mildly glanced at Chen Qian. Chen Qian, do you know what I hate most? Chen Qian's heart suddenly shivered. He certainly knew what Master hated most was if any of his subordinates exceeded their own duty and meddled in his affairs. But Master, I did it for your own good. Have you forgotten what happened before? Because Master refused everyone's advice and allowed the woman to stay in the Shen family was nearly destroyed. Chen Yuqing ruminated and said, she's different from that woman. What's the difference between them? She is a slut. She has seduced countless men and even had a child. Now she wants to seduce you. On that day, you did that indecent thing with her in the cherry grove. As a member of the Chen family, how can I watch you make the same mistake again? Listening to Chen Qian's words, Yun Luofeng lazily leaned against a tree behind her, folding her arms before the chest, with a wicked smile on her lips. Chen Yuqing's eyes grew icy and asked coldly, tell me what indecent thing I did with her in the cherry grove. Chapter 600, Heavenly Martial Pavilion was destroyed. 4. Master, why do you still want to hide it from us? On that day, you and she stayed alone in the cherry grove, with a hidden guard guarding outside and stopping anyone from entering it. Wasn't it because you were doing something indecent with her? Chen Qian spoke with bitter hatred, like a parent who was educating his misbehaving child. Oh. Chen Yuqing gave a sneer, I was doing something indecent with her. Why don't I know about it? Chen Qian, you really let me down. He paused and then continued, besides, I wish she could seduce me, but she is already married and has a child, so my wish will never be fulfilled. What? Chen Qian stared in shock. She is already married and has a child. Why did Tang Yue say that her son was an illegitimate child? Tang Yue, how many lies did she tell me? Impossible. Tang Yue violently shook her head. Yun Luofeng is not married at all. Her child is A.B. starred. Chen Yuqing coldly glanced at Tang Yue, which made Tang Yue feel like being stabbed through, and she shivered in pain. You mean I'm lying? His voice, no longer gentle as usual, was cold. Tang Yue, biting her lip tightly and not saying a word, glared at Yun Luofeng. If her eyes could kill people, Yun Luofeng would have been killed for millions of times. Tang Yue. Angrily turning around, Chen Qian slapped Tang Yue hard and shouted ferociously, "How dare you lie to me?" Tang Yue covered her red and swollen cheek with her hand, and the venomous hatred in her eyes was so intense that it could almost poison to death anyone who glanced at her. "Master, I really didn't know she was married and had a child, and I saw with my own eyes that you two were in the cherry grove, so." Chen Qian deliberately accentuated, "cherry grove," as if asking Chen Yuqing to give him an explanation. "You want to know?" Chen Yuqing's eyes were indifferent. "Fine. Let me tell you, Yun Luofeng is the physician I invited to treat my illness. It was I who invited her to come to the Chen family." Chen Qian was stunned and asked incredulously, "Master, you mean she is the physician you invited to treat you? How is that possible? What medical skills can this little girl have?" "Yes, she has no medical skills and made Qian Ya her disciple." Chen Yuqing raised an ironic smile. "Didn't you say she had no medical skills? If she has no medical skills, then why was Qian Ya so eager to become her disciple?" Chen Qian totally froze. He knew that Master never lied, and what he said must be true. That was to say, the little girl in front of him was Qian Ya's master. For the first time, Yun Luofeng felt that Qian Ya was so famous that even the Chen family in Wangquan City would know his name. "Why?" Tang Yue's body trembled, and her eyes were filled with horror. "Why didn't my cousin tell me this? He told me that Yun Luofeng had seduced Qian Ya, so Qian Ya helped her destroy the Qian family." Giggle. Lin Ruobai couldn't help but laugh. "My master just told you to do yourself a favor. Don't let someone take advantage of you and throw you away like garbage. But you were still defending Tianyu. Tut, do you really have a brain? How can you be so stupid?" Chapter 601, Heavenly Martial Pavilion was destroyed. 5. Tang Yue's body was trembling more violently. She tried to get up from the ground, but she stumbled and fell to the ground again. Yun Luofeng turned her head to Chen Yuqing and asked, "Have you done what I asked you to do for me?" "Just as you said, Tang Tianyu had been observing the situation outside, and he wanted to leave when he found that the situation was not good. But I had my hidden guards catch him." Then Chen Yuqing mildly ordered, "Guards, bring Tang Tianyu up." Bang! In a moment, a hidden guard brought Tang Tianyu up, slammed his body onto the ground and then walked to Chen Yuqing's side. "The last member of the Qian family has been caught," said Yun Luofeng, slightly narrowing her eyes and cracking a faint smile. "Now let me send you to reunite with your family." Tang Tianyu glared at Yun Luofeng. "Yun Luofeng, you have done so many vicious things and God will punish you. You'll be struck by lightning and die a miserable death. Too many people have said this to me. You are just one of them." Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips. "If you hid away, maybe I wouldn't have been able to find you, but you just sent yourself to me." She slowly pressed on towards Tang Tianyu. "Did you say I forced a woman into prostitution? And did you spread malicious rumors to slander me?" "I was telling the truth." Even now Tang Tianyu still didn't admit his mistakes. Yun Luofeng was so angry that she laughed. "Your Qian family expelled Zhong Linge because you thought her talent was too poor. Then because of my training, she acquired a good strength, and you just jumped out and took her away from me by force. Now you still have the nerve to claim that I forced her into prostitution." Tang Tianyu's face changed slightly, and his face turned paler. "It would be fine if you just took her away, but you really shouldn't have cruelly tortured her. If I hadn't arrived in time, I am afraid that she might have been killed by you. Now you tell me, shouldn't I destroy the Qian family?" "You are lying. It's you who are to blame. The Qian family didn't do anything wrong." "Really?" Yun Luofeng smiled. "Can you swear it?" Tang Tianyu glanced at her as if looking at an idiot. Did this woman really believe in divine retribution? If an oath worked, there would not be so many lies in the world. Thinking this, Tang Tianyu calmed down and swore, "I hereby swear that every single word I said is true. If any of it is false, may God punish me and strike me with lightning." Boom. Suddenly, the sky turned black, lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and the lightning bolt was striking at him. If Tang Tianyu hadn't reacted in time and dodged it, he might have been split into two halves by this bolt of lightning. Tang Tianyu was dumbfounded and couldn't help but tremble. That was impossible. Was there really God in the world? This is impossible. That was just a coincidence. Let me swear again. If any word I said is false, may I be burned by fire. As soon as he said this, a green flame suddenly came out from underneath his body, flared up and soon wrapped around his body. "Ah!" A shrill cry came out of the green flame. Tianyu's face was twisted, and his voice was hoarse and filled with pain. "You can never escape God's retribution for all your deeds. This is the price that you must pay for despising God." The girl's voice hit hard in everyone's heart. They all looked at Tang Tianyu, their eyes full of disdain. "Ah!" With a hoarse and shrill voice, Tang Tianyu implored desperately, "I was wrong, I should not despise God and I should not lie. I admit that I was lying. God, please forgive me." Chapter 602, Heavenly Martial Pavilion was destroyed. 6. Perhaps Tang Tianyu's words had worked, as the fire that had surrounded him gradually faded away and soon disappeared. After witnessing this scene, no one present would dare to casually swear for fear that they would suffer the punishment of God. Tang Tianyu fell to the ground and panted, "Yun Luofeng, even if the Qian family did something wrong, you should not wipe out the whole family. By doing that, there is simply no difference between you and the devil." "I only kill those who deserve it." Yun Luofeng paused, "and the Qian family people just deserved it. You could only remove out the source of the trouble by plucking up the evil by the roots. That was why she resolutely destroyed the whole Qian family." When Tang Tianyu was going to defend himself again, a figure quickly rushed over and pressed him under her body. Her little fists kept punching Tang Tianyu, and Tang Tianyu flew into a great rage and hurriedly seized Tang Yue's arm. Are you crazy? No, I'm not. I just want to kill you, B-starred. Tang Yue's voice was trembling. Why did you lie to us? If it were not for you, grandfather would not be disabled, and the Heavenly Martial Pavilion would not have suffered this fate. It's all your fault. Smack. Tang Tianyu threw a slap at her and slammed her to the ground. With a cold face, he said with contempt, shut up. You wastes couldn't even handle a woman. If I had known that you were so useless, I would not have come to Wangquan City. Tang Yue stared at him incredulously. You hit me. Exactly, so what? Do you think you are still the noble heiress of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion? I've had enough of you these days. If you didn't have a powerful grandfather, who do you think would tolerate your temper? Tang Yue, biting her lip tightly, could not believe that his brother, who she used to treat wholeheartedly, would become so strange. In particular, he had told so many lies to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Watching Tang Tianyu fighting with Tang Yue, Yun Luofeng smiled, though I really want to enjoy this dog-eat-dog show, unfortunately, it's getting late. Murong Bei, I've already disabled Tang Ran, and the rest of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion people will be yours. Kill them all. Yes, master. Murong Bei made an obeisance respectfully, and his eyes brightened. God knew how long he had been waiting for this day. Now he could finally have his revenge. How could he not be excited? Xiao Bai, let's go home. Yun Luofeng turned around and walked outside the square. Seeing the girl was coming, everyone in the square couldn't help but stand aside and let her pass. Master, is there really God in the world? Lin Ruobai blinked and curiously looked at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips wickedly. Of course not. No, then how was that possible? Lin Ruobai exclaimed in surprise. She recognized that the flame was Yun Luofeng's soul flame, but how could the lightning be explained? Xiao Bai, never believe what you see. Yun Luofeng stopped, turned her eyes to Lin Ruobai and said earnestly, it was just a phantom I created with special means. Even if the lightning had struck him, he wouldn't feel anything. But as a coward, Tang Tianyu would surely dodge it. Chapter 603, Soul Guide 1. With her eyes lit up, Lin Ruobai looked at Yun Luofeng adoringly. How many people in the world were as powerful as her master, who could even create thunder and lightning? Of course, Lin Ruobai didn't know that the thunder and lightning were created by the God Code world. Without the God Code world, she would not have had the ability. Let's go. Seeing Lin Ruobai's expression, Yun Luofeng didn't explain anything. She lazily stretched herself and walked toward the Big Dipper gang. She had to find the Soul Guide herb as soon as possible so that she could leave here and meet with Yun Xiao. Gazing at the receding figure of Yun Luofeng, Chen Yuqing turned around and turned his eyes to Chen Qian, his handsome face cold. Chen Qian, do you know the consequences of your actions? Flop. Chen Qian knelt down on his knees and said with a bitter smile, Master, I was deceived by Tang Yue, so I. Chen Qian, I don't like people shifting the blame to others. Yes, maybe Tang Yue lied to you, but why did you believe everything she said? The Chen family can't have such a brainless physician. Chen Yuqing's words were quite harsh and his meaning was clear, his eyes not as mild as ever but filled with indifference and coldness. Though Chen Yuqing seemed easygoing, once he had made up his mind, no one could change it. Master, I understand. Chen Qian lowered his head. According to the rules of the Chen family, anyone who has made a mistake will only have two choices. One is to leave the Chen family, and the other is to commit suicide before Master. Just like Mei Chen, I'll choose the latter. He knew that once he was expelled from the Chen family, he would become a target for all. Even though he had excellent medical skills, he would not be able to change his fate. Besides, he didn't want to serve any other family except the Chen family. Chen Qian raised his hand and hit the top of his head. With a thud, his brain burst out, and his body crumpled to the ground. Bury him. Chen Yuqing withdrew his eyes and turned around indifferently, but no one noticed that his eyes were filled with sorrow. It seems that I failed to manage the Chen family well so that so many people don't follow my orders. Noticing his sad face, the hidden guard hurriedly said, Master, it's none of your business. You don't have to blame yourself. You don't need to comfort me. After I recover, I'll stay secluded for cultivation and won't see anyone. Thinking for a while, he raised his eyebrows and added, except Yun Luofeng. The hidden guard's mouth twitched slightly, but he did not dare to show it on his face. He lowered his head and said respectfully, Yes, Master. You stay here and help the Big Dipper gang to solve the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Leave nobody alive. After saying this, Chen Yuqing strode outside the square and soon disappeared from the people's eyes. In the Chen family, a man was sitting under a cherry tree, his shoulders naked. The sun poured down and fell on his naked shoulders that shone with a faint luster. Though his shoulders were covered with silver needles, they still looked quite attractive. Pondering for a while, he asked slowly, You're leaving? Chapter 604, Soul Guide 2. I need to go to Bian Mountain to find a medicinal herb called Soul Guide, and I'll return to Wangquan City after I find it. The man paused and said softly, Okay, then I'll wait for you in the Chen family. Yun Luofeng looked at him, Thank you for what you did today. His words proved her innocent. Even though she didn't need anyone to prove her innocence, she still appreciated his actions in her heart. You don't have to thank me, the man chuckled, if it weren't for you, I would have lost my life. So, the one who should say, thank you, is me. You can rest assured that when you're away, I will support the Big Dipper gang and make them the #1 power of Wangquan City. Yun Luofeng fell silent. After quite a while, she said slowly, the treatment is almost finished. Now I'll pull out the silver needles. Next, you need to take medicines according to my prescription to completely cleanse the toxins in your body. Okay. The man smiled. His smile was mesmerizingly beautiful. Not saying goodbye to him, she turned around and walked out of the grove after putting away the silver needles, not noticing that a pair of eyes was affectionately gazing at her until she disappeared. Outside the door, Lin Ruobai was anxiously pacing back and forth. As soon as she saw Yun Luofeng, she hurriedly came up to her. Master, are we going to the Bayan Mountain now? Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. Yes, let's go. Yes, Master. Lin Ruobai was in high spirits as she felt that she finally could do something for Master after following her for so long. The Bayan Mountain was not far from Wangquan City, but only the top 10 powers could go there. If it was found that any other power went to the Bayan Mountain, it would be hunted by the top 10 powers together. That was why the powers of Wangquan City would try so hard to rank among the top 10 powers. Arriving at the foot of the Bayan Mountain, Yun Luofeng turned her eyes to Lin Ruobai and asked, do you feel anything? Lin Ruobai nodded. Yes, I feel. There seems to be a force guiding me forward, and if I'm not wrong, it's the soul guide. Tian Ya was right, only Lin Ruobai could find the soul guide. Follow your heart and we'll find the medicine soon. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips. She was quite curious about what kind of medicine this soul guide was. Yes, Master. Lin Ruobai was a little excited, and as they went deeper, she felt an increasingly strong connection with the soul guide. In addition to the abundant medicinal herbs, there were also powerful spiritual beasts in the Bayan Mountain. However, with the current strength of Yun Luofeng, these spiritual beasts would be no threat to her, so they easily entered into the depths of the Bayan Mountain. It's strange. After they climbed onto a cliff, Lin Ruobai involuntarily stopped and frowned, her eyes filled with confusion. I can feel that the soul guide is right here, but how come I can't see it? Suddenly, the cliff began to shake violently, and the stone beneath her foot broke. Falling to the ground, she couldn't help but scream. Ah! Be careful! From above, all of a sudden, a hand tightly grabbed her and tried to pull her up, but then the stone beneath Yun Luofeng's foot also broke, and both of them dropped from the cliff. Chapter 605, Soul Guide 3. Yun Luofeng tried to fly to the sky the moment they dropped, but there seemed to be a great suction force under this cliff that pulled at their bodies, and she was unable to get away from it. Bang! After they finally landed, Yun Luofeng tightly held Lin Ruobai and asked, are you alright? I'm fine. Lin Ruobai shook her head. Master, it's my fault. No, you didn't do anything wrong. I would have fallen from the cliff anyway even without you. Maybe this was just fate. Hearing her words, Lin Ruobai felt guiltier and looked at Yun Luofeng in tears. Master, I feel that I'm really useless and I can't help with anything. Yun Luofeng smiled and patted Lin Ruobai on the shoulder. If it weren't for you, I couldn't find the soul guide. So, if you want to help me, find the soul guide for me as soon as possible so that we can leave this place sooner. Yes, Master. Lin Ruobai closed her eyes and felt it for a moment. Then she opened her eyes and looked at a cave in front of her. Master, I feel it. The soul guide is just in front of us. I've told you, coming here is fated and you don't have to blame yourself. Yun Luofeng also looked at the dark cave. Let's go check what else is in the cave besides the soul guide. Okay. Lin Ruobai nodded, her eyes determined. No matter what, she would help Master find the soul guide. It was pitch dark in the cave. Yun Luofeng lit her soul flame on her palm, and with the green flame, the cave looked quite spooky. A little bit afraid, Lin Ruobai grabbed Yun Luofeng's sleeve, but she didn't want to be timid, so she retracted her hand and stared nervously ahead of them. Noticing that Lin Ruobai was afraid, Yun Luofeng said with a chuckle, if you're afraid, hold my hand. Master, I'm not afraid. Lin Ruobai shook her head stubbornly. She was no longer the little girl who had been well protected by her father, but a good helper to Master. How could she be so cowardly? Lin Ruobai clenched her fist. No matter how terrified she was, her eyes were resolute. The whole cave was so quiet, only the sound of their footsteps echoed. Suddenly, Yun Luofeng stopped and gazed at a red fruit on an altar, saying, if I'm not wrong, this must be the soul guide. It had been too smooth along the way. Except for several spiritual beasts that they encountered in the beginning, they were not in any dangerous situation. In particular, when they found the soul guide, they didn't encounter any trap or powerful spiritual beast. Don't mind it. The first priority is to get the soul guide and leave here. No longer hesitating, Yun Luofeng walked carefully toward the soul guide. It was just a few steps away but she took a long time to approach it. She was highly stressed, deciding that as soon as she felt anything wrong, she would immediately give it up and leave. But nothing happened. Even after she took the soul guide in her hand, nothing happened. Yun Luofeng was more puzzled. A medical herb as precious as soul guide is usually protected by a companion beast, so why did nothing happen to me? Suddenly Lin Ruobai pointed at a skeleton in the corner and shouted in astonishment, Master, look. Chapter 606, Soul Guide 4. The skeleton was a few meters long and piled in a corner. There were 2 horns on its head, and its sharp teeth had turned black. Apparently, the skeleton didn't belong to a human being, and if the guess was not wrong, the skeleton should belong to the companion beast of the soul guide. Soul Dragon. In her soul, Siomo shouted with a trembling voice, "This is a soul dragon skeleton. It seems that it was killed. Since a soul dragon is very powerful, the one who killed it must be extremely strong. But why didn't he take the soul guide away after killing the soul dragon? I don't quite understand it." Yun Luofeng shook her head. "Anyway, I finally got the soul guide. Siomo, can you get me out of here?" "It seems that nobody can fly in this place and I don't know the exact reason," he answered helplessly. "I've been away from this continent for too long and I don't know a lot of things." Yun Luofeng fell silent and said nothing more. Just then, Milk Tea suddenly rushed out of her sleeve and dashed at the skeleton of the soul dragon. Squeak. Looking like a hungry wolf finding some delicious food, he sprang at the skeleton. "Milk Tea, come back." Yun Luofeng was stunned and hastened to call him back. However, Milk Tea, who was always obedient to her, didn't listen to her order, but whisked into the skeleton and soon took a black bead out of the bones. Gulp. As if fearing that someone else would take this bead away, Milk Tea directly swallowed it and burped satisfactorily. Squeak. However, shortly afterward he began to roll on the floor and cried shrilly. Yun Luofeng hurriedly walked to him, lifted his little body and asked, lowering her eyes, "Siomo, what happened to him?" There was only silence in her soul. Yun Luofeng frowned and when she was going to ask again, Siomo's childish voice rang, "I finally know why the soul dragon died. Those who killed it weren't after the soul guide but rather this bead. At the time they must have gutted the soul dragon but couldn't find the bead because they didn't know that the soul dragon had hidden the bead in its bones. We are really lucky. Or to be exact, Milk Tea, this stupid hamster, is really lucky." "What's the use of this bead?" Yun Luofeng was stunned and asked. "I've heard that this bead contains great power. If Milk Tea can digest this bead, he will become very powerful. But obviously, he can't digest it by himself. So, Master, he might need your help." "Okay, then I'll find a way to go back to Wangquan City." "No, Master, Milk Tea can't wait that long. You can only help him digest this bead here. If you are not quick enough, he will die." Not expecting that the consequences would be so serious, Yun Luofeng raised her hand and patted the small buttock of Milk Tea. "Stupid Milk Tea, don't be so greedy again." Squeak. Milk Tea squeaked with regret. He didn't expect that he couldn't digest the bead with his strong stomach. He lifted his eyes to her pleadingly. "Master, is Milk Tea all right?" Lin Ruobai asked worriedly. "Xiao Bai, it seems that we need to stay here longer because I have to help him digest this bead now," Yun Luofeng said seriously. Chapter 607, 1 year. Milk Tea covered his tummy with his paws, rolled on the floor, and groaned. Not having time to explain to Lin Ruobai, Yun Luofeng hurriedly put her hands on his stomach. The spiritual energy circulated in Milk Tea's little body and penetrated into his 5 viscera. Maybe because of its effect, Milk Tea's condition was not as painful as before, and he gradually stopped groaning. Time flew in the cave, and it had been a year in the blink of an eye. In the corner, Lin Ruobai, who was cultivating cross-legged, opened her eyes, looked at Yun Luofeng who was still helping Milk Tea digest the beads, and couldn't help but sigh. "It's been a year. What on earth did Milk Tea swallow? He can't digest it after a whole year even with Master's help." However, in this year, Milk Tea broke through every few months. At first, Lin Ruobai was quite surprised, and as time went by, she became accustomed to it. Master was a breakthrough freak, and so was her little pet. Boom. The aura of Milk Tea grew powerful and it seemed that he was going to break through again, but Lin Ruobai didn't know what realm he would reach this time. She could feel that with a powerful and dangerous aura, today's Milk Tea was completely different from a year ago. During this year, Yun Luofeng had also made progress. She was also cultivating when she was helping Milk Tea digest the black bead. But because she was distracted, her cultivation speed was not as fast as usual. Even so, she had also become an intermediate rank sky level spread cultivator and was very close to the next breakthrough. With just one chance, she would become an advanced rank sky level spread cultivator. Under Lin Ruobai's gaze, Yun Luofeng finally opened her eyes, with a wicked smile on her lips. "Milk Tea, how do you feel now?" Milk Tea blinked and said softly, "Thank you, Master." Maybe because he had just learned to speak, he was not quite fluent but his eyes were full of gratitude. Like being struck by a thunderbolt, Lin Ruobai was dumbfounded. She turned her eyes to Milk Tea in astonishment. "Milk Tea, can you talk?" Milk Tea's voice was cute and as soft as cotton. "Spiritual beasts will be able to talk when they reach a certain level, but I would not have been able to speak so quickly without Master's help." As if discovering a new world, Lin Ruobai stared at the Milk Tea without blinking, her face brightened and her eyes glowing. "Milk Tea, are you male or female?" Milk Tea glanced at Lin Ruobai with disdain. "Of course I am male. Have you ever seen a female with a penis?" "Penis, where is it? Let me see it." Lin Ruobai grabbed Milk Tea, pressed him on the ground, and jabbed her finger at his white and tender belly. "Where is it? Why can't I find it?" Milk Tea squeaked, lifted his paw to slap her hand away, and began to dig in the ground. With his current strength, he burrowed much faster than before. Soon, he had dug a big hole and hid in it. "You bad little hamster, how dare you escape?" Lin Ruobai rolled up her sleeves and tried to get into the hole, but then Yun Luofeng reached out her hand and grabbed her. "Wait a minute. Master." Confused, Lin Ruobai turned around and asked, "What's wrong?" Chapter 608, Juichan, the Miracle Healer, 1. Yun Luofeng didn't speak but quietly listened, and after quite a while, she ordered, "Milk tea, dig the hole larger." Okay. Milk tea came out of the hole and began to dig, and after a moment there appeared a great hole in front of Yun Luofeng. After seeing what was inside the hole, Lin Ruobai was stunned. Is there a tunnel down here? Xiao Bai, let's go inside and see if we can find our way out. After that, Yun Luofeng jumped and disappeared into the hole. No longer hesitating, Lin Ruobai followed Yun Luofeng into the deep hole and was frozen the moment she saw what was on the other end of the tunnel. It was an underground palace, resplendent and brightly lit, utterly different from the shabby cave. This place must have been built by some strong man. Xiao Bai, we can't stay here. Let's go. Not answering her words, Lin Ruobai gazed at the fresco on the wall in front of her without blinking. Xiao Bai. Yun Luofeng frowned slightly and followed Lin Ruobai's gaze only to see a gorgeous man in the fresco. This man was mesmerizingly beautiful. How beautiful was he? His beauty was simply beyond expression. He sat on a dark gold throne, supporting his cheek with his right hand, with his eyebrows slightly raised. Even though he showed no expression, he looked unruly and domineering. He wore a scarlet robe with his delicate collarbone partially exposed, and the corners of his lips were raised, showing an arrogant smile. Xiao Bai, who is he? Yun Luofeng gently stroked her chin and looked at the gorgeous fresco with appreciation. Juichan, the Miracle Healer. Juichan the Miracle Healer, a legend existing 1,000 years ago. Hearing the name, Yun Luofeng couldn't help thinking of the book at the auction. Is this the tomb of Juichan the Miracle Healer? Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes slightly. No, it's just a temporary palace he built, not his tomb. Lin Ruobai pointed to the corner in front of her and said in surprise, "Master, look, there's a book in that corner." Yun Luofeng turned her eyes to the corner, slowly walked up, and carefully picked the book up from the ground. The book was quite old with a thick layer of dust on it. Yun Luofeng gently flicked the dust off the book and saw the characters on its cover. For the predestined person. Yun Luofeng slowly opened the book. On the first page, there were a few slightly blurred lines of characters. Fortunately, though they were a little blurred, they were still legible. Though I am known as the Miracle Healer, medicine is not my real interest. So, I didn't continue my research on medicine. What really interests me is creating life. Creating life. Yun Luofeng was stunned. Could life be created by a human? At the thought of this, Yun Luofeng turned the page. I had been wondering about the origin of human beings. I believed that a human could be created by some special means. So I spent the rest of my life studying the origin of mankind. Unfortunately, though I spent a lot of time on it, I could only make something lifeless, which I called a puppet. Chapter 609, Juichan, the Miracle Healer, 2. These puppets look like mankind but have no thought. They only know unconditionally obeying orders, just like the Walking Dead. But I didn't expect that my research had been leaked, which made me the target of countless strong men. Those ridiculous men tried to snatch my finished products from me with high-sounding reasons. They even claimed that I would do evil with these puppets, so they were enforcing justice on behalf of God. On behalf of God. Ha ha ha. Didn't they know that I was never afraid of God? If God wants me to die, then I'll kill him first. I never believed in God. What I know is that those who comply with me will thrive and those who resist me will perish. So I killed those ridiculous people. In the end, all the strong men on the continent began to hunt me together and they swore they would kill me, an evildoer. I'm fed up with those old guys hunting me, so I came to this place and wrote down the method of making puppets. I hope that some predestined person can discover the book and fulfill my unfinished wish. Next, I'll wage the final battle with those sanctimonious old beastards. I'm already prepared to kill them at the expense of my life. If I fail, my soul will fall into their hands, and they can acquire my memory by some means. Therefore, before I leave, I will seal my memory and they will never be able to get the puppet refining technique. Lin Ruobai also read the book and suddenly realized, according to historical records, 1,000 years ago, Juichan the Miracle Healer suddenly disappeared from the continent. It turns out that he was hunted because of his superb puppet technique. But it's never mentioned in historical records. Certainly, the strong men who were in charge of the continent would not make their evil deeds public. So they deleted that part. That was why no one knew about the end of Juichan. Obviously, Juichan was killed by them in the end. Master, I am not interested in the puppet thing, so I can't fulfill the Miracle Healer's wish. Lin Ruobai blinked and said with a smile, I think you should keep this book. But you have to hide it well, or else you may suffer the same fate as Juichan if it's found out by others. Everyone knew that Juichan had extraordinary medical skills and hailed him as the Miracle Healer. However, he gave up medical research and chose to create life instead. Let's go. Yun Luofeng put away the book and looked back at the fresco on the wall. The man in the fresco still looked proud, with an arrogant smile on his lips, his body leaning against the throne, his palm supporting his face. At this moment, she finally figured out why the man in the fresco looked so arrogant and unruly. This was the expression he had shown to the strong men who had been hunting him. No one could deny that Yun Luofeng gained a lot from her journey to Bayan Mountain. She had successfully obtained the Soul Guide, and Milk Tea's strength had been greatly improved. More importantly, she had received Juichan's book. Creating life. Could life in this world really be created by some special means? Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes slightly, her eyes filled with intense interest. Now she was highly intrigued by it. Chapter 610, Physician Competition 1. Outside the palace, it was the other side of Bayan Mountain. Even Yun Luofeng didn't expect that they would end up there. After leaving the palace, she gently raised her eyebrows and said, "It's been a long time. We've been here for a year, so we'll go back to Wangquan City now and then leave for home." In the cherry grove of the Shen family, a melodious tune rang, as fair-sounding as rippling stream. At this moment, the man was absorbed in playing zither and failed to notice the white figure that suddenly appeared before him. Yun Luofeng quietly gazed at the man in front of her. Although his hair was still snow-white, he looked much healthier than before and his handsome face was no longer pale. Clang! As if feeling something, he stopped and raised his head only to see Yun Luofeng standing in front of him. He paused for a moment, a look of excitement appearing in his eyes. "You've come back." She had been away for a year. During the year, he had sent countless subordinates to search for her whereabouts, but they all found no clue. He had thought that she might have died in an accident and prepared to tell Tianyar about what had happened here, but she suddenly came back. "I had something to do, so I came back late. I came here to check on how you are doing before I leave. It looks like you have almost completely recovered." Looking at the girl's beautiful face, Chen Yuqing smiled mildly, but his voice was sad. "When can we meet again after you leave?" "We will meet again if there is a chance." "We will meet again if there is a chance." Chen Yuqing's eyes were flickering with unfathomable light, and suddenly he chuckled, "Yes, if there is a chance. But I believe that we will meet again in the future. I'm leaving. Take care of yourself." Turning her head and looking at Chen Yuqing, Yun Luofeng no longer hesitated and walked towards the gate of the Chen family. At this moment, she could feel his gaze following her, which made her feel like she had 1,000 pounds on her back. "Master." Lin Ruobai had been waiting for Yun Luofeng at the gate, and after seeing her, her eyes lit up and she hurried to meet her. "Are we going home now?" Yun Luofeng shook her head. "No, let's go to the Big Dipper gang first, and we'll leave this place after saying goodbye to the Big Dipper gang people." In the Big Dipper gang, perhaps because Yun Luofeng had been missing for a year, all the disciples were somewhat lazy and not in the mood to expand their power. At this moment, at the gate of the Big Dipper gang, a disciple suddenly caught a glimpse of Yun Luofeng who was slowly walking toward them. His eyes immediately brightened. Master! Master is back!" He rushed into the Big Dipper gang, shouting as he ran. "Master is back! Go tell Deputy Master." "What? Master's back?" In a moment, the Big Dipper gang was in chaos. All the disciples were excitedly spreading the news. Soon the whole Big Dipper gang knew that their master was back. Though they initially didn't want to surrender to Yun Luofeng, they had been sincerely convinced by Yun Luofeng's ability since she led them to destroy the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. In the whole Big Dipper gang, her prestige had exceeded Murongbei, the founder of the gang. Chapter 611, Physician Competition 2. Hearing the news, Murongbei hurriedly came out. Seeing Yun Luofeng standing in the courtyard, he moved his lips and wanted to say something, but his throat was so dry that he couldn't make a sound. After quite a while, he calmed down and said with a smile, "Master, you've come back." Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. "Murongbei, come with me. I want to tell you something before I leave." "Yes, Master," said Murongbei respectfully. "Master, would you like to talk with me in my cultivation chamber?" Not speaking, Yun Luofeng walked towards Murongbei's cultivation chamber. Murongbei's cultivation chamber was plainly furnished, with only a rush mat on the floor. Noticing that Yun Luofeng frowned slightly, he hurriedly found a chair, put it in front of her and said fawningly, "Master, please sit down." Yun Luofeng stroked her white robe and sat down casually. Supporting her chin with her hand, she cast a wicked glance at the man standing in front of her. "Murongbei, if I give you a chance to stand on top of the world, can you grasp it?" Smiling, she quietly gazed at him with her dark eyes. When Murongbei heard her words, his eyes lit up, and even his breath quickened. "Master, if there is really such a chance, I'll try my best to grasp it." "Good. Remember what you said." Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. "You can go to General Yun's estate in the Longyuan Kingdom to see me when you've become the #1 power of Wangquan City. I won't see you until you achieve this goal." Murongbei's eyes gradually turned determined. He knew this was for him. Only if he became the #1 power of Wangquan City could he pass this test. "Master, you can rest assured. I won't let you down." "I hope so," said Yun Luofeng, raising her eyebrows and smiling wickedly. "You aren't qualified to be my subordinate until you become the #1 power of Wangquan City. And I will wait for you in the Longyuan Kingdom." Murongbei was right. It was a test for him. This time it was different. She previously accepted the members of the Steel Corps and Raging Flame Corps as her subordinates because she had no other choice back then. But now, unless a person had enough ability, she would not share the precious resources of the God Code world with them. Even though Murongbei had pledged loyalty to her, she still wanted to test whether the man was worth it. Becoming the #1 power of Wangquan City was her test for him. "I've finished. Murongbei, it depends on yourself whether you can seize this chance or not." Yun Luofeng stood up from the chair, with an arrogant and confident smile over her lips, "and believe me, if you miss the chance, you'll never have another chance." Murongbei's face turned serious. He knew that Yun Luofeng was telling the truth. It was indeed a once-in-a-lifetime chance. "Master," looking up at the girl's wicked face, he said earnestly, "give me 3 years. In 3 years, I'll go to the Longyuan Kingdom to see you." Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and smiled. Saying no more, she walked towards the door. The moment she walked out the door she stopped, and with her back to Murongbei, she raised her hand and made a goodbye gesture. Then she walked away and disappeared in the bright sunlight. Gazing at her receding figure, Murongbei was more determined. He knew that it was his only chance and he must grasp it firmly in his hand. Chapter 612, Physician Competition 3. Medical City. In a luxury restaurant, a girl sitting in a window seat looked out of the window, supporting her chin with her hand, her head tilted to one side. Sitting across from her, a girl some years younger was busy stuffing food into her mouth, and soon her cheeks bulged and her mouth was crammed with food. A sigh came from the hall of the restaurant. I heard that the physician competition that was supposed to start in 2 years will be held in 2 months. Actually, physicians compete with each other with their treasures, not their medical skills, in the physician competition. But do you know why the physician competition will be held early? I don't know, but it's said that our master is on his way to the physician association. Hearing this discussion, the girl finally moved. She picked up the sword on the table, stood up and said, since the medical city people are not here, we don't need to stay here anymore. CO bye, let's go to the physician association. Ah, Lin Ruobai looked up and said aggrievedly, but I haven't finished eating yet. As soon as she stopped, Yun Luofeng grabbed her arm and dragged her away. It's getting late and we need to set off early, but before we leave I want to give some gifts to Medical City. The city master's estate was majestic and well guarded. As soon as Yun Luofeng approached it, 2 guards stopped her. Stop, this is the city master's estate. No one shall enter it without permission. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and showed him a wicked and grim smile, and her voice slowly rang in the breeze. Have I said I want to enter it? The guard's face darkened. Then what are you doing here? To murder and burn. She slightly moved her red lips and her domineering words rang throughout the gate of the city master's estate. At this moment, a lot of people had gathered before the gate of the city master's estate. They pointed at Yun Luofeng and Lin Ruobai and discussed with each other, their eyes full of sympathy for them. To everyone's surprise, in Medical City, there was someone who even dared to disrespect the people of the city master's estate. How dare you? The guard's face turned black with anger and he loudly shouted, kill these people who dare to offend the city master's estate. In an instant, countless guards rushed out of the city master's estate, shouting loudly and fiercely, waving in their hands sabers and swords whose shining blades were almost blinding. CO bye, step aside. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes slightly and shouted coldly. Obediently walking to the side, Lin Ruobai sucked on her finger, blinked, and quietly watched the fight. Would master murder and burn? Thinking this, she grinned, her eyes gleamed with excitement, and 2 cute tiger teeth were exposed in her widened mouth. Boom. Just before the guards reached Yun Luofeng, she released a powerful momentum that struck at them. Her momentum was like an invisible sword and it soon penetrated their bodies. The heir of Medical City was defeated by my second uncle and injured him in retaliation. Now I have come to revenge my second uncle. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips, a dangerous aura surrounding her, but they were lucky and not in the Medical City today. But I can't come here in vain, so I will kill those left in the city master's estate and burn the estate down. She looked so domineering and arrogant, her white robe fluttering in the breeze. She was so special and charming that no one could find a word to describe the shock she had brought to them. Chapter 613, Ghost Emperor was invited. Hi. Whoosh. While the crowd was still in shock, the girl had released a deep green flame which blossomed like a green lotus flower. At this moment, she was simply breathtakingly beautiful. Boom. In an instant, the fire had covered the city master's estate and turned it into a sea of fire. After doing all this, Yun Luofeng turned around and walked to Lin Ruobai. Okay, we can leave now. She came here to settle accounts with Medical City. Unfortunately, the master of Medical City was not home today. However, she didn't want to come here in vain, so she just burned the whole city master's estate. When the crowd had figured it out, they couldn't help but gasp. This woman was really scary. She burned the city master's estate just so it wouldn't be a wasted trip for her. The Physician Association was one of the most powerful forces on this continent, because it led all the powerful physicians on this continent. Everyone was clear about the influence of a physician. What? At this moment in the Physician Association, Lin Ji jumped to his feet in rage and gnashed his teeth, his handsome face ghastly pale. Did you say Yun Luofeng went to Medical City and burned the city master's estate? Master, this news is from Medical City. I think it's true. Good. Lin Ji clenched his fist and laughed angrily. Very good. Yun Luofeng, how dare you? I will never forgive you. If it weren't for the important physician competition, I would have made her die miserably. But it didn't matter. He would kill her the day he left the Physician Association. Father. Just then an elegant voice came from the door. Hearing the familiar voice, Lin Ji suppressed the anger in his heart, smiled and looked up. Yating, why did you come here? Lin Yating smiled and walked slowly into the room. I just came to see you. Father, what happened? Why are you so angry? I'm angry because of those Yun family bastards. Lin Ji's face darkened once again. That BTCH Yun Luofeng went to Medical City and set fire to the city master's estate. How can I not be angry with her? Lin Yating's smile was elegant and beautiful, her charming face glowing with luster. Father, it's just an estate. Let me catch Yun Luofeng and force her to rebuild the city master's estate for you. Isn't it better? I will make her build a better estate for you. Lin Ji shook his head. Yating, you don't know about Yun Luofeng's temper. She can never be so obedient. That woman is harder to deal with than her second uncle. Father, you're wrong. Lin Yating sat down beside Lin Ji and chuckled. Except for Chan Yao, all the physicians in the world have to obey the Physician Association. With my position in the Physician Association, it will be so easy for me to order her to do anything. Lin Ji was stunned. Yating, what do you mean? I mean, Lin Yating paused. I want to make Yun Luofeng my subordinate. What? Lin Ji jumped to his feet again and said angrily, Pengge lost face because of Yun Qingye and hasn't recovered from that blow even now. And Yun Luofeng has burned my estate. How can you have such an idea? I don't agree. Chapter 614. Ghost Emperor was invited too. Lin Yating gently frowned and patiently explained, Father, Yun Luofeng is quite talented, so I really want to make her my subordinate. You know, it's not easy to get a firm footing in the Physician Association and my master needs more strong men so that he will not fall behind other elders. Otherwise, my master and I will soon be replaced by others, and at that time, will Medical City still have the influence it has today? Lin Ji quieted down, but Yun Qingye of the Yun family. Father, I know that you want to avenge brother, but I hope you can temporarily put aside the hatred for Yun Qingye and help me. Only if I maintain my position can Medical City sustain its current status. Lin Ji sighed. He knew that what Lin Yating said was true. Without his foster daughter, Medical City would no longer be able to sustain its current status. If she lost her position in the Physician Association, Medical City would soon collapse. Though I know what you said is true, I still want to remind you that Yun Luofeng has very excellent medical skills, and if she takes your place in the Physician Association, then... Don't worry. As long as she agrees to serve as my subordinate, I have a way to make her loyal to me for the rest of her life. Lin Yating smiled, and her words were full of confidence. Well, Lin Ji gave a bitter smile and said helplessly, now that you've made up your mind, what else can I do? Fine, I will listen to you and temporarily put aside my hatred towards them, but I will still avenge my son someday. Besides, I heard that Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya destroyed the Chan family together. Do you think they have some relationship? Lin Yating raised an elegant smile. Father, didn't you know that Chan Ya and the Chan family were enemies? I heard it from the president of the association but I don't know all the details. It said that the Chan family forced Chan Ya to marry a woman and made him lose his lover, so Chan Ya bore a grudge against the Chan family. Saying this, Lin Yating paused, so it was just a coincidence. The Chan family offended both Yun Luofeng and Chan Ya, and they happened to go to Chan Mountain to seek their revenge at the same time. If Yun Luofeng really has a relationship with Chan Ya, then Medical City would have disappeared long ago. Lin Ji nodded. Your words make sense. Now I have one last question. How will you deal with Yun Luofeng if she doesn't want to pledge loyalty to you? Lin Yating smiled mysteriously, a confident smile hovering on her lips. She will. All of a sudden, a disciple of the association came in hurriedly. He made an obeisance and said to Lin Yating, Sister Yating, Elder Luo Fu asks you to see him. Master wants to see me. Lin Yating frowned slightly. Okay, I know. Please tell Master, I will go to see him later. Yes. The disciple made an obeisance and left. After the disciple left, she continued, Father, remember what I said just now. Yun Luofeng is quite talented and she would be very useful to me. Saying this, Lin Yating didn't ask Lin Ji for his opinion, glanced at him, and left the room.